This guy, when did he come in? The higher-ups of the Cloud Village stared with wide eyes. A stranger had sneaked into the heavily guarded Cloud Village, into the rakeage office, and not only did he stealthily eat the apples in the office, but he also picked and chose among the fruits. And even after being discovered, he still acted so nonchalant. Who is this guy? The fourth rakeage guard, Darui, was sweating. Let me introduce myself. The intruder put down the apple core and leaned back on the sofa. I am the wood-release ninja you are looking for, Akihara Kagura. I just heard you discussing me. Akihara Kagura glanced at the higher-ups of the Cloud Village, as if he didn't take them seriously at all. You people from the Cloud Village always act so despicably. Whenever you see something from another village, you think of using sinister means to take it. What did you say? The fourth rakeage clenched his fist. Isn't that so? Isn't that so? Akihara Kagura looked at the fourth rakeage and stated the facts. You once tried to seize the Kekkei Genkai of the Uzumaki clan from the Konoha village, tried to seize the Byakugan from the Konoha village, and now you want to take the wood-release Kekkei Genkai. Whatever the Konoha village has, you want to take. These events actually happened. The ninjas from the Cloud Village once tried to kidnap Uzumaki Kushina from the Uzumaki clan of the Konoha village to uncover the secrets of the Jinchuriki, but were stopped by Minato. Later, they tried to abduct Hyuga Hinata from the Hyuga clan of the Konoha village with evil intentions, which was eventually stopped by Hyuga Hayashi, the head of the Hyuga clan, but the Cloud Village still tried to frame them. Moreover, there were also incidents in the ninja world where the Cloud Village had stolen secret techniques. The Cloud Village was indeed greedy. Many people in the ninja world were deceived by the appearance of the Cloud Village, thinking they were straightforward and trustworthy, but in reality, they often had the mentality of robbers. I'm curious about one thing. Akihara Kagura held his head and asked mockingly. Were the founders of the Cloud Village a bunch of robbers and scum? You bastard, what did you say? A powerful chakra burst forth from the fourth rakeage, instantly entering lightning release chakra mode, his body flashing with electricity, charging towards Akihara Kagura like a bolt of blue lightning. Lightning oppression horizontal. The rakeage's arm suddenly rose, and a powerful hand chop aimed at Akihara Kagura's body, intending to crush this foul-mouthed bastard. Are you so angry because I told the truth? Akihara Kagura raised his arm, and his chakra exploded, blocking the rakeage's hand chop. I heard you plotting to take my wood-release Kekkei Genkai with my own ears. It seems the descendants of robbers and scum are no better, failing to steal from others and still pretending to be the victims, considering their thieving ways to be justified. Ugh! The fourth rakeage lightning release chakra exploded again, high-intensity currents and chakra streams swirling around him. In the ninja world, who had ever dared to speak to him like this? Even former enemies wouldn't dare to anger a cage this way. Although what Akihara Kagura said was true, how could he dare to insult a cage like this? How could he dare to humiliate the Cloud Village? This bastard! The other higher-ups of the Cloud Village also began to lose their composure. Are you mad? Akihara Kagura's single sentence further incited the fourth rakeage's fury, making him lose his composure and charge at Akihara Kagura with his other arm raised. Bang! Akihara Kagura kicked the fourth rakeage in the chest, sending him flying into the crowd of Cloud Village Jonin. Lord Rakeage! A group of Jonin hurriedly tried to help the rakeage up. Kill him! The fourth rakeage got up again, charging towards Akihara Kagura at terrifying speed, enhanced by his lightning release chakra mode, his speed rivaling even that of Minato, so fast that many sensory ninjas in the ninja world couldn't keep up with him. However, a golden flash moved even faster. Akihara Kagura and the fourth rakeage collided instantly. Boom! A shockwave erupted from the area where they clashed, sweeping through the entire rakeage's office. The large floor-to-ceiling window of the office shattered abruptly, sending countless glass shards falling from the air. Crack! Crack! Cracks began to appear continuously on the ground. How is this possible? Darui watched in disbelief as Akihara Kagura and the fourth rakeage fought on equal terms. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. That guy can actually compete with Lord Rakeage in physical combat. Not only that, he was even more terrifying than the fourth rakeage. Akihara Kagura's speed was faster than the fourth rakeage's. Just as the fourth rakeage raised his fist to strike, Akihara Kagura's figure disappeared before his eyes. This scene felt incredibly familiar to the fourth rakeage. Flying Thunder God! The fourth rakeage recalled the opponent he had encountered in his youth, the fourth Hokage Minato, but he quickly realized and his pupils contracted. No, this speed is even faster than that guy's. In the next moment, Akihara Kagura appeared beside him, raising his arm and striking the fourth rakeage's neck, slamming him to the ground with sudden force. Boom! A large hole appeared in the rakeage's office. The fourth Reikage was directly thrown down by Akihara Kagura. The other Jonin from the Cloud Village could no longer stand by. Sensing that their Reikage might not be able to defeat the enemy in this battle, they quickly moved forward to support. Wood release. Advent of a world of flowering trees. Vines and tree roots emerged from the ground. Darui drew his ninja sword, and with the sound of electricity, he cut through a vine. But Darui drew his ninja sword, and with the sound of electricity, he cut through a vine. But more vines surged toward him, and the ninjas of the Cloud Village were slowly being bound by the vines. A towering tree appeared above the Reikage building in the Cloud Village. Vines spread from this giant tree, extending to every corner of the Cloud Village. Trees also began to grow within the village, binding every passing Cloud Ninja to the trees, quickly absorbing their chakra. In an instant, the entire Cloud Village, built on a high mountain, turned into a forest, valley of clouds and lightning. This canyon near the Cloud Village housed the Eight Tails Jinchuriki, Killer Bee. After the disappearance of the Two Tails Jinchuriki, following an encounter with members of the Akatsuki organization, the fourth Reikage ordered the Eight Tails Jinchuriki Killer Bee to stay in Valley of Clouds and Lightning to train, to avoid being captured by the Akatsuki. As a perfect Jinchuriki, Killer Bee had a very carefree personality, getting along well with the Eight Tails sealed within him. They had a relationship of mutual understanding and trust. No, strictly speaking, Killer Bee's personality should be described as lively. This Eight Tails Jinchuriki was very active, always enjoying rapping and other songs, to the extent that he occasionally spoke in rhymes and even held rap concerts, though the audience was mostly his close students. Let's fill in some lyrics first. Killer Bee, after training for a while, seemed to have a musical inspiration and took out a small notebook he carried with him, seriously writing down his lyrics. B. The Eight Tails inside him immediately called out to its host, reminding in a deep voice, "Something doesn't feel right. I suddenly sensed a terrifying chakra." Terrifying? Killer Bee raised his arm, striking an exaggerated pose. "Let me think how to show a terrifying move at the concert." "Idiot!" The Eight Tails hurriedly cursed him, speaking gravely. "This chakra's aura is more terrifying than the first Hokage Hashirama whom I once encountered." "Be-sensei!" A rapid voice came over. A blonde female ninja leapt towards Killer Bee, shouting loudly, "Something big happened in the village. Go and check it out quickly." This was Killer Bee's student, Samui. Because Samui had always been responsible for liaising with Killer Bee and the Cloud Village, she and her teammates returned to the village, only to find it transformed into a primeval forest. Her two remaining teammates volunteered to investigate the situation, but were immediately captured by vines emerging from the forest and bound to trees. Only Samui managed to escape. Naturally, the first person Samui thought of was her teacher. "What happened?" Killer Bee curiously looked at his student, pondering the biggest trouble for him. "Did my big brother get angry again? I won't go. I'd rather die than go. You should go take a look." Despair was evident in Samui's eyes. When Killer Bee and Samui arrived at the Cloud Village, they saw that the village, once standing tall on a mountain, was now covered by forest trees. He began to sweat in fear, as the Eight Tails within him also informed him of the situation. "This is Wood Release." The Eight Tails, sealed inside Killer Bee, was even more terrified than Killer Bee. "Hashirama's Wood Release, the terrifying enemy I sense is in there." This primeval forest reminded the Eight Tails of its past, a deep-seated fear resurfacing as it recalled being effortlessly captured by Hashirama Senju's Wood Release without any ability to resist. Despite being suppressed by successive Reikages over the years, the Eight Tails still saw a vast disparity compared to Hashirama. The ancient fear gradually resurfaced. "Charge in!" Swords emerged from their sheaths in Killer Bee's hands, and octopus tentacles suddenly sprouted from his back. This was the power lent to him by the Eight Tails. The swords were wrapped in octopus tentacles. Killer Bee charged directly into the forest. Despite knowing the forest concealed dangers and terrifying enemies, he could not afford to hesitate. Vines surged towards Killer Bee, but he wielded his swords, cutting them down with his exceptional swordsmanship. "Use the tailed beast ball directly." The Eight Tails suggested a method to clear the forest. "That's not feasible." Killer Bee's eyes darted around. Seeing his fellow Cloud Ninja bound in the forest, he refused the Eight Tails' proposal, because there were still companions from the Cloud Village here. However, Killer Bee's swordsmanship couldn't hold out for long. Boom! The Cloud Forest trembled. A massive bull-headed octopus appeared in the forest, with Killer Bee having entered tailed beast mode. The colossal bull-headed octopus rampaged through the forest. A wooden dragon emerged from the forest, coiling around the bull-headed octopus and instantly absorbing its chakra. Inside the Reikage's office, the office had already been pierced by a towering giant tree. Standing under the tree, Akihara Kagura felt the chakra absorbed into his body. Standing under the tree, Akihara Kagura felt the chakra absorbed into his body. Looking at the fourth Reikage bound to the tree before him, he asked routinely, "Tell me, when did the Cloud Village collude with the Akatsuki organization? Where are the secret techniques the Cloud Village has stolen over the years? We would never stoop to colluding with that group of rats." The fourth Reikage, exhausted, still roared angrily, "You bastard, daring to invade the Cloud Village, I will never let you go, Lord Reikage." Darui lowered his head slightly. From the elevated position of the Reikage office, it was clear that the entire Cloud Village was surrounded by wood release. If the high-ranking ninjas of the village couldn't resist, what chance did the other ninjas have? To be rational, the entire Cloud Village had fallen. It was completely overrun by the enemy without any resistance. This was the darkest hour for the Cloud Village, even more terrifying than when the third Reikage was killed in battle, or when the untamed Eight Tails rampaged through the village. Lord Akihara Kagura, the fourth Reikage secretary, Mabui, looked at Akihara Kagura and asked, "Lord Kagura, do you intend to destroy the Cloud Village?" Mabui, the Reikage secretary, was the most rational and calm person in the Cloud Village, often mediating tensions between the Reikage and his subordinates. She sought to understand the situation with the enemy at this moment, hoping to find a reason for the Cloud Village's continued existence. "Mabui, the ninjas of the Cloud Village will never submit," the fourth Reikage snorted and rebuked his secretary. "Lord Reikage, calm down." Akihara Kagura raised his hand, and a vine completely gagged the fourth Reikage to prevent him from interfering. He looked at Mabui. "First, hand over the evidence of your collusion with the Akatsuki organization." "Apologies." Mabui shook her head and softly explained, "Lord Kagura, the Cloud Village has never had any contact with the Akatsuki organization. This can be arranged." Akihara Kagura tapped his finger on his arm. Mabui sighed helplessly. "There really isn't any." Mabui is very intelligent. The news of the Akatsuki's attack on the Sand Village has already spread throughout the ninja world. The Konoha village is the superior ally of the Sand Village. Akihara Kagura must be here to seek justice for the Sand Village, having learned about the Akatsuki's activities in the Land of Lightning, and came to the Cloud Village to gather intelligence on the Akatsuki. Mabui looked at Akihara Kagura with a sincere and humble expression. "Lord Kagura, you possess the power to single-handedly defeat a ninja village. If you want to do something, you shouldn't need evidence, right? A suspicion should be enough." Akihara Kagura glanced at Mabui in surprise. Secretary of the fourth Reikage is indeed very intelligent. She even has the logic to persuade Akihara Kagura. In a soft voice she said, "Since Lord Kagura wants to obtain some evidence from the Cloud Village, it means that Lord Kagura does not actually believe that our village is in collusion with the Akatsuki and has never suspected it. You are very smart." Akihara Kagura praised Mabui softly, then suddenly said, "But I infiltrated the Cloud Village to gather intelligence. Wouldn't it be inappropriate to leave empty-handed?" All the high-ranking officials of the Cloud Village rolled their eyes. Do the ninjas of the Konoha village have some misunderstanding about intelligence-gathering missions? They call directly conquering an enemy village infiltration and intelligence gathering. In fact, we, like Lord Kagura, also want to obtain information on the Akatsuki. Mabui's expression gradually became serious as she explained earnestly, "Because two members of the Akatsuki appeared in the Land of Lightning and attacked the Cloud Village's Two Tails Jinchuriki, we are also investigating the Akatsuki." "Mabui!" A Cloud Jonin quickly stopped Mabui and said loudly, "This is top-secret information of the village, it cannot. Is there any need to hide this information now?" The right-hand man of the fourth Reikage, Darui, felt that this Jonin was missing the point and took the initiative to defend Mabui. "The existence of the Two Tails Jinchuriki is to ensure the safety of the village. But now that the village has been breached and the Two Tails Jinchuriki has not appeared, there is no need to continue hiding this information. All intelligence is to protect the interests of the village." Darui glanced at the forested Cloud Village and shook his head. "When the village is in danger, what use is keeping the information?" After speaking, Darui looked at Akihara Kagura, Lord from the Konoha village, and after speaking, Darui looked at Akihara Kagura, Lord from the Konoha village. In a sense, both the Konoha and Cloud villages face the same enemy. It would be better if we join forces to gather intelligence on the Akatsuki. This seems unlikely. Akihara Kagura raised a finger and gently shook it. "I came to the Cloud Village for two purposes. The first is to gather intelligence on the Akatsuki. The second is to seek revenge for the Cloud Village's past attempt to seize the Konoha's Kekkei Genkai. Oh, by the way, besides the old evidence, I also caught you red-handed." Akihara Kagura placed his hand on the apple core, and with the infusion of his chakra, an apple tree slowly grew, bearing apples. Akihara Kagura picked a harmless apple, took a bite, and continued. While I was eating an apple here just now, you were discussing how to seize my would-release Keke Genka. Should I give you more time to continue your discussion? A drop of cold sweat rolled down Darui's forehead, and he explained in a deep voice. But this is because Lord Kagura entered the land of lightning. We feared your power and had to consider you as a potential enemy who might invade the Cloud Village. You have a point. Akihara Kagura raised his hand, releasing Darui and Mabui, then picked 2 apples from the tree and threw them to these 2 rational cloud ninjas. Darui looked at the apple in his hand but had no appetite to eat it. Even Mabui, holding her apple, was sweating coldly and could not think of eating it, despite smelling its sweetness. Then tell me. Akihara Kagura bit into his apple and sincerely asked, Now that I have invaded the Cloud Village, how should we handle this so you won't hold it against me? Darui and Mabui sweated profusely, thinking hard about how to answer. In their minds, it would be best if you committed seppuku as an apology. However, Akihara Kagura did not seem like such an old-fashioned person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have directly invaded the Cloud Village in such a confrontational manner. What is Lord Kagura's idea? Darui frowned slightly. Let's just say I'm here as a guest. Akihara Kagura patted the apple tree he had created. Consider this apple tree as my gift to you. Thank you. Mabui immediately realized the vitality in Cloud Village. However, Akihara Kagura looked at them and continued, You need to gather all the secret techniques of Cloud Village as an atonement for what you did to Konoha. Darui and Mabui couldn't make this decision. However, they also seemed unable to refuse Akihara Kagura. Negotiations only happen when both parties are equal, and they were not qualified for that yet. Oh, by the way, when visiting, others often bring gifts. When I return, I need to bring something local for Lady Tsunade. As Akihara Kagura spoke, he glanced at the 4th rakeage beside him. I'll take the rakeage back with me so Lady Tsunade doesn't think I did nothing. After all, I have superiors too. Darui and Mabui dared not make a decision. Scum! The 4th rakeage, his mouth blocked by vines, looked angrily at Akihara Kagura. If he broke free, he would undoubtedly fight Akihara Kagura to the death. Of course, you can also refuse. Akihara Kagura tossed the apple in his hand, continuing slowly. I'll just take all the Cloud Ninja corpses back as gifts and have the Yamanaka clan extract the memories I need from your bodies. You scoundrel! The 4th rakeage squeezed out a sentence from his throat. I've always heard that the rakeage title is inherited by family. Akihara Kagura's words darkened the 4th rakeage's expression. Will the 4th rakeage die honorably with Cloud Village or come with me as a specialty product from the land of lightning? The 4th rakeage gritted his teeth. If possible, the 4th rakeage would rather die. He believed his subordinates would willingly die with him too. However, from then on, the name of Cloud Village would vanish from the ninja world. Mabui! The 4th rakeage glanced at Mabui, gritting out his words. Go to the Forbidden Techniques room and get what this scoundrel wants. During my absence, support Darui and make sure B stays where he should. Lord Rakeage! A group of Cloud Jonin looked at the 4th rakeage, deeply moved. A leader willing to endure humiliation for his subordinates, especially one known for his unyielding spirit, willing to die before surrendering. Akihara Kagura collected the ninjutsu and secret scrolls of Cloud Village, which could supplement the Roots database and provide some lightning release techniques for Uchiha Sasuke, showing him that hard work and obedience are rewarded. The technique most suitable for Uchiha Sasuke was undoubtedly the 4th rakeage lightning release chakra mode. Uchiha Sasuke had long been eager to battle his brother, Uchiha Itachi. Such a vendetta couldn't be permanently obstructed, as all Root Ninja sought revenge against Uchiha Itachi, the clan exterminator. Conveniently, Akihara Kagura also intended to secretly control the Akatsuki organization, using the opportunity to eliminate those who would never follow his orders, such as Uchiha Itachi, such as Kisame Hashigaki. The Akatsuki's missions to capture the tailed beasts had their members frequently out on assignments, giving Akihara Kagura the chance to defeat them one by one without attracting attention. Rock Village. In a remote wilderness, Kisame Hashigaki, wielding the Samehada, was battling the 4 Tails Jinchuriki Roshi. Due to constant conflicts with the 3rd Tsuchiki Janoki, Roshi had left Rock Village and wandered the ninja world as a traveling monk. Naturally, a lone Jinchuriki acting independently has always been a favored target of the Akatsuki, and no matter how strong Roshi might be, they would not fear him. Kisame Hashigaki, known as the Tailless Tailed Beast, repeatedly swung his Samehada sword, slicing through Roshi's body and absorbing his chakra. Rain was falling on the battlefield, enhancing Kisame's combat power. The ground still bore the burning flames caused by Roshi, the four-tails Jinchuriki. Lava release! Roshi clasped his hands together, about to unleash his lava release. Water release! Water shark bullet technique! Kisame quickly formed hand seals, releasing a water shark before Roshi could use his lava release, extinguishing the molten lava on Roshi's body. Kisame swung his Samehada, piercing Roshi's body, rendering the four-tails Jinchuriki completely powerless. It wasn't easy at all. Kisame lifted Roshi's body with his Samehada, carrying the blade over his shoulder, letting Roshi's body fall onto the sword. This allowed Kisame to carry Roshi off the battlefield, while Samehada continued to absorb Roshi's chakra, preventing further resistance. After finishing this, Kisame walked over to Uchiha Itachi, who was standing in the rain, smiling and revealing a mouth full of shark-like teeth. Itachi, standing in the rain will worsen your illness. Let's go. Uchiha Itachi ignored Kisame's concern, stood up and left with Kisame. Is something wrong? Kisame grinned and continued to ask, Is Itachi worried about your brother? I heard that kid Uchiha Sasuke killed Orochimaru and his strength might not be far behind yours now, right? Maybe. He might even be more talented than me. Itachi recalled the techniques Sasuke had used. Before the final battle, Itachi had thought about how to lose to Sasuke without arousing suspicion. However, after witnessing Sasuke's combat abilities, Itachi had to ensure he wouldn't be killed by Sasuke in the fight to pass on the information he wanted to convey. Most importantly, Sasuke must not learn the truth. If Sasuke discovered the truth about the Uchiha massacre, he would undoubtedly clash with Konoha, but his brother could never be a match for Akihara Kageura. Speaking of which, Itachi diverted from the topic of Sasuke and inquired about another concern. If the Akatsuki wants to capture the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, it will certainly have to deal with Akihara Kageura. I wonder how the Akatsuki plans to capture the Nine-Tails. That's not something we need to worry about. Kisame smiled, unconcerned with such matters, focusing solely on the tasks given by Uchiha Obaido and Pain. Itachi doubted Pain's ability to accomplish this. Pain had mentioned that he, too, had been defeated by Akihara Kageura. If Itachi's estimation was correct, Pain lost to Akihara Kageura when Kageura was no older than 13. Over the years, Kageura's strength must have increased, and Itachi had witnessed Kageura's terrifying talent firsthand. It's possible Akihara Kageura might still be able to overpower Pain. In Konoha village, Jiraiya was also pondering this issue. The entire shinobi world was in turmoil due to the Akatsuki's actions. However, Jiraiya, having extensive knowledge of the Akatsuki, felt no immediate crisis from their troubles. He had witnessed Akihara Kageura single-handedly dismantle the Akatsuki and knew his two students were the true leaders of the organization. I need to meet Nagato. Jiraiya confided in Tsunade about the Akatsuki, Nagato, and Konan, seriously proposing, I need to go to the Land of Rain again, find the Akatsuki's base, and stop Nagato and Konan. The Akatsuki's leader is also your student. Tsunade looked up at Jiraiya's side and handed him a piece of information. Before you try to stop them, perhaps you should stop another of your students. What happened? Curious, Jiraiya took the information. Tsunade massaged her temples and said gravely, Akihara Kageura single-handedly Tsunade massaged her temples and said gravely, Akihara Kageura single-handedly attacked Cloud Village, captured the fourth Raikage, and is now bringing him back to Konoha. As everyone knows, Jiraiya has always been an excellent teacher. Regarding the level of instructing his students, Jiraiya is certainly top-notch. At the very least, his students tend to cause more trouble than those taught by others. Currently, Jiraiya is feeling a severe headache, a very severe one. Nagato and Konan's Akatsuki organization is capturing tailed beasts on a large scale in the ninja world, giving the impression that there is a grand conspiracy within Akatsuki. Meanwhile, Akihara Kageura is adding fuel to the fire, making it seem like Konoha is ready to launch a new round of ninja world war at any time. Don't worry. We can consult Kakashi and the old man on this matter. Jiraiya decided to help Tsunade solve the immediate problem, believing that Akihara Kageura bringing back the fourth Raikage wasn't a big deal. Kakashi and the old man are aware of Kageura capturing the Mizukage and Tsuchikage. We can learn from their experience. Tsunade could only sigh helplessly. As expected, just as Jiraiya predicted, neither Hatake Kakashi nor the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen were particularly surprised by Akihara Kageura capturing the fourth Raikage. They even proactively offered detailed solutions, from how to placate the fourth Raikage to how to make him sign an agreement. As long as we are careful and don't let Danzo find out. As Sarutobi Hiruzen, reincarnated through the Edo Tensei, said this, he suddenly realized that his old friend Shimura Danzo had been dead for 2 or 3 years, and his own reincarnated body was Danzo's corpse. I understand. Tsunade still believed that Danzo was alive. Many people in Konoha thought that Danzo was still alive, just under house arrest in the route, and had completely retired. Even the 2 retired advisors didn't want to see him, perhaps regretting the harm done to the 3rd Hokage. Following Kakashi and Sarutobi Hiruzen's advice, Tsunade led the Anbu out of Konoha to greet the arrival. Unfortunately, she couldn't block the news from the route as Hiruzen did because the person who captured the 4th Raikage was the current leader of the route. This meeting was somewhat novel for Tsunade. The last time she met the 4th Raikage, he had taken by certain village's secret technique, and a group of cloud ninjas was being pursued by certain village. One of the cloud ninjas was about to die from the secret technique, and it was only thanks to Shizune beside Tsunade that he was saved, unexpectedly. When they met again, she was now the 5th Hokage of Konoha, and the 4th Raikage was already a prisoner. Long time no see, Lord Raikage. Tsunade greeted the 4th Raikage cordially. Tsunade! The 4th Raikage still had some anger on his face. Even though he submitted to protect the Cloud Village, he was unwilling to bow to Konoha so easily, even if it meant death. However, Akihara Kagura had no interest in their conversation. After a brief greeting, he returned to the route base. Having been away for these days, he still had many things to do. In the office. As soon as Akihara Kagura closed the door, White Zetsuoi emerged from the ground and brought up the first matter. The last time you recalled the 4 Hokage, allowing Albedo to escape safely and facilitating Akatsuki's plan. Albedo is very pleased. System prompt recalled the 4 Hokage to Konoha, preventing them from pursuing Uchiha Albedo. 76th time, task completed, reward, Uchiha Albedo's combat experience. Akihara Kagura frowned. Uchiha Albedo's resources had been exhausted. Over the past 2 or 3 years, Akihara Kagura had extracted all of Uchiha Albedo's abilities by repeatedly utilizing the 4 Hokage to pursue him. This meant one thing. Uchiha Albedo, who had always looked down on him, was no longer this meant one thing. Uchiha Albedo, who had always looked down on him, was no longer of much use. Albedo also wants you to send Hidden and Kakuzu back. White Zetsuoi noticed Akihara Kagura's displeasure and immediately interrupted himself, softly asking, "Young man, what's wrong?" "I'm fine." Akihara Kagura slowly shook his head. Although White Zetsuoi conveyed Uchiha Albedo's orders, the work system had not issued any tasks, indicating that the system also hoped Akihara Kagura would change jobs. However, Uchiha Albedo clearly had never considered this. "Then I will proceed to the second matter." White Zetsuoi continued to relay the order from Uchiha Albedo to Akihara Kagura. Albedo also wants Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi to start their duel as soon as possible. Understood. Akihara Kagura nodded again and waved his hand, saying, "I will handle this matter as soon as possible. By the way, go tell them that I can now resurrect Uchiha Madara at his peak." "Is it possible now?" "Yes." Akihara Kagura touched his forehead and said in a low voice, "But I still need a powerful sacrifice. Hopefully they can provide me with a strong White Zetsu with abundant life force." "Understood." White Zetsuoi quickly burrowed into the ground. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock at the door. The first person to come and see Akihara Kagura was not Karin, but Uchiha Sasuke, who had been waiting for news from Akihara Kagura. He wanted to get Akihara Kagura's permission to seek revenge. Uchiha Sasuke requested in a deep voice, "I want to kill Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Albedo to complete the Uchiha clan's revenge." "Granted," Akihara Kagura agreed, pulling out a ninjutsu scroll and tossing it to Uchiha Sasuke. "I heard about your impressive performance during my absence. This is what I obtained in Cloud Village. You and Kakashi should train with this technique together." "This is..." Uchiha Sasuke opened the scroll. It was the secret technique of Cloud Village, the lightning release chakra mode. In the entire Konoha, only Uchiha Sasuke and Hideki Kakashi were suitable for training in this secret technique, as they were the most proficient in lightning release techniques. Undoubtedly, the lightning release chakra mode would significantly enhance their combat power. Leaning on his desk, Akihara Kagura stated his condition. "Learn this technique first, then go complete your revenge." "Understood." Uchiha Sasuke nodded lightly. Since joining the route, Uchiha Sasuke had always felt that his path to revenge was smooth and that his life was finally on the right track. Many people thought his life was on track. Even Uchiha Albedo, no longer being hunted by the 4 Hokage, believed that things were going well. The Eye of the Moon plan had begun to proceed in an orderly manner. 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails, 4 tails, 5 tails, 6 tails, 7 tails. The Akatsuki organization had successively captured these 7-tailed beasts, leaving only their 8 tails and 9 tails. There was a small issue with their 8 tails. Although Cloud Village had been attacked by Akihara Kagura and even the 4th Reikage had been captured, the Akatsuki still faced some pressure in launching a full-scale attack on Cloud Village. Therefore, the Akatsuki needed to concentrate their forces. Akatsuki Base. Uchiha Abaido had some regrets, regretting that he didn't fully utilize Akihara Kagura. HMPH, if I had known earlier that Akihara Kagura had taken over the Cloud Village, I should have had him bring out the 8 tails Jinchuriki and hand him over to us. It doesn't matter. Now there are only 2-tailed beasts left. Black Zetsu also lamented the smoothness of their plan, a smile appearing on half of its face. As long as we gather the last 2-tailed beasts, we can resurrect Madara and activate the Eye of the Moon. To ensure Kagura doesn't encounter any problems when capturing the 9 tails, the Akatsuki will handle capturing the 8 tails. HMPH, I hope everything goes smoothly. Uchiha Abaido frowned, a hint of unease in his eyes. Konoha still has 4 reincarnated Hokage. Even if Akihara Kagura stands with us and helps us capture the 9 tails Jinchuriki, the plan might still encounter some complications. Black Zetsu chuckled darkly and reminded Uchiha Abaido, I've already made thorough preparations. When Oi last reported Kagura's information, it was confirmed that Kagura could revive Madara in his prime. As long as Madara is revived, no one will be his match. Not even the first Hokage, Hashirama, could stand against him. Everything is under control. Now, as long as the Akatsuki members gather, they can attack the Cloud Village. Capture now, as long as the Akatsuki members gather, they can attack the Cloud Village. Capture the 8 tails Jinchuriki Killer B and have Akihara Kagura secretly resurrect Uchiha Madara. Then, cause havoc in Konoha. With Uchiha Madara and Akihara Kagura together battling the 4 reincarnated Hokage, Nagato and Uchiha Abaido will capture the 9 tails Jinchuriki Naruto Uzumaki. After reviving the 10 tails, they will use Nagato to resurrect Uchiha Madara with the Rinnegan. At that moment, Eye of the Moon plan will be fully realized. At that moment, everyone will know the truth of the ninja world. Black Zetsu, thinking about its meticulously crafted plan, smiled even more sinisterly. It had already sent White Zetsu Oi to inform Kagura to secretly resurrect Uchiha Madara in his prime through the Edo Tensei. As for the sacrificial offering, isn't White Zetsu Oi the offering? Konoha Village. Root Base. White Zetsu Oi brought back Uchiha Madara's corpse, looking somewhat dejected because it had received orders to become the sacrificial offering. Farewell, young one. White Zetsu Oi sighed deeply, delivering Black Zetsu's message. The main body has ordered me to be the sacrificial offering for the Edo Tensei to resurrect Lord Madara. Whoever wants to turn you into a sacrifice should themselves become a sacrifice. Akihara Kagura responded without even lifting his head, seemingly not considering Oi's sacrifice at all, which made White Zetsu Oi feel a surge of emotion almost akin to tears. Young one. White Zetsu Oi didn't fully understand this feeling, lacking human physiological functions, and asked earnestly, Do you know what it feels like to cry? You won't need to understand in the future. Akihara Kagura raised his head, glanced at the corpse brought by White Zetsu Oi, and took out a sealing scroll. All right, from today onward, as long as Madara's corpse is in our hands, we will hold the initiative in this world. As long as the body of Uchiha Madara is in possession, the future direction of the ninja world will be completely in the hands of Akihara Kagura. Because Black Zetsu needs Uchiha Madara to be resurrected to initiate the true Eye of the Moon plan, a plan that neither Uchiha Abaido nor Nagato can fully grasp. Only Uchiha Madara can truly control it. However, once Black Zetsu handed Uchiha Madara's body to Akihara Kagura, the control over the initiation of the Eye of the Moon plan also fell into Kagura's hands. If Akihara Kagura is unwilling to hand over Uchiha Madara's body, even Black Zetsu has no way to resurrect Madara. Of course, Black Zetsu believed that Akihara Kagura would definitely use Edo Tensei to resurrect Uchiha Madara. But this time, Black Zetsu miscalculated. Black Zetsu had not yet received any news about Uchiha Madara's resurrection. Black Zetsu could communicate with Uchiha Madara remotely, and if Madara had been resurrected, he would surely have contacted Black Zetsu, the will of Madara. However, this remote contact never occurred. To find out why Uchiha Madara had not yet been resurrected, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu rushed to the root base, hoping to understand why Akihara Kagura had not quietly resurrected Uchiha Madara. Kagura gave them a nerve-wracking answer. I want to conduct some research on Uchiha Madara's body. Kagura's answer caused Black Zetsu to panic inside. No, you! What research are you doing at this critical moment of the Eye of the Moon plan? Black Zetsu could only remind Kagura, hoping Kagura would be more rational. The Eye of the Moon plan is about to succeed. We can't afford to lack Madara's power. This time, it was the closest to success Black Zetsu had ever been. Without Uchiha Madara's resurrection, even if the 10 tails were resurrected, what would be the point? Moreover, the resurrection of the 10 tails would likely draw the attention of the Sage of 6 Paths, who constantly monitors the ninja world. There's no rush. Kagura looked at Black Zetsu and White Zetsu and refused Black Zetsu's proposal. I researched Uchiha Madara's body and discovered something surprising. The Rinnegan is the final evolution of the Sharingan. I want to further study how to obtain the Rinnegan. Black Zetsu fell silent immediately. I can tell you. The creature, always claiming to be the will of Uchiha Madara, had to reveal a secret of the creature, always claiming to be the will of Uchiha Madara, had to reveal a secret of the Uchiha clan. The prerequisite for awakening the Rinnegan is the evolution of the Mangekyo Sharingan into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Kagura seemed very curious about this term. Correct. Black Zetsu nodded and explained the method. Using the Mangekyo Sharingan too much will cause Uchiha to go blind. However, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan can gain eternal eye power. To obtain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, one must transplant another pair of Mangekyo Sharingan from a blood relative after awakening their own Mangekyo Sharingan. Black Zetsu even used Uchiha Sasuke from the root as an example. For instance, if Uchiha Sasuke awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, he could gain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan by transplanting Uchiha Itachi's eyes. The same principle applies vice versa. I want to verify this first. Kagura's fingers tapped the table as he casually mentioned. Uchiha Sasuke has always wanted to kill Uchiha Itachi. Let those brothers kill each other. Black Zetsu did not oppose this idea and even advocated for it. It just so happens that Uchiha Itachi has always wanted to kill his brother and take his eyes. Let Uchiha Sasuke awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan and have the brothers fight each other to verify our claims. Whether Uchiha Itachi or Uchiha Sasuke awakens the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, it is possible that the ninja world could gain another pair of Rinnegan in the future. This way, they could also serve as a backup for the Eye of the Moon plan. I hope what you said is true. Kagura squinted his eyes, revealing a curious look. I hope this time I can be amazed. Of course. Black Zetsu dared not reject Kagura's opinion. By the way, Kagura looked at Black Zetsu and White Zetsu and suddenly asked, I want to kill Uchiha Obaido and Nagato and complete the Eye of the Moon plan myself. What do you think? Both Black Zetsu and White Zetsu were shocked. What is wrong with these people in the ninja world? That Uchiha Obaido has always been secretly trying to gain control over the Eye of the Moon plan, and now even Akihara Kagura wants to lead it. Akihara Kagura looked earnestly at Black Zetsu and White Zetsu and proposed, Only I can lead the Eye of the Moon plan to success. Black Zetsu and White Zetsu were skeptical. However, they couldn't voice their true thoughts. Judging by Akihara Kagura's capabilities, before the 10 Tails' complete resurrection, he indeed could determine whether the Eye of the Moon plan would succeed, but handing the plan over to him seemed somewhat unreliable. Forget it! Akihara Kagura shook his head and lightly tapped his desk with his finger. Let's table this discussion for now. First, let's prepare for the duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke. All right. Black Zetsu and White Zetsu nodded. Yet, after they left, Akihara Kagura revealed a mysterious smile, which puzzled the nearby White Zetsuoi. Young man, what's the matter? White Zetsuoi looked at Akihara Kagura curiously. Oi! Akihara Kagura sighed deeply and asked a question. How do you think one can make a person who is betrayed by everyone believe that another person is their comrade? Make the other person also be betrayed by everyone. White Zetsuoi pondered for a moment and caught up with Akihara Kagura's thought process. That makes sense. Akihara Kagura praised White Zetsuoi. Just as Akihara Kagura and White Zetsuoi were discussing, Karin came to deliver documents and brought news. Jiraiya has left Konoha. Jiraiya is still determined to go to the Land of Rain to investigate the whereabouts of Nagato and Konan, intending to prevent his disciples from making mistakes. If Akihara Kagura were to evaluate this, he would wonder if this teacher had not seen the power of the Rinnegan last time and now plans to test it himself. Akihara Kagura rubbed his forehead. Even though he had previously informed Jiraiya about the Akatsuki's information, why does Jiraiya still think he can handle the Akatsuki's trouble? Does he really believe he can stop Nagato and Konan? Forget it! In that case, let's accelerate the plan. Akihara Kagura instructed Karin and outlined his plan. You and Uchiha Sasuke will lead all the root ninjas to track down Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obaido's whereabouts. Oi, go assist Karin and inform Black Zetsu and Obaido about this, drawing their attention to the fight between Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi. Yes, Karin nodded. Young man, what about you? White Zetsu Oi was somewhat confused and asked, Aren't you going to watch the White Zetsu Oi was somewhat confused and asked, Aren't you going to watch the Uchiha brothers fight? I have more important things to do. Akihara Kagura shook his head, not answering White Zetsu Oi's question. Let everyone's attention be focused on this brotherly duel. Once they watch a good show, they will realize that the ninja world has undergone a drastic change. Change! Karin suddenly felt a bit uneasy. The entire root base quickly received Akihara Kagura's orders. All the surviving members of the Uchiha clan cheered with joy. After many years, they could finally take revenge on Uchiha Itachi. Root training ground. Uchiha Sasuke was still here training in lightning release chakra mode with Hideki Kakashi when he received an order from the root division, instructing him to immediately lead the root ninja to search for Uchiha Itachi's whereabouts and to hunt down Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obaido, who nearly wiped out the Uchiha clan years ago. Finally, I can kill that guy. A substantial mass of chakra appeared on Uchiha Sasuke's body, sparking with lightning as he entered lightning release chakra mode. Recalling the man he had longed to kill day and night, Sasuke angrily punched a wooden post, which shattered into countless pieces under his fist. I'll go with you, Hideki Kakashi sighed. Although Sasuke intended to hunt down Itachi, he obviously wouldn't spare Obaido either. Kakashi planned to act alongside the root members. This sort of thing naturally couldn't be hidden from Tsunade. Tsunade, a bit uneasy after seeing Jiraiya off, heard Kakashi's report and request. The large-scale mobilization of the root division was bound to cause a commotion. However, for Jiraiya, this was good news, because Sasuke and the root's actions would definitely attract the attention of the Akatsuki members, making Jiraiya's journey to find the Akatsuki base in the Land of Rain potentially safer. Team 7 move out together. While commanding Kakashi to lead Team 7, Tsunade calculated Konoha's deployable forces. I'll send Team 3, Team 8, and Team 10 as well. We absolutely cannot let Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obaido escape. Root Base, the most secretive place within the entire Root Base. Undoubtedly, it was Orochimaru and Yakushi Kabuto's laboratory. Akihara Kagura opened the door to the lab, finding Orochimaru and Kabuto still busy inside. The two were somewhat surprised to see Kagura. Orochimaru, while recording experimental data, teased Kagura. Kagura-kun, since I came to Konoha, you haven't visited me here. Is there something important, Lord Orochimaru? Kagura's attitude towards Orochimaru remained respectful. He asked with interest, Are you interested in making a trip to the Akatsuki base? There's nothing there to care about. Orochimaru shook his head, uninterested in the Akatsuki base. After all, the Akatsuki members aren't your match. You can eliminate them and bring back their hidden secrets, giving me more excellent experimental materials. Jiraiya-sensei is going. Kagura mentioned a name, continuing slowly. I heard Jiraiya-sensei plans to stop the Akatsuki's actions alone, intending to persuade Nagato and Konan to halt their tailed beast capture plan. Orochimaru paused his pen, then resumed recording data, a sinister smile playing on his lips. He's really courting death. A disciple who wants to pave his own path just needs his teacher's life to prove he's on the right track. Will you go? Kagura asked again. I'm not interested in the Akatsuki. Orochimaru repeated, though his expression turned somewhat grim. You and Kabuto have exhumed the corpses of the strong from the ninja world. Even if I went, what could I do? I'm no longer a match for that Nagato kid. I will go too. Kagura's statement immediately gave Orochimaru confidence. Though I'm not interested in the Akatsuki. Orochimaru looked up at Kagura, smiling slyly. I've always been intrigued by the secrets hidden in the Akatsuki's Rinnegan and Jido statue. Kagura smiled at Orochimaru and nodded slowly. The secrets the Akatsuki hide are far more than Lord Orochimaru imagines. How about you go ahead first, to prevent Jiraiya-sensei from encountering any accidents? You're quite considerate of Jiraiya. Orochimaru chuckled, taking off his white robe. Kagura-kun, aren't you worried I'll divulge all your and the root secrets once I leave? Any one of these secrets could ruin your reputation in the ninja world. It doesn't matter. Kagura smiled, spreading his hands. When the real big event happens, all of this will be insignificant. Orochimaru squinted his eyes slightly and strode out of the lab. Only Kagura and Kabuto remained in the lab. Do you need me to go? Kabuto looked at Kagura curiously. Protect the director. Kagura gave Kabuto a task, taking out a bark-like item from his pocket and tossing it to him. If you hear I've become the enemy of the entire ninja world, give this bark to the 5th Hokage. Kabuto glanced at Kagura in surprise, catching the bark but showing no interest in its origin. Kagura, why become a rogue ninja? What happened? Something is about to happen. Kagura pointed to the bark, softly reminding, "This records the history of the ninja world. It can only be read with wood release chakra. Don't say I gave it to you, just say you found it hidden in the orphanage from when I was young." Outside the village of Konoha, a dozen Konoha ninja in cloaks gathered here. The young members of teams 3, 7, 8, and 10 have grown up. They are about to leave Konoha to search for Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obaido. Since the captain of Team 8, Kurenai Yuhai, is pregnant, Tsunade has temporarily appointed an ANBU member named Tenzo to act as the captain of Team 8. "Is it just us?" Sarutobi Asuma, the captain of Team 10, still felt apprehensive about the Akatsuki's strength, holding a cigarette in his mouth. "We might face a tough battle this time." "Don't worry." Hatake Kakashi, the captain of Team 7, glanced in the direction of the village and waved his hand. "Our main task is to coordinate with others." "Oh!" Sarutobi Asuma turned his head. A group of root ninjas, dressed in elite combat uniforms and wearing animal masks, emerged from Konoha. Leading them were Karin and a masked young man with black hair. "Are they from the root?" Might Guy, the captain of Team 3, walked over in surprise. "Is the root mobilizing entirely?" Sarutobi Asuma looked at the group of root ninjas, quickly scanning them and feeling something was off. "There are at least 20 squads, right? Their numbers are almost equal to the AMBUs. It should be about right." Nara Shikamaru couldn't help but glance at his teacher, thinking he still didn't grasp the situation after the last incident. The root has 4 reincarnated Hokage and a number of subordinates similar to the ANBU. Isn't that normal? Uzumaki Naruto immediately recognized Uchiha Sasuke among them. He wanted to greet him but stopped himself, remembering the root ninjas' identities are confidential. "You just need to follow us." Uchiha Sasuke, wearing a cat mask, looked at Hatake Kakashi and said, "The root has some information about the Akatsuki. Once we find any clues about Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obaido, I will send someone to inform you." "All right." Hatake Kakashi didn't argue. The 4 teams, combined with the root ninjas, numbered over 100. They quickly left Konoha, advancing towards an old Uchiha clan outpost in a fan-shaped formation, using the information intermittently relayed between Karin and White Zetsu, Oi. Based on Uchiha Sasuke's decision, after consulting with his surviving clansmen, he planned to initiate a revenge battle against Uchiha Itachi at the family's former site, to make Itachi understand the extent of his mistakes. "The root will spread your message across the ninja world." Karin adjusted her glasses, agreeing to Uchiha Sasuke's request. "If everything goes as planned, Uchiha Itachi should show up and Uchiha Obaido might appear as well." Such a large-scale operation, combined with the information from White Zetsu Oi, could not be hidden from Uchiha Obaido and Zetsu. They quickly realized something was amiss. Uchiha Sasuke is Akihara Kagura's person. White Zetsu's main body conveyed the information it received from Oi. Uchiha Sasuke has always wanted to kill Uchiha Itachi. The 5 Hokage of Konoha want to use this opportunity to gather intelligence on the Akatsuki, which led to this large-scale operation. A duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke aligns with our interests. Black Zetsu's raspy voice sounded sinister. "Regardless of who wins, we will obtain a pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan." But there are too many people. Uchiha Obaido felt uneasy, sensing potential trouble if he tried to intervene. With over 100 Konoha ninja mobilized, Uchiha Itachi is bound to lose, although he probably never intended to win. "That doesn't matter." White Zetsu's main body shook its head, mentioning another piece of information from White Zetsu's main body shook its head, mentioning another piece of information from Oi. "Akihara Kagura has instructed us that the root members will fully obey his orders. We only need to relay the orders through Oi to Karin. Karin's information is that Uchiha Sasuke wants to confront Uchiha Itachi in an old Uchiha clan warehouse." "I see." Uchiha Obaido also remembered that place and nodded, saying, "That place is indeed quite suitable for us to hide and observe." "By the way, where is Akihara Kagura?" Uchiha Obaido inquired about the whereabouts of Akihara Kagura. "Still in Konoha, I suppose." White Zetsu shook his head again and continued, "For Kagura, this is just an experiment. He wants to see the power that the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan can unleash from the victor of the duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke." "HMPH, then let's arrange the duel between Itachi and Sasuke first." Uchiha Obaido sneered and continued, "If Uchiha Sasuke can awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan in this battle, I will tell him the truth about the night of the clan massacre and lure him to become our ally in capturing the tailed beasts. After all, the strength of the Cloud Village is formidable, and capturing the 8 tails won't be easy." Uchiha Obaido felt a bit regretful as he thought about it. For the plan to capture the 9 tails, we can't let Akihara Kagura expose his identity and help. Let Uchiha Itachi go to the meeting. Uchiha Albedo clenched his fist and said in a deep voice, "After this duel, we will take the victor to capture the 8 tails." In the Land of Rain, at the Akatsuki organization's base, a group of Akatsuki members were still waiting for the order to capture the 8 tails, as this time it was likely to be a collective action. However, instead of waiting for the capture order, they first heard the news of Uchiha Sasuke and the Konoha ninjas searching for Uchiha Itachi extensively, and Uchiha Sasuke challenging Uchiha Itachi to a duel. It's time! Uchiha Itachi did not intend to resist his fate. Ever since that night of the clan massacre, he had been contemplating when and how he should die at the hands of his brother. Now, Sasuke was strong enough. Even if Uchiha Itachi used all his strength, he might not be able to defeat Uchiha Sasuke, and the probability of failure was even higher. That brother, the only thing he lacked was a pair of Mangekyou Sharingan and the most secret part of the Uchiha clan, how to obtain the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan without going blind. Itachi! Kisame Hashigaki grinned and said with a chuckle, "I heard that little brat Uchiha Sasuke is bringing quite a few people." Uchiha Itachi nodded slowly, not caring much about it. If he wanted to, he could use his Mangekyou Sharingan ability, Amaterasu, to create a separate area for their duel. "I'm going to the meeting." Uchiha Itachi adjusted his black robe with red clouds. The place Sasuke had chosen was quite suitable, and for Itachi, it wasn't a bad place to die. Kisame Hashigaki followed behind Uchiha Itachi without mentioning what he was planning to do. Perhaps he was still following Uchiha Albedo's orders to monitor Uchiha Itachi. In the vast Akatsuki base, only Sasori of the Red Sand, Deidara, Pain, and Konan were left among the members. This lineup made attacking the Cloud Village somewhat troublesome. They didn't seem to be able to do much. The only thing they could do was wait quietly for news. The plan is finally nearing completion. Pain looked at the Jido statue of the outer path behind him, all 7 of its eyes already open. His true body, Nagato, could easily use its power. Yes! Konan still had some concerns about Nagato's health and nodded worriedly. "I hope everything goes smoothly, but your body, it doesn't matter." Pain shook his head, his mind focused only on their plan, as long as we fulfill Yahiko's wish and change the entire ninja world. Pain understood Konan's implication and brought up their former adversary. "Do you remember when Hanzo of the Salamander mentioned, 'For me, death is not the end of life'?" Hanzo! Konan furrowed her brow and used Hanzo's words to persuade Pain. "He still hopes that you can inherit Rain Village." Pain fell silent as he remembered his promise to Hanzo. Considering his physical condition and current plans, he continued, "If the ninja world can achieve lasting peace, it doesn't matter who inherits Rain Village." Konan's expression subtly darkened. Outside the Akatsuki base, Sasori and Deidara were sitting outside, watching the rain. They were the only ordinary members left in the base. Deidara looked up at the rain and grumbled, "When can we attack Cloud Village? I've stored up quite a lot of art. Go rest." Sasori, in his gruff voice, began to control Haruko to head back. "Wait!" Deidara suddenly called out to Sasori, raising his voice. "Sasori Dana, someone is back!" Deidara suddenly called out to Sasori, raising his voice. "Sasori Dana, someone is back!" "Look, someone is back!" Sasori glanced in the direction Deidara pointed. In the rain, the figures of Kakuzu and Hidden came into view. These 2 members, captured by Konoha, had returned at this time. Sasori's gaze shifted between Kakuzu and Hidden, finally focusing on Hidden. There was a connection among the 6 paths of puppets. "That guy!" Hidden also noticed Sasori's gaze and muttered to himself, evidently surprised that there was another person like him in the Akatsuki. Moreover, this person was an old member of the Akatsuki. Sasori, whom Pain trusted the most and like Hidden, was also a puppet of Akihara Kagura. "Hey, Kakuzu, Hidden!" Deidara, never one to hide his curiosity or care about others' dignity, said, "I heard you were captured by Konoha. How did you manage to escape? You bastard!" Hidden immediately showed a fierce expression, grabbing his scythe to fight Deidara. "Enough!" Kakuzu stopped Hidden with a cold voice. "Hidden, we have more important matters to discuss with Konan." This wasn't their own mission. It was assigned to them by Akihara Kagura, who brought them back to the Akatsuki. Though Kakuzu didn't know why Akihara Kagura wanted them to question Konan and Pain, Akihara Kagura was nearby and would soon arrive at the base. As Kakuzu, Hidden, Deidara, and Sasori argued and entered, a frog followed them into the base. Inside the frog, Jiraiya stroked his chin, frowning. Why did Kakuzu and Hidden return to the Akatsuki? Weren't they imprisoned by Root? Despite his curiosity, Jiraiya was thankful for Kakuzu and Hidden leading him to the Akatsuki base. Forget it. He could ask that question once back in Konoha. The most important task now was to infiltrate the Akatsuki base, find Konan and Nagato, and stop their plan to collect the tailed beasts. As the frog hopped into the base, a small white snake followed slowly, slithering into the base. When the white snake entered, Akihara Kagura's figure emerged from the shadows and then slowly merged back, silently infiltrating the base. Inside the Akatsuki base, Konan wasn't surprised by Kakuzu and Hidden's return, because Akihara Kagura, their spy, would certainly bring them back. However, Kakuzu suddenly posed a question to Konan and Pain. This guy named Akihara Kagura also claims to be a member of the Akatsuki. Is this true? Before the Akatsuki leader could respond, Deidara exploded in anger. Are you kidding? How could that guy be a member of the Akatsuki? Inside the frog, Jirya was shocked by this news. Inside the white snake, Orochimaru sneered upon hearing this. Everyone's eyes turned to Konan and Pain, especially Deidara, who was visibly upset. Yes! Pain, hearing Kakuzu mention Akihara Kagura, directly admitted it, regardless of the impact. About 10 years ago, Akihara Kagura joined the Akatsuki as a spy placed in Konoha. Everyone felt a chill run down their spine. A spy for the Akatsuki. Akihara Kagura was a spy for the Akatsuki in Konoha. Such a person. How could they be a spy? Akihara Kagura has been secretly providing us with crucial intelligence. Pain explained seriously to the Akatsuki members present. To capture the most dangerous Nine Tails, we have never revealed Akihara Kagura's identity. Akatsuki base. A frog hiding in the corner trembled in fear. This was because Jirya, using the toad stealth technique, was hiding inside the frog's belly, his body shaking uncontrollably. This tall man felt as if his heart had been struck by lightning. His student, Akihara Kagura, had been colluding with the Akatsuki all along. Jirya remembered the time he introduced Akihara Kagura to Nagato and Konan. Back then, Kagura had jokingly mentioned joining the Akatsuki. He had thought it was just a joke, but that joke turned out to be true. Considering Kagura's extreme personality, it was not surprising that he would collude with the Akatsuki. Nagato, Konan, and Kagura, these three troublesome students, had teamed up. In hindsight, Jirya felt a sense of relief. Luckily, he had come to the Akatsuki's base. The fact that Kagura was a spy for the Akatsuki had never been exposed, not even to its members. If this information never got out, then when the Akatsuki captured the Nine Tails in the future, Kagura's covert assistance would spell significant trouble for Konoha, compared to Jirya. Some members of the Akatsuki were even more troubled. Deidara clutched his head with one hand, shaking it vigorously, unable to accept that his longtime enemy, Akihara Kagura, was a member of the same organization. Ah, how can that bastard be a member of the Akatsuki? Deidara shouted in annoyance, deeply resenting Kagura, the perpetrator. I joined the Akatsuki just to kill him. Sasori gave Deidara a sympathetic look. If Deidara knew that his constant companion was Kagura's puppet and that Kagura had always been aware of his every move, Deidara might explode in anger on the spot. Calm down, Deidara, Sasori sighed, trying to console his fragile teammate. It's the truth, no one wanted this. At least now that Kagura is one of us, you can challenge him anytime. I'm not his match right now. Deidara's head drooped in defeat. The Akatsuki members were at a loss. Even Jirya and Orochimaru, hiding in the corner, felt suffocated. Was Deidara an idiot? If he's not Kagura's match, what's the point of complaining here? Would the Akatsuki expel Kagura just because of one person's objection? Who in the ninja world would give up someone like Kagura? Even Jirya, knowing Kagura had joined the Akatsuki, didn't think of killing his student first, but rather changing his mind. Enough! Konan stepped forward, speaking sternly. Deidara, Sasori, Hidden, Kakuzu, we will address Kagura's issue later. I heard that Konoha has mobilized a large force to search for information on Uchiha Itachi. To avoid a sneak attack by Konoha ninjas, you should go to the border of the Land of Rain and the Land of Fire to monitor for any enemy presence. Pain and I have urgent matters to discuss. Are you worried that Konoha will send people to hunt us down? Pain frowned, realizing it was a possibility. After all, the Akatsuki had caused such a stir in the ninja world, and with the 4 Hokage revived by Edo Tensei, there was a chance they might come after them. Then let's go! Sasori was the first to leave the Akatsuki base. Sasori, wait for me! Deidara quickly followed. Kakuzu and Hidden exchanged a glance and also left immediately. Konan! Pain looked at Konan in surprise, understanding her intent. Why did you send them away? There's something wrong. Someone has infiltrated the base. Konan raised her hand, pointing to the spot where the frog was hiding. The walls of the Akatsuki base began to crack, revealing traces of paper. This was the dance of the Shikigami. Compared to before, Konan's abilities had improved significantly. The base was still filled with Conan's paper. When Jirya used the toad stealth technique to infiltrate, he hadn't noticed that the frog he hid in was squatting on a piece of paper. Jirya-sensei. Pain's gaze fell on the frog, his expression turning grim. You still haven't learned your lesson from 10 years ago. Jirya remained hidden inside the frog's belly, the frog hopping a few times, seemingly moving naturally. However, everything the frog did was observed by Conan. There was no way this frog was just an ordinary animal, even if it were an ordinary frog. It had already overheard too many secrets and had to be eliminated for safety. Sheets of paper converged in Conan's palm, forming a paper spear. She raised her hand. Sheets of paper converged in Conan's palm, forming a paper spear. She raised her hand and hurled the spear directly at the frog. The frog opened its mouth wide in terror. A large hand suddenly stretched out from the frog's mouth, catching the paper spear thrown by Conan. A sigh echoed through the base. Conan, you used to be the most compassionate person. I didn't expect you to become so ruthless now. As Jirya's figure slowly emerged from the frog, his gaze fixed on Pain and Conan, intending to have a serious conversation with his two former students. He already knew that Nagato was behind Pain since their meeting 10 years ago. Kagura, that guy! Jirya frowned, recalling their encounter 10 years ago. At that time, he met his two students, intending to discuss their situation and uncover the true purpose of the Akatsuki organization. But something went wrong back then. At that time, Jirya still didn't know the true purpose of the Akatsuki, but he knew his student Akihara Kagura was even more extreme than the Akatsuki. Furthermore, with the news of Orochimaru defecting from the Akatsuki, Jirya lost interest in probing into the organization's secrets. After all, no matter how extreme the Akatsuki's goals were, could they be more extreme than what Akihara Kagura wanted to do? Over the years, Kagura seemed to have been corrected, or so Jirya thought, but it turned out he had secretly colluded with the Akatsuki. It seems we can't let Jirya-sensei leave today. Pain, with his Rinnegan fixed on Jirya, spoke calmly. To prevent the secret of Kagura being a member of the Akatsuki from being leaked, we have to keep you here. When did this happen? Jirya wanted to understand clearly. Akihara Kagura held an important position in Konoha, with immense power and access to many of its secrets, even rivaling the fifth Hokage Tsunade. The defection of the first Hokage advisor, Shimura Danzo, was nothing compared to the harm caused by the defection of the second Hokage advisor, Akihara Kagura. Moreover, is there a problem with the position of the Roots leader? The first Root leader colluded with Orochimaru, and the second colluded with the Akatsuki. 10 years ago, perhaps even earlier. Pain no longer hid anything from his teacher, never being a good liar. Uchiha Abaido introduced him to the Akatsuki. When we met in front of Yahiko's grave 10 years ago, Kagura had already joined the Akatsuki. Even when we had conflicts before, Kagura deliberately held back to let us go. All this happened right under Jirya-sensei's nose. Earlier than that, Jirya's face grew even more somber. If it was 10 years ago, Jirya could have some expectations. However, if it was even earlier and involved collusion with Uchiha Abaido, things had already spiraled completely out of his control. No wonder successive Hokages always failed to capture Uchiha Abaido. According to the information provided by Tsunade, successive Hokages had made no progress in hunting Uchiha Abaido or investigating the Akatsuki. Occasionally, there were matters that required the attention of all 5 Hokages in the village, preventing them from solely focusing on hunting down rogue ninjas. 10 years ago, we made an agreement. Pain looked at Jirya and continued softly. The Akatsuki supported Akihara Kagura in becoming Hokage, and Kagura supported the Akatsuki in capturing the tailed beasts. Wait a minute. Jirya interrupted Pain, frowning in surprise. This sounds somewhat familiar. Pain and Conan hesitated, seemingly feeling the same way. This sounds a bit like the situation with Shimura Danzo and Hanzo the Salamander. There aren't many sunny days in the land of rain, and there isn't much new news either. Shimura Danz once colluded with Hanzo the Salamander to overthrow the Akatsuki to seize the Hokage position. Akihara Kagura colluded with the Akatsuki to seize the Hokage position and overthrow the ninja world. The Roots leaders seem to get more outrageous with each generation, one generation surpassing the previous one. However, Jirya-sensei should be grateful to Kagura back then. Pain looked at Jirya, shaking his head slightly. We originally planned to kill you, but Kagura stopped us because he needed your support to become Hokage. Should I be grateful to him then? Jirya patted his own head. He didn't consider this a stroke of luck, but rather he felt a sense of relief about the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen's arrangements before his death. With a sigh, he said, "It was indeed wise of the old man not to make him Hokage. Fortunately, I chose Tsunade. Otherwise, who knows what might have happened? Forget it, let's not talk about him for now. Jirya abruptly ended the topic about Akihara Kagura, intending to discuss it with Tsunade once he returned to Konoha. Let's talk about the Akatsuki organization first. The Akatsuki has been constantly collecting tailed beasts in the ninja world. What exactly is their purpose? A terrifying weapon of war. Pain did not deny his plan and took the initiative to explain. Once we collect all the Pain did not deny his plan and took the initiative to explain. Once we collect all the tailed beasts in the ninja world, we can create a weapon powerful enough to threaten the entire world. This weapon could wipe out an entire village in one strike, easily destroy a great nation. At that time, peace will descend. Anyone who dares to start a war will feel the pain that war brings. Tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of people will be killed. Humanity will understand the horrors of war and fear its cruelty. From then on, peace will be maintained through deterrence, and people will refrain from waging war due to the threat of this weapon. This idea is too extreme. Jirya frowned, trying to reject his student's bizarre idea. To prevent the pain of war, you would preemptively kill billions to threaten against the onset of war. Our plan is already very mild. Pain shook his head, providing a real-world example. Compared to Kagura's previous suggestion of killing everyone in the ninja world and periodically cleansing the population, our plan is much more humane and less severe. Jirya found himself unable to refute. Compared to the plans proposed by Akihara Kagura, the Akatsuki's plan seemed almost mild, even somewhat compassionate. No! Jirya immediately dismissed this thought from his mind and hastily spoke. Regardless of whether your plan's level of harm to the ninja world is 100 or 50, it is still a great harm. Such plans are unacceptable. This is not true peace. Jirya looked at Pain and continued in a solemn tone. Nagato, this is merely a compromise based on deterrence, nothing but a false peace under the rule of might. Humanity is weak and ignorant. Pain shook his head again, seemingly having no hope of correcting Jirya's thoughts. God uses scars and pain to prompt them to grow and think. Also called false compromises ultimately stem from God's guidance. Jirya-sensei, you are merely a weak mortal who cannot comprehend the mind of God. Only beings as strong as Kagura, and I can understand that this plan is the correct one. Weak people believe our plan is too terrifying. Pain, observing Jirya's furious expression, continued to explain using the example of Akihara Kagura joining the Akatsuki, but true strong people choose to join us. Jirya found himself unable to argue. This tall, white-haired man sighed, feeling a trace of sadness in his heart. I really don't know what my students have been doing behind my back, but without a doubt you have all strayed down the wrong path. Jirya looked at Pain and earnestly continued to advise. Just because you and Akihara Kagura agree to do the same thing doesn't mean it is right. Well then, Jirya-sensei, Pain's gaze at Jirya gradually turned cold. How can you be sure that you are right? How can you stop us? To both Kagura and me, everyone else in this world is weak. Have you forgotten? Jirya-sensei, I bear the eyes of a sage bestowed by heaven, and Kagura possesses the unique sage's body in this world. The sage's body and sage's eyes symbolize the sage of the 6 paths who founded ninjutsu and brought peace to the ninja world. When the sage's eyes and body unite, Pain looked at Jirya as if he were observing a small ant. Jirya-sensei, how can you possibly resist the sage of the 6 paths? Damn! Jirya had almost forgotten about this teacher. Akihara Kagura possesses the sage body, and Nagato possesses the sage eyes. Both, claiming to be inheritors of the sage of 6 paths, united to overthrow the ninja world. Without a doubt, these 2 students now possess the strongest power in the ninja world. Nagato! Jirya shook his head, disagreeing with Pain's statement. You merely possess the power of the sage of 6 paths, but you do not understand the spirit of the sage. The ninja world he established in old times was an era where everyone could understand each other. The era of the ninja has long since changed. Pain shook his head, continuing coldly. Jirya-sensei, the ninja of this era cannot understand each other. The only thing they can empathize with is pain. You cannot keep up with the tide of the new era and will ultimately be completely forgotten by it here. Are you going to kill me? Jirya squinted his eyes. Jirya-sensei. Pain seemed somewhat regretful, speaking softly. We are ultimately not on the same path. I will kill you here to prove that the path we are walking is the right one. As Pain's words slowly fell, figures emerged from the depths of the Akatsuki base. All of these individuals wore black robes with red clouds. They looked different, had different hair releases, yet they all had the same hair color and the same pupils in their eyes. The Rinnegan. Without exception, all of these people possessed the Rinnegan. Tendo, Deva Path Chikashodo, Animal Path Ninjendo, Human Path Gakido, Preta Path Shurado, Usura Path Jigokyudo, Hell Path, the six paths of pain. All these people shared the same name, Pain. If others saw this scene, they might be frightened, but Jiraiya had known the truth behind Pain 10 years ago. He already knew that these people were puppets controlled by Nagato from behind. A total of 6 puppets. Jiraiya's gaze swept back and forth over the 6 orange-haired figures. After looking at all 6 faces, his expression suddenly changed. Wait, this isn't right. I've met all these people before. Jiraiya's heart pounded as he looked again at the 6 pains, remembering each person he had seen before. These puppets, all of them were people he had met in life. Except for Yahiko, the other pains were people he had encountered on his travels. After they died, their bodies were obtained by Nagato and made into Rinnegan puppets. The convergence of fate. Jiraiya strangely thought of the Great Toad Sage. No! Jiraiya's heart began to struggle violently as he thought of the Great Toad Sage's prophecy, considering what he should choose. This time, with Kagura not present in the Akatsuki, I must take care of Nagato first. If he and Kagura truly join forces in battle, no one in the ninja world could stand against them. However, to deal with Nagato first, he must first resolve the issue of the 6 paths of pain in front of him. Conan, you should leave. Tendo Path Pain, seeing Jiraiya's battle intent, indicated for Conan to leave first. I'll go take care of your real body. Conan's body instantly transformed into sheets of paper, flying towards the depths of the Akatsuki base. Every time Nagato used the 6 paths of pain, she worried about his body. Jiraiya-sensei. Tendo Path Pain extended his hand, suddenly raising it towards Jiraiya. Now it's just us here. Bancho Tenin. A sudden gravitational force emerged from Tendo Path Pain's hand. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed, and his body involuntarily flew towards Tendo Path Pain. Asura Path Pain held a black rod, ready to pierce through Jiraiya's body. Rasengan! Jiraiya raised his hand to release a Rasengan, using the gravitational pull to accelerate, intending to resolve Asura Path Pain before him. Jiraiya grabbed Asura Path Pain's black rod with one hand, aiming to press the Rasengan onto Asura Path Pain's body with the other. Summoning technique! Animal Path Pain instantly performed a summoning technique. Just as Asura Path Pain was about to be hit by Jiraiya's Rasengan, he disappeared from his original position, reappearing beside Animal Path Pain. However, this also exposed Tendo Path Pain to Jiraiya's attack. Preda Path Pain leaped up, directly blocking in front of Tendo Path Pain, reaching out to grasp Jiraiya's Rasengan, instantly absorbing all the chakra of the Rasengan. The 6 paths of pain were all controlled by one will, with one person controlling the 6 puppets, making their combat coordination very seamless. One can summon, one can absorb chakra. Jiraiya immediately identified the abilities of Animal Path Pain and Preda Path Pain, his gaze falling on Asura Path Pain. That was a puppeteer I once met, probably one who specializes in attacks. No, and Jiraiya's eyes also fell on the strongest, Tendo Path Pain, whom he had seen personally defeated by Akihara Kagura. The puppet made from Yahiko's body, skilled in using repulsion and gravitational attacks, and possibly other strange and powerful techniques, such as the Chibaku Tensei he had seen before. Honestly, even Tendo Path Pain alone made Jiraiya feel uncertain. In that case, Jiraiya's gaze once again fell on Hell Path Pain and Human Path Pain, who had been quietly standing at the back. Only the abilities of these 2 puppets remain unknown. Just as Jiraiya was deep in thought, the Preda Path Pain suddenly dodged, and Tendo Path Pain raised his hand, releasing a tremendous repulsive force towards Jiraiya. Shinra Tensei! Jiraiya's body was sent flying, tumbling until he crashed into a rock wall, spitting out blood. The power can't be this weak! Jiraiya had witnessed the power of Shinra Tensei in the battle between Tendo Path Pain. Jiraiya had witnessed the power of Shinra Tensei in the battle between Tendo Path Pain and Akihara Kagura. He squinted slightly. Is he worried about the base being destroyed in the battle? Swish, swish, swish. Tendo Path Pain, along with Asura Path Pain and Preda Path Pain, leaped towards Jiraiya, all 3 attacking him simultaneously. A black rod flashed in Tendo Path Pain's hand. A blade emerged from Asura Path Pain's arm. Jiraiya swiftly dodged, and the rock wall behind him was instantly destroyed by Asura Path Pain's attack, debris flying everywhere. Asura Path Pain continued to swing the blade on his arm, relentlessly slashing towards Jiraiya, indifferent to whether Jiraiya could counterattack. Ninjutsu, summoning technique! Jiraiya raised his hand, releasing the summoning technique. An iron-armed toad appeared, blocking Asura Path Pain's attack with its arms. Bypass them, go directly to deal with Nagato. Taking this opportunity, Jiraiya rolled and tried to rush inside the Akatsuki base. This idea was somewhat inhumane, as Jiraiya knew Nagato was immobile due to his injuries, compared to the 6 paths of pain. The immobile Nagato might be easier to deal with. However, Nagato might have seen through Jiraiya's thoughts. Tendo Path Pain swung his black rod to block his path, and the other pains also blocked his other exits. Fire release! Fire Dragon Flame Bullet! Jirya spat out a ball of flames, trying to clear a path. Preta Path Pain stood directly in front of the Fire Dragon Flame Bullet, raising his palm to absorb Jirya's ninjutsu. Wild Lion's main technique. Jirya's white hair grew wildly, sweeping towards Preta Path Pain's body, seemingly trying to control them with this move. A broad blade emerged from Asura Path Pain like a pair of scissors, directly cutting Jirya's extended hair. I should have been better prepared. To avoid Asura Path Pain's attack, Jirya had no choice but to jump onto a rock wall. Watching the 6 pains gradually surround him, a drop of cold sweat trickled down his forehead. The trouble is, he couldn't summon stronger toads to assist in battle now. This base might not accommodate the large size of toads like Gamabunta. The most suitable allies were undoubtedly Fukasaku and Shima, who could assist him in using Sage Mode. However, Fukasaku and Shima were too powerful. Summoning them required time. If possible, Jirya truly envied Akihara Kagura's summoning ability, capable of summoning all the toads of Mount Mayaboku, including the Great Toad Sage. Unfortunately, that student was also an enemy now. The most troubling part. The environment here was also unsuitable. The base inside this cavern was too spacious, and the 6 pains blocked all routes, leaving Jirya with no time to maneuver tactically. No, wait! I can create a suitable environment myself. Jirya patted his forehead, quickly raising his hand to form seals again. Ninjutsu summoning technique. Sorry, Toad Mouth Bind. The entire cave instantly turned red. This was the inside of the Toad Mouth Bind from Mount Mayaboku, whose size was so large it couldn't be fully summoned. Jirya could only summon part of Toad Mouthbind's intestines. The 6 pains present were instantly separated by the intestines of Toad Mouthbind, and Jirya's figure also disappeared from their sight. But there's no rush. Animal Path Pain quickly formed seals. The 6 paths of pain were swiftly summoned together. Taking this opportunity, Jirya hurriedly ran through the intestines of Toad Mouthbind, hoping to find an exit before the 6 paths of pain broke through. Slash! Asura Path Pain swung his blade at the intestinal walls, but it was futile. Only mucus covered the blade. Shinra Tensei! Tendo Path Pain raised his palm. A burst of repulsive force suddenly erupted from around his body, causing his entire stomach to swell instantly. But like a balloon, it stubbornly retained its resilience. Is the repulsive force not strong enough? Tendo Path Pain frowned slightly, quietly waiting for the cooldown time of Shinra Tensei. The other pains gathered together and directly followed the intestinal pathway, chasing Jirya, since there was only one path through the intestines. Shinra Tensei! Tendo Path Pain finally waited for the cooldown time. A massive repulsive force instantly erupted within the intestinal passage of the large Toad Mouth Bind. Bang! The intestinal walls of the toad eventually ruptured. However, strangely, the intestines remained in place and did not disappear like other summoning beasts when seriously injured. Evidently, this level of damage to the intestines was not significant. Tendo Path Pain frowned. Inside the intestinal passage, Jirya was swiftly running along the passage. According to his memory, by infiltrating the deepest part of the Akatsuki base, he could find Nagato's location. How fortunate! Jirya even looked back once. Several pains were following behind him, and they had caught up. Jirya noticed the pursuing pains and didn't see Tendo Path Pain among them, feeling slightly relieved. He even controlled the toad's intestinal walls to wriggle, hindering the pursuing pains. Deep inside the Akatsuki base, Nagato frowned slightly and sighed softly. This time, he had chosen the wrong battlefield. To avoid the Akatsuki from needing to change bases, Tendo Path Pain couldn't exert his full power, giving Jirya the opportunity to escape the encirclement of the 6 paths of pain. What's wrong, Nagato? Conan glanced at Nagato with concern. It's nothing. Open the door and send me out. Nagato shook his head, looking outside the door, and said softly, Jirya-sensei has broken through the encirclement of the 6 paths of pain and is charging toward the base's depths. That's impossible. Conan didn't believe their teacher had the capability to break through pain. It was my mistake in choosing the battlefield, limiting Tendo's power. Nagato shook his head and continued, Don't worry, regardless, the ending of this story will not have any surprises. He aims to infiltrate the base's depths, but this ensures he won't escape. Deep inside the Akatsuki base, a huge Jido statue stood inside. Jirya quietly slipped out of the Toad Mouth Bind's intestines, observing the Jido statue. He could clearly sense the terrifying chakra within it. Phew! Let's deal with Nagato first. Jirya had a vague sense of illusion. Pain and Nagato were the same person, yet their personalities seemed split. Perhaps he couldn't convince Pain, but he had a feeling he might be able to convince Nagato. No, that's not right. This is an illusion. Nagato cannot be persuaded. Regardless, Nagato is the source of chaos in the ninja world and must be dealt with first. Now that the 6 paths of pain were temporarily trapped by the toad's intestinal walls, he needed to find Nagato's location quickly. Jiraiya stepped into the deepest part of the Akatsuki base. He saw a room with its lights on and its door open. Inside, a gaunt man in a wheelchair was waiting for him. "Nagato!" Jiraiya's pace gradually slowed, and his voice regained its steadiness. "Now all your puppets have been trapped by me. If you are willing to give up that nonsensical plan and release all the tailed beasts captured by the Akatsuki." "Jiraiya-sensei," Nagato shook his head, interrupting him. "A god cannot be trapped. You trapping the 6 paths of pain in the toad's intestines is merely your own illusion. There's one thing I forgot to tell you." Nagato clasped his hands together, and his hanging red hair covered his eyes. "As the true bearer of the Rinnegan, I can use all the abilities of the 6 paths of pain. It's not that you trapped my puppets, but that you were lured here by me." "Ninjutsu, summoning technique!" With Nagato's hands spread open, orange-haired figures were instantly summoned in front of him. 6 pains raised their heads and looked at Jiraiya. The Rinnegan in their eye sockets appeared lifeless, but this scene was exceptionally terrifying. In the next moment, Tendo and Asura Path charged at Jiraiya. The other pains followed, keeping a close watch on Jiraiya's every move. Not good. Seeing the figures of the pains appear, Jiraiya felt a chill down his spine, and he instinctively began to retreat. This was not an opportunity to deal with Nagato, but a trap set by Nagato to lure him into the deepest part of the Akatsuki base. Slash! Jiraiya's arm was instantly cut open with a long wound. Asura Path kicked Jiraiya, and the 6 paths of pain surrounded him. On the oil lamp in the depths of the Akatsuki base, a small white snake coiled around the lamp's base, quietly watching Jiraiya being chased by the 6 paths of pain, even flicking its tail in boredom. Hiss, hiss! The battle intensified. Jiraiya felt increasingly endangered. The 6 paths of pain had completely blocked all his routes. Every counterattack or breakout attempt by Jiraiya was effortlessly neutralized by the 6 paths of pain. Their shared vision left no blind spots, making it nearly impossible for Jiraiya to defeat even one of them. Death was closing in on him step by step. "Ha!" Jiraiya kicked the Asura Path pain, but a blade on its body cut a long gash on his leg, causing blood to spurt out from his thigh. "Huff! Am I going to die here?" Gasping for breath, Jiraiya's gaze constantly shifted among the 6 paths of pain. These 6 puppets, like emotionless killing machines, stared at him coldly and mercilessly, ready to deliver a fatal blow at any moment. His ninjutsu would be absorbed by the Preta Path pain, his taijutsu would be blocked by the Asura and Tendo Path pains, and any hard-won escape would be pulled back by the Tendo Path pain's gravitational force. Boom! The Asura Path pain extended its arms. Shells shot rapidly towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya leaped onto the rock wall, but was still hit by one of the shells, which blasted his body away. He landed in a half-crouch, barely holding himself up. This is the end. Jiraiya squinted his eyes, forced to consider the reality that this reckless action might lead to his death. He had to find a way to pass on some important information before dying. Information about the 6 paths of pain and Nagato, as well as the collusion between Akihara Kagura and the Akatsuki, must be conveyed to the people of Konoha. But who could he entrust with this? He couldn't summon the giant toads here, and any smaller toads would likely be killed by the 6 paths of pain. What should he do? How could he pass on the information? "No, this won't do! I must find a way, there has to be a way." Jiraiya's mind raced, though it felt blank, and an image of someone appeared in his mind. It was the last Naruto he had taken on in his life, Uzumaki Naruto. The great Toad Sage had once said he would take on a child destined to bring about a revolution in the ninja world. It wasn't Minato, who sacrificed for Konoha, nor Yahiko, who was killed, and certainly not Nagato, Konan, or Akihara Kagura. The only one left was Uzumaki Naruto. That stubborn and tenacious child would surely change the fate of the ninja world, just as the great Toad Sage had predicted. Suddenly, Jiraiya felt a sense of relief. Perhaps dying here wasn't so bad, and there was no need to convey too much information. The previous Hokages had already been resurrected by the Edo Tensei, and he heard Minato was teaching Naruto. He might have already taught Naruto how to use Sage Mode. Moreover, with the previous Hokages in Konoha, the power of the 4 Hokages might be enough to defeat Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura was just an experiment of the wood release, unlikely to be a match for the first Hokage. There seemed to be no need for Jiraiya to worry or do much. Since he had already identified the Child of Prophecy before his death, he just needed to trust in the great Toad Sage's prediction and quietly accept his fate. Speaking of death, Jirya thought of his old friend. He had heard of Orochimaru's death, but never felt like this before. Speaking of which, what was Orochimaru like when he died? I didn't expect to follow in his footsteps so soon. Farewell, Jirya-sensei. The Tendo Path Pain wouldn't care about Jirya's final thoughts. It abruptly raised its black rod, and the other pains simultaneously raised their black rods. The 6 pains leaped into the air, raising their black rods to pierce Jirya's body, ensuring his certain death. "Watch out!" Konan cried out, raising her head sharply. "Hiss, hiss!" Suddenly, a small white snake appeared on the cliff. In an instant, the small white snake grew into a giant white python, plunging vertically down the cliff, opening its bloody maw and swallowing Jirya whole. As soon as the snake swallowed Jirya, it transformed into countless small white snakes that scattered, infiltrating every corner of the Akatsuki base under the watchful eyes of the pains. Clearly, the snake's purpose was to save Jirya. All 6 pains' attacks missed. Tendo Path Pain's expression changed dramatically, and the 6 pains quickly pursued the small white snakes fleeing through the Akatsuki base. What is happening? Nagato gritted his teeth, watching the escaping white snakes with unease. Jirya-sensei's summon is a toad. Why would a snake save him? Could it be Orochimaru? Konan immediately thought of the unfriendly Orochimaru. Then why would he save Jirya-sensei? Nagato couldn't answer his own question after raising it, but urged anxiously. Now is not the time to discuss this. We must quickly find Jirya-sensei's location. We cannot let him escape. If Jirya escaped, Akihara Kagura's identity would be exposed. At that time, the Akatsuki would have a tough battle capturing the 9 tails. Don't worry. Konan quickly reassured Nagato, speaking softly. All the stone walls of this base are my origami. I can find his location. Konan's hands moved swiftly. The rock walls and ground of the Akatsuki base transformed into countless pieces of paper. Some of the small white snakes moving along the rock walls were immediately wrapped in paper and suffocated to death. These small white snakes seemed to sense something was wrong. Some of them suddenly grew larger, transforming directly into giant white pythons and started crawling towards the base's entrance. Some pieces of origami slowly turned into paper airplanes, flying around the Akatsuki base. Whenever these paper airplanes saw a moving white python, they would quickly attach themselves to its body and explode, tearing the python into 2 pieces. Clearly, these pieces of origami were all hidden explosive tags. However, despite this, the white pythons would sometimes turn back into small white snakes and then back into giant pythons again, endlessly trying to escape. When it comes to escaping, this little white snake has never lost. They must not escape. Nagato quickly formed a series of hand signs, and his body floated up under the influence of gravity, moving step by step towards the outside of the Akatsuki base. Nagato stood directly at the base's entrance, clasped his hands together, and looked up at the sky. Rain Tiger at will technique! The rain in the sky intensified. Each drop of this rain contained Nagato's chakra. If any drop fell where it shouldn't, Nagato would immediately sense it. However, this technique was somewhat unnecessary. Because the moment a giant white python escaped the Akatsuki base, it opened its mouth and spat out Jirya. The air of Mount Myaboku couldn't stay inside the snake's belly for long, otherwise he might suffocate and be digested to death. Cough, cough, cough! Jirya coughed and gagged. Seeing Jirya, Nagato felt a bit relieved, and he summoned the 6 paths of pain, planning to besiege Jirya once more. However, Jirya's words halted the actions of the 6 paths of pain. Orochimaru! Jirya looked at the white python with a grim expression. Weren't you already killed by Uchiha Sasuke? It was just a play. The white python opened its bloody mouth again and spat out a long-haired man who was Orochimaru, always lurking in the shadows. If I were still alive, I would eventually be hunted by the successive Hokages. I used my supposed death at Sasuke's hands as a cover to escape. I saved your life out of good intentions. Orochimaru shook his head, looking at the still grim-faced Jirya, and chuckled. Heh, Jirya, if it weren't for me, you would have been killed just now. At least show a bit of gratitude, right? By the way, Orochimaru looked at Jirya and continued with a smile. I just watched a rather entertaining show and learned some very interesting secrets. Who would have thought that the Hokage's advisor in Konoha would be colluding with the Akatsuki? Jirya's expression turned grim. Nothing could be more embarrassing for Jirya than this moment. For so long, Akihara Kagura had been his pride, but now it was revealed that he had colluded with the Akatsuki, and Orochimaru had overheard this. Truly embarrassing and humiliating. However, now was not the time to worry about dignity. Jirya was not a person who cared about face, and he hurriedly said, Orochimaru, help me deliver this news to Tsunade. Do you still dream of escaping? Tendo Pathpain stood in front of Nagato, coldly staring at Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Today, no matter what, you can't escape from here. In fact, I've known about Akihara Kagura colluding with the Akatsuki for a long time. Orochimaru chuckled, not looking at Tendo Pathpain, but at his old friend. Jiraiya, do you want to know something even more interesting? What is it? Jiraiya frowned. Akihara Kagura. Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya with an increasingly intense smile. At the beginning, he was a spy I planted in Konoha. Unfortunately, he grew stronger and slipped out of my control. Jiraiya's face immediately darkened as if it were about to rain. No wonder 10 years ago, when Akihara Kagura and I attacked the Akatsuki, Orochimaru was watching the show. When Akihara Kagura and I attacked the Akatsuki, Orochimaru was watching the show. At that time, he was already colluding with Akihara Kagura. What else has my student been hiding from me? Orochimaru grinned, glancing at Jiraiya and then at Tendo Pathpain. 10 years ago, when Jiraiya was chasing me to divert his attention, I ordered Kagura to leak information about the Akatsuki, which led to the pursuit of its leader. I know. Tendo Pathpain frowned, impatiently continuing. To divert Jiraiya-sensei and Konoha's attention, Kagura conspired with us to leak your whereabouts to Jiraiya-sensei. Orochimaru's smile suddenly faded. Cough, cough, cough! Jiraiya felt like this was not the time to laugh, because his own student had always been in cahoots with so many of Konoha's enemies, but seeing Orochimaru being thwarted, he couldn't help but want to laugh. Akihara Kagura! Orochimaru gritted his teeth, his voice suddenly growing louder. Akihara Kagura, come out quickly and tell me, how much have you hidden from me? Kagura is here too. Jiraiya immediately looked around uneasily. He told me about your reconnaissance mission to the Akatsuki. Orochimaru scanned his surroundings, suddenly feeling a bit uneasy. Wait, where is that guy hiding? Why hasn't he shown up as we planned? What is he trying to do? What's going on? Where is that bastard Akihara Kagura? Didn't he say he would come too? What is that bastard trying to do? Does he want Jiraiya to die here? Why would he still send me to save Jiraiya? Does he want both Jiraiya and me to die here? What is that guy thinking? Orochimaru's heart sank suddenly, recalling the times he had been tricked by Akihara Kagura, feeling as if he had fallen into a trap. Kagura is not here. Nagato was very confident in his Rain Tiger at Will technique. Because the Rain Tiger at Will technique could detect any hidden enemies, no one could escape the rain in this area. He had already sensed that there was no one else around. Only Jiraiya and Orochimaru were here. Orochimaru's arm couldn't help but tremble. That bastard! Did he deceive me again? Tendo Pathpain looked at Orochimaru and calmly continued. Orochimaru, if Kagura didn't want me to kill Jiraiya-sensei, he would only need to tell me. Tendo Pathpain's expression gradually grew colder, and he began to condense a black rod in his hand. Or are you trying to use these words to make me distrust him, to make me let you and Jiraiya-sensei go? Don't even think about it. No matter what, you will both die here today. Orochimaru trembled with anger, not because of Tendo Pathpain's words, but because he had been deceived. That bastard had specially run to the laboratory under the root base, told me about the information that Jiraiya might die while investigating the Akatsuki, and agreed to appear when I said I couldn't defeat Nagato. Now, what is that bastard trying to do? Orochimaru, don't think too much. Jiraiya looked at the seemingly furious Orochimaru and comforted his old friend. He looked at the enemy in front of them and continued to ask, Anyway, thanks for saving me. By the way, Orochimaru, how long has it been since we fought side by side? I don't know, I have no interest in fighting. Orochimaru took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in his heart. He only knew that he had definitely been duped by Akihara Kagura. Anyway, things have come to this point. Is that bastard Akihara Kagura trying to wipe out both him and Jiraiya? Or, wait. Orochimaru's gaze fell on Nagato's Rinnegan, recalling Nagato's conjecture about the Sage of Six Paths' eyes and body, feeling a bad premonition. Some words Nagato said came to mind. The eyes of a sage and the body of a sage are both powers of the Sage of Six Paths. The possessor of the eyes of a sage might not have the body of a sage, but the possessor of the body of a sage might be able to obtain the eyes of a sage. After all, replacing eyes is just a minor surgery. Orochimaru's heart sank lower and lower, and he couldn't help but have a suspicion. That bastard! Is he planning to make him and Jiraiya exhaust Nagato's strength and then suddenly appear to seize Nagato's Rinnegan? Otherwise, why would he send him to the Akatsuki to save Jiraiya? It must be so. It definitely must be so. When Orochimaru thought of this, his arm trembled even more. Orochimaru had already envisioned his and Jiraiya's fate. When they had exhausted Nagato's chakra, or even died in battle with Nagato and the Six Paths of Pain, the bastard Akihara Kagura would definitely appear to attack Nagato. Nagato was still chattering about his alliance with Akihara Kagura, but Orochimaru did not believe Akihara Kagura would honor any alliance, because Orochimaru himself was a victim of such an alliance. "Hey, Orochimaru, what are you thinking?" Jiraiya looked at Orochimaru's uncertain expression and then at the rain in the sky with a nostalgic smile on his face. "Are you thinking of our most dangerous battle? It seemed to be in the land of rain, fighting Hanzo the salamander." "Idiot!" Orochimaru turned and cursed at Jiraiya, his eyes clearly showing a trace of anger. "If I had killed those 3 little brats from the land of rain back then, this wouldn't be happening now, and I might not be about to die here because of you, you idiot." "But at that time," Jiraiya frowned, wanting to argue. "Jiraiya!" Orochimaru interrupted Jiraiya, looking angrily at his stunned old friend. "This battle is definitely a scheme by your student. If the situation turns unfavorable, I will immediately escape." Jiraiya fell silent, looking at Orochimaru's angry face, and slowly nodded. "All right, I will cover you." Orochimaru felt a warmth in his heart. Even though he and Jiraiya had long since gone their separate ways and had to fight side by side as in the past, Jiraiya was still willing to shield him with his life. Just as Orochimaru was moved, Jiraiya's next words brought him back to reality. "By the way, you cover me for 5 minutes first." Orochimaru wanted to curse. Does this bastard even speak human language? No wonder he trained someone like Akihara Kagura, spewing the same nonsense. Considering the intensity of Pain's attacks, how could he protect him for 5 minutes? "In these 5 minutes, don't let anyone attack me." Ignoring Orochimaru's thoughts, Jiraiya, showing complete trust in Orochimaru, directly stated his purpose. "I need 5 minutes to enter Sage Mode." "All right." Orochimaru swallowed his curse, voicing his request instead. "Before that, summon a familiar to assist me." "Ninja art summoning technique." Outside, Jiraiya finally unleashed his familiar without restraint, summoning a giant toad. This toad held a fork in one paw and a shield in the other. "Gameken!" Jiraiya was somewhat disappointed, but not overly so. Gameken was one of the senior toads of Mount Maiboku and the brother of Gamabunta. Compared to Gamabunta, Gameken had a better temperament and wouldn't particularly resist fighting alongside Orochimaru. Without wasting time, Jiraiya quickly instructed, "Gameken, assist Orochimaru in battle and follow his orders. I need 5 minutes to absorb natural energy and summon Fukasaku and Shima." "All right." Gameken nodded, expressing a concern. "I'll follow him, but will he let the snakes from Ryucha Cave eat me?" Orochimaru's face darkened. "He won't." Jiraiya clasped his hands together, speaking solemnly. "I'm leaving it to you now. Don't let Nagato and his puppets disrupt my state within 5 minutes. Understood?" Orochimaru snorted impatiently. 5 minutes? Tendopath Pain raised his hand, speaking coldly. "In 5 minutes I could kill you countless times. Universal pull." Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Gameken were involuntarily pulled towards Pain. However, Gameken without hesitation raised his fork, stabbing Jiraiya in the waist, and pinning him to the ground, preventing both Jiraiya and himself from being pulled towards Tendopath Pain. Jiraiya's eyes widened involuntarily. Gameken's method was crude but effective. One couldn't deny. It was the best choice. Shinra Tensei. Tendopath Pain frowned, releasing a forceful, repulsive wave. Gameken, however, firmly raised his shield, blocking the wave in front of Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Though his body was thrown back and he spat blood from the impact, he remained undeterred. What a straightforward guy! Orochimaru was also flung back, but he quickly performed the snake clone technique mid-air, shedding his skin. His lower half transformed into a snake's tail, swiftly charging towards Tendopath Pain, releasing numerous snakes from his hand. Manda's formation! This guy! Tendopath Pain's abilities entered a cooldown. Asura Path Pain detached his wrist, revealing a string of missiles which flew towards the snake horde, blowing the front line to pieces. Summoning technique! Animal Path Pain performed a summoning gesture. A gigantic Yatagarasu emerged, rushing towards the snake horde, dropping explosive eggs from its belly, decimating Manda's formation upon impact. At that moment, Tendopath Pain's Shinra Tensei cooldown ended. Raising his hand, he released another strong, repulsive wave. Shinra Tensei! However, Orochimaru anticipated this, preparing a summoning jutsu in advance. Summoning technique, triple Rashomon. 3 Rashomon gates burst from the ground, appearing in front of Orochimaru. These gates, resembling demonic faces from hell, continuously weakened the incoming repulsive wave. Each gate further diminished the power of Tendopath Pain's attack. The first Rashomon gate was destroyed by Tendopath Pain's repulsive force. The second Rashomon gate weakened the force of the attack, and even Pain's repulsive force couldn't break through the third Rashomon gate. Tendopath Pain squinted in slight surprise. "Your repulsive force has a cooldown time, doesn't it?" Orochimaru's lips curled into a smile. His body, as agile as a snake, suddenly bypassed the 6 paths of pain and moved toward Nagato. Clearly, Orochimaru aimed to directly attack the puppeteer Nagato. Summoning technique! Nagato summoned a giant chameleon, which immediately carried him and vanished from Orochimaru's sight. Disappeared! Orochimaru squinted his eyes. A massive Yatagarasu from the sky dived straight toward Orochimaru, its beak open, ready to snatch Orochimaru like a snake. Summoning technique! Orochimaru made a hand seal and released a brown snake. The brown snake, disregarding its own safety, was caught by the Yatagarasu's claws in place of Orochimaru. Summoning technique! The animal path summoned a giant bull. The bull roared and charged directly at Orochimaru, causing the ground to tremble under its hooves. Boom! Gamekin leapt beside Orochimaru, wielding a shield that directly knocked the bull away. Not bad at all! Orochimaru smiled lightly. The toads of Mount Myaboku typically have a proud disposition, but Gamekin in front of him is an exception, being straightforward and honest, making Orochimaru less averse to him. Summoning technique! The animal path slapped the ground with its hand. A hellhound emerged from the smoke and leapt towards Orochimaru and Gamekin, turning the area into a battlefield of summoned beasts. Summoning technique! Orochimaru's eyes narrowed as he released an enormous python. The python was so massive it dwarfed the nearby mountains. "Is it Manda?" Gamekin curiously looked over. "It's Manda Ai." Orochimaru smiled casually as the colossal Manda Ai opened its mouth and swallowed the hellhound whole. Since Manda was sacrificed by Akihara Kagura, Orochimaru and Kabuto used the blood cells extracted from Manda to cultivate Manda Ai. After all, summoned beasts are a crucial part of a ninja's strength. Manda Ai is larger and stronger than the original Manda, and also more obedient and tame. Moreover, Manda Ai is not like the arrogant creatures of Ryuchai Cave. Manda Ai is not like the arrogant creatures of Ryuchai Cave. As Manda Ai appeared, the battle quickly turned in its favor. None of the summoned beasts on the battlefield were its match. After killing the hellhound, Manda Ai swiftly coiled around the bull fighting Gamekin, constricting and swallowing it. The Yatagarasu swooped down, trying to drop a string of bombs on Manda Ai, but Manda Ai soared into the sky, bit into the bird and swallowed it too. This Manda Ai, clearly a dominant force among summoned beasts. The specially trained summoned beasts of the Rinnegan were no match for it, all cleared away swiftly. Is the summoning technique of the Rinnegan only at this level? Orochimaru sneered, uninterested in the animal path Pain's ability to train summoned beasts. He raised his fingers, commanding Manda Ai to charge at the 6 paths of pain. Manda Ai quickly slithered forward, gently opening its mouth to release purple poisonous mist toward the 6 paths of pain. Shinra Tensei! Pain, unafraid and resolute, raised his hand and unleashed an immense repulsive force, directly hurling the Manda Ai away. However, the giant snake wrapped itself around the mountain, stubbornly withstanding the attacks from the summoned beast. The entire battlefield grew tense. Over the years, Orochimaru had developed numerous techniques. Although he lacked the power to defeat the 6 paths of pain, his agile body and formidable vitality, coupled with his powerful snake summons, allowed him to delay the battle for 5 minutes with ease. He might even gain the upper hand, leveraging the strength of the Manda Ai. The battle took a dramatic turn as the Manda Ai entangled the 6 paths of pain. Orochimaru and Gamekin stood atop the snake, calmly waiting for Jiraiya to complete his sage mode. On the head of a chameleon, Nagato remained seated, relying on the chameleon's mobility and invisibility to avoid the battlefield's chaos. Conan stood by his side, guarding him. Seeing the Manda Ai rampaging, Conan became restless and spoke up. "Nagato, let me handle it." "Only for a moment," Nagato replied, shaking his head. "The 6 paths of pain can deal with it as long as Tendopath has more chakra allocated to Shinra Tensei." Truth be told, it was quite tricky. The Manda Ai was enormous, with a resilient soul. Even the human path would struggle to extract its soul, often missing the right opportunity. The only path supposed to restrain the Manda, the animal path, had its summons devoured by the snake instead. For now, the only option was for Tendopath to unleash a powerful Shinra Tensei. "Don't use that technique," Conan insisted, knowing that Nagato could use a massive Shinra Tensei by gathering all the pain's chakra, which would surely defeat the Manda. But that technique would take a toll on Nagato's body. "Let me handle it. Your chakra must be saved for the crucial moment. We don't know what powerful technique Jiraiya is preparing." Nagato could only nod slowly. In the next moment, countless sheets of paper flew towards the Manda. Conan's body reformed mid-air, wings made of folded paper sprouting from her back, as she fiercely stared at the rampaging snake. Each sheet adhered to the snake's body, transforming into explosive tags that opened deep bleeding wounds. Hissing in pain, the Manda II endured the barrage. Despite the continuous explosions, it obeyed Orochimaru's orders, protecting Jiraiya even under attack. Finally, the time had come. Just as the Manda was about to succumb to the explosions, Jiraiya completed his Sage Mode. "Thank you, Gamekin, you can go back now," Jiraiya said with a relieved smile, his face gradually adopting the traits of Sage Mode. Gamekin nodded, dissipating into a cloud of smoke. In the next moment, a surge of powerful chakra erupted from Jiraiya, and two small toads appeared on his shoulders, Fukasaku and Shima from Mount Myaboku. Jiraiya, unable to enter Sage Mode alone, relied on their assistance, which also extended the duration of his Sage Mode. "Jiraiya boy, you must train harder," Shima scolded upon appearing. "You can't always rely on us. What if we're not around one day?" "Enough, let's not discuss this now," Fukasaku interrupted, immediately alarmed by the enormous snake before them. "Is that Manda? No, it's too large. Has Ryuchai Cave produced a giant species? Is the enemy Orochimaru?" Shima asked, spotting Orochimaru. "No, Orochimaru is an ally," Jiraiya corrected softly, defending his old friend. "If not for Orochimaru, I might have died here today." "Remember our agreement," Orochimaru reminded, frowning at Jiraiya's Sage Mode. "If I can't escape, you must cover my retreat, even if it costs your life." All right, Jiraiya's confidence surged with Sage Mode activated, alongside Orochimaru and the two Sage Toads. He believed they wouldn't lose. "Orochimaru," Jiraiya smiled, removing his wooden clogs and planting his toad-like feet firmly on the ground. "If we lose to someone younger, wouldn't that be disgraceful? We are the legendary Sannin of Konoha, after all. Tsunade is not here," Orochimaru calmly reminded Jiraiya. "Is Jiraiya ignoring his injuries?" Although both of them considered themselves strong, Tsunade was an essential part of the legendary Sannin of Konoha. Only when Tsunade was present could they form the Sannin's combat formation. "It doesn't matter," Jiraiya grinned, his eyes sweeping over the 6 paths of pain present, and his voice dropped quietly. "Hey, Orochimaru, let me tell you a secret. I made a bet with Tsunade when I came here if I can return alive." "You made a bet with her?" Orochimaru interrupted Jiraiya, his expression somewhat unpleasant. "Tsunade has never had good luck. If you return alive, does that mean I'll die here?" Moreover, there was no need for Jiraiya to say much. Orochimaru knew what kind of bet Jiraiya made with Tsunade. This bastard was truly reckless. "Think positively." Jiraiya raised a finger and shook his head lightly, saying softly, "Maybe we'll survive. You continue to cover me." "Idiot, first deal with your student." Orochimaru glanced at Jiraiya, then looked at Conan flying in the air and the exploding tags continuously approaching. "If this continues, my Manda II will be blown to pieces. Jiraiya, if my summoning beast dies, you'll have to join it in the grave." Got it. Jiraiya raised his hand, looking towards Conan. "Fukasaku, Shima, let's go, but it seems there's something." Fukasaku frowned, wanting to look towards an empty space. "Deal with Conan first." Jiraiya hurriedly interrupted Fukasaku. "Understood." Shima's mouth opened suddenly, spitting out a long tongue that directly wrapped around Conan's body. Conan's body immediately turned into flying sheets of paper. "Charge!" Jiraiya jumped down from the Manda II, shouting loudly, "Orochimaru, use wind release to continue covering me." "Sage Art, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet!" Jiraiya opened his mouth and spewed out a flame. "This idiot!" Orochimaru could only helplessly raise his hand and quickly form a hand seal. "Wind release! Great breakthrough!" Fire augmented by wind, a flame dragon followed the path created by wind release, spreading towards the 6 paths of pain. The Preta path quickly stepped forward, raising its hand to absorb the technique. However, the moment the fire dragon flame bullet was absorbed, Jiraiya's figure was hidden behind the flames, and the other pains did not see him. Jiraiya reached out and grabbed the Preta path, pressing his hand on the Preta path's face, forcibly slamming the puppet to the ground, breaking its neck. "Water release! Water formation wall!" Orochimaru appeared behind Jiraiya, releasing a water formation wall in front of them, seemingly doing something futile. "Shinra Tensei!" However, just as Orochimaru completed his hand seal, the Tendo path raised its hand and released a repulsive force, aiming to crush Jiraiya. The water formation wall released by Orochimaru was instantly turned into a wave by the repulsive force, and both of them were thrown away. Orochimaru, perhaps already accustomed to this, instantly transformed into a long snake, which spat out another Orochimaru in midair. Jiraiya crossed his arms in front of his chest, being sent flying by the repulsive force, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Even Fukasaku and Shima beside him felt the troublesome nature of this repulsive force. So this is the power of the Rinnegan? Fukasaku looked at the Tendo path in shock. That repulsive force, Shima frowned. It has both offensive and defensive capabilities. Jiraiya had already anticipated this. He wiped the corner of his mouth and provided more detailed information. But that repulsive force cannot be used continuously. It requires some time between uses. The exact interval is still uncertain. We just dealt with the puppet that could absorb ninjutsu, called the Preta Path. The puppet skilled in summoning the animal path has lost its main utility as its summoning beasts were dealt with by Orochimaru's summoning beasts. However, it still possesses considerable combat ability. Saying all that is useless. Orochimaru snorted coldly and interrupted Jiraiya's words. If we can't deal with this guy in front of us, it won't matter even if all the other pains are taken down. Charge! Jiraiya raised his palm and shouted, the puppet that can absorb ninjutsu has already been dealt with. We can use powerful ninjutsu now. Fukasaku, Shima, let's use Gomen together. All right. The two toads sitting on Jiraiya's shoulders nodded quickly. Sage art! Gomen! Jiraiya spewed a ball of chakra-infused oil from his mouth. As Jiraiya's oil shot forward, Jiraiya spewed a ball of chakra-infused oil from his mouth. As Jiraiya's oil shot forward, Fukasaku exhaled a burst of flames and Shima released a gale. The wind, fire, and oil combined instantly, creating a wave of flame that surged toward the other panes. Now we might be able to gather more intel. Jiraiya watched the flaming wave of Gomen, scanning the area with his eyes as he shouted, Nagato, if you don't have any other means to save these pains, you'll have to use a summoning jutsu to take them away. I'm going to find your true body. Jiraiya, I have already. Fukasaku seemed to want to say something. Fukasaku, don't worry. Jiraiya quickly interrupted him, casting a subtle glance at Orochimaru beside him, slightly lifting the corner of his mouth and winking. HMPH! Orochimaru also grinned, seemingly catching Jiraiya's signal. Using the flaming wave of Gomen as cover, his body transformed into countless small snakes and dispersed. Sage art, ha! Tendo Path Pain squinted his eyes. The Gomen flames surged like waves. Most of the Pain's abilities had already been deduced by Jiraiya, and with Tendo Path's almighty push on cooldown, they seemed to have no means to resist the approaching fiery wave. At this moment, Pain seemed to be pushed to his limits by this move. As Jiraiya mentioned, if the 6 paths of Pain had no other measures, they would either let the Pains be burned by Gomen's flames or expose the true body's position, forcing Nagato to summon the puppets away. Summoning Jutsu! At this critical moment, the animal path once again proved useful. A gigantic hell crab appeared, positioning itself in front of the Pains and spewing countless bubbles, immediately blocking the approaching flames. This was water release, wild bubble wave, especially effective against oil and fire. Although the bubbles couldn't completely extinguish Gomen, they managed to hold back the raging flames. However, the hell crab started to blacken as if being roasted, but it bought enough time for Tendo Path to act. Almost exposed my true body. Tendo Path Pain looked at Jiraiya, coldly continuing, I knew from the start that Jiraiya-sensei excels at oil techniques. How could I not prepare a countermeasure against you? Now, it's my turn. I will use Tendo Path to finish you all. Realizing his former teacher's troublesome nature, Tendo Path decided not to hesitate any longer. If Jiraiya gained more intel, it could lead to significant losses. So he resolved to crush them with pure force. Tendo Path's palms clasped together, and the surrounding Pains collapsed to the ground, with all their chakra converging into the strongest Tendo Path. In the sky, Conan frowned and dissolved into countless paper pieces, not wanting to hinder Tendo Path's technique. Then come on! Jiraiya smiled slightly, showing no fear of Tendo Path's attack. He even seemed eager for Tendo Path's power to be stronger. Goodbye, Jiraiya-sensei. Tendo Path extended his hand, determined to use his most powerful almighty push to eliminate the Sage Mode Jiraiya. Having gathered significant intel on the other Pains, he knew that continuing to entangle with Jiraiya using these methods was risky. He did not think he could match his teacher's battle experience. Given that, he would rely on sheer power to crush him. As a terrifying chakra surged within Tendo Path, preparing to release a technique powerful enough to kill Jiraiya, Tendo Path's expression suddenly changed. No, the true body! Tendo Path sharply turned to look in one direction. There had been a chameleon hidden there, carrying Nagato's body to avoid detection. However, a massive Kusanagi sword suddenly appeared and split the chameleon in half. Orochimaru! Tendo Path immediately understood. This was Jiraiya's strategy. Teacher had long discovered the invisible chameleon and had been here attracting the attention of the 6 paths of Pain while secretly informing Orochimaru about the chameleon's whereabouts, letting Orochimaru launch a sneak attack on the real Nagato. The sensory abilities of Sage Mode are quite powerful. Jirya, looking at Tendo Pathpain, finally felt that he had grasped the possibility of victory. After I entered Sage Mode, Fukasaku helped locate the invisible summoned beast, finding its position as well as Nagato's location. On the other side, as the invisible chameleon was killed, Nagato's body was instantly exposed, falling from the chameleon's corpse looking somewhat disheveled. "Nagato!" A painful voice from Conan echoed in the sky. Countless sheets of paper flew towards Nagato. "Conan, I'm fine." Nagato's hands quickly formed a seal, and with a raise of his hand, a powerful Shinra Tensei sent the attacking Orochimaru flying. "Even if you found my real body, so what? As the original owner of the Rinnegan, I can use all the abilities of the 6 Paths of Pain." Summoning Jutsu, Nagato summoned Tendo Pathpain to his side. The sheets of paper in the sky fell between Nagato and Tendo Pathpain, folding instantly into the form of Conan. "Yahiko, Nagato, Conan! Yahiko, Nagato, Conan!" Jirya, looking at the 3 figures gathered together, had a dazed look in his eyes. Although the 3 had long been separated by life and death, and even Yahiko's corpse had been made into the puppet Tendo Pathpain, they still seemed stubbornly united. The Frog Team Trio. Memories of the past vividly appeared before Jirya's eyes. Conan's gaze also seemed nostalgic. Looking at Tendo Pathpain and Nagato beside her, she felt a long-lost sense of familiarity. Since Nagato had turned Yahiko's body into Tendo Pathpain, he had always remained in the shadows, rarely appearing in front of others. This companion with the Rinnegan had always tried to make Tendo Pathpain seem like another person, always striving to maintain their past, making Conan sometimes feel that Yahiko was still alive, believing that the 3 of them were still together. It wasn't just Conan who felt this way. Even Orochimaru and Jirya had this illusion. After joining forces with Jirya, Orochimaru looked at the 3 standing together and sneered. "I almost thought that orange-haired kid was still alive." This feeling is quite strange. The 3 Sannin from Konoha were all alive, yet only Orochimaru and Jirya were here. Those kids had one deceased, yet they were all together. Yahiko was their pillar. Jirya sighed, slowly shaking his head. But no matter how much Nagato tries to piece them together, it can't change the fact that Yahiko is dead. It's all just a facade he's maintaining. "Jirya-sensei." Tendo Pathpain walked towards Jirya and Orochimaru. Nagato's body also floated up, following behind Tendo Pathpain. Conan's legs transformed into countless paper sheets, forming paper wings on her back, flying beside Nagato. "Everything from the past ends here." Tendo Pathpain raised his finger, forming a hand sign. "Since you insist on attacking my real body, making it appear, then let a student send you and your companion on your way." "Who?" Jirya took a deep breath, slowly raising his finger, looking at the 3 familiar figures opposite him, and a bitter smile appeared on his lips. "Ah, the Frog Team has finally gathered, challenging their teacher again. Jirya, I'm leaving first." Orochimaru stepped back a few paces, seemingly planning to leave, and said with a light laugh, "That Rinnegan kid's abilities are too strange. I've helped you as much as I can. I won't participate in the next fight." After Nagato violently resolved the strategy aimed at attacking him through pain, Orochimaru no longer had any intention to fight. Moreover, Orochimaru's chakra was almost exhausted in this battle, unlike Jirya, who had someone to help replenish his sage chakra. "I understand." Jirya nodded, not opposing Orochimaru's desire to escape. He knew this former close friend had already helped him a lot, being as loyal as he could be. However, as if struck by a thought, Jirya suddenly called out to Orochimaru, "Wait, Orochimaru, do me one more favor before you go. Don't push it." Orochimaru glared at him coldly. "Pass this message to Tsunade for me." Jirya looked at Orochimaru, not caring about the dissatisfaction in his words, still wearing a calm smile. "This time she finally won her bet. I understand." Orochimaru nodded slightly. For Orochimaru, a resurrected S-rank rogue ninja, sneaking into Konoha to meet Tsunade was a dangerous task, but he still chose to take the risk. "Thank you." Jirya's smile became radiant, and he added another request. "By the way, I know you must have heard all the information. Make sure to tell her everything, including the intel on Pain and Kagura." "Jirya, don't push your luck." A sinister smile appeared on Orochimaru's face. Orochimaru wasn't quite sure if Akihara Kagura's plan was as he had expected, but Akihara Kagura hadn't appeared yet. Even though Jirya had entered Sage Mode and was accompanied by the 2 sages from Mount Maiboku, their keen senses still hadn't detected Akihara Kagura's presence. Perhaps, Akihara Kagura really isn't here. Orochimaru glanced deeply at Jirya. If they truly perished here together, it wouldn't serve his interests. Orochimaru believed he had done enough for his old friend Jirya. In the face of Nagato and the Tendo Pathpain, Orochimaru didn't think he and Jirya could defeat them, nor did he believe he could take Jirya away under their pursuit. The next second, the Tendo Pathpain suddenly charged at Jirya. A mechanical arm sprouted from Nagato's back, transforming into a glowing laser weapon which quickly gathered light. Despite coordinating with his puppet, it felt just like many years ago when he worked with Yahiko, covering Yahiko's attacks. Conan's figure floated in the air, just like when she fought their teacher many years ago. Sheets of explosive tags transformed into paper airplanes flying towards Jiraiya. All of this. It seemed like going back many years. Yet this scene was markedly different from many years ago. Last time they fought, they were still teacher and students. The three young members of the Akatsuki fighting Jiraiya were still somewhat inexperienced, and there was not a trace of killing intent. This time every move was lethal, as if they intended to leave their teacher here permanently. Kids! A smile played on Jiraiya's lips, and he suddenly dropped to the ground. If you think you can start this with such crude methods, it's far from enough. Sage Art Needle Jizo. Jiraiya's thick hair instantly became hard, transforming into countless long needles that shot rapidly towards the trio. The needle Jizo instantly pierced Conan's explosive tags, nailing them to the ground, and the sound of explosions rang out continuously. This wasn't over. The dense needle Jizo was about to penetrate the Tendo Path Pain's body. Ninja Art, Summoning Jutsu. Nagato quickly halted his attack, raising his hand to form a summoning hand seal, and a panda descended from the sky, landing in front of the Tendo Path Pain, blocking the needle Jizo's assault. The Tendo Path Pain leapt off the panda's back, brandishing the black rod in his hand, and stabbed at Jiraiya, his expression cold and merciless. Sage Art, Super Giant Rasengan. Jiraiya raised his hand to form a giant Rasengan, aiming to take out the Tendo Path Pain first. However, the Tendo Path Pain dodged instantly, revealing Nagato behind him. Preda Path! Nagato raised his palm, directly absorbing the chakra from the Super Giant Rasengan. If it were natural energy, absorbing it would cause problems for Nagato's body. However, since it was refined sage chakra, it actually invigorated Nagato's spirit. Usra Path! Another mechanical arm sprouted from Nagato's back, which then split open to reveal a barrage of missiles, firing towards Jiraiya. Dodge! Jiraiya and Orochimaru jumped to the sides simultaneously. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions erupted. Universal pull! Nagato raised his palm directly at Orochimaru. A force of gravity suddenly pulled Orochimaru's body towards him. He had to deal with Orochimaru, who was the most likely to escape first. Even Shinra Tensei couldn't kill Orochimaru. Are you trying to kill me first? Orochimaru smiled lightly and suddenly opened his mouth. Taking advantage of the gravitational pull towards Nagato, he spat out a Kusanagi sword. Nagato frowned slightly. The mechanical arms on his back transformed again, revealing a strange mechanical hand that directly locked onto the Kusanagi sword, dragging Orochimaru towards him. Two more mechanical arms appeared. One arm seized Orochimaru's neck, while the other gripped his arm, forcibly capturing him. Human Path! Nagato raised his hand and pressed it against Orochimaru's chest. The ability of the Human Path, which he had never shown before Jiraiya and Orochimaru, was finally revealed. The Human Path could extract a person's soul. No! Orochimaru suddenly felt his soul starting to leave his body. This feeling, it seemed somewhat familiar. Orochimaru even remembered why it felt familiar. It was the same sensation he experienced when his teacher, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, used the Death Reaper seal to capture his soul. This won't do. If his body was damaged, there might still be hope for recovery. But if his soul was extracted by Nagato, he would surely be close to death. Jiraiya! Orochimaru immediately looked towards Jiraiya. While fighting Tendo Pain, Jiraiya noticed Orochimaru's predicament and could only rely on the Sage Master beside him. Quickly save Orochimaru. I can't leave here. Only Orochimaru can escape. Understood. The Sage Master opened his mouth and spat out a gust of wind towards Nagato, rescuing Orochimaru from his grasp. However, he saw Orochimaru start to flee as soon as he landed. Little Jiraiya! The Sage Master witnessed Nagato's terror firsthand. Seeing him easily capture the Sage Master witnessed Nagato's terror firsthand. Seeing him easily capture Orochimaru and almost kill him, he felt that this battle would be extremely brutal. The sage couldn't help but show a hint of sympathy in his eyes. Don't slack off, dear! Shima, the Sage Master, was busy aiding Jiraiya in battle while interfering with Conan's attacks on the side, overwhelmed by the situation. Conan, go after Orochimaru! Tendo Pain glanced at the distant Orochimaru and coldly ordered. Understood! Conan's wings spread out, speeding towards the direction Orochimaru fled. Orochimaru, don't think you can escape! Wild Lion's main technique. Jiraiya's palms suddenly closed, and his white hair extended rapidly, binding Conan's body and stopping her pursuit of Orochimaru. Water release, water-severing wave! In a critical moment, the Sage Master shot out a high-pressure water blade, instantly slicing Conan's body in two, which then turned into pieces of paper floating away. Universal pull! Nagato reached out his hand towards the fleeing Orochimaru. A sudden gravitational force pulled Orochimaru's escaping body back. This was the terror of Nagato. No one could escape from him. Sage Art, Flame Bullet! Jiraiya spat out a ball of flames at Nagato, forcing him to abandon using gravity to recapture Orochimaru. This was all he could do. Can you use a genjutsu to stop them? Jiraiya quickly urged the two sages. This is crucial. It concerns the survival of the ninja world. Orochimaru must bring back the information. I understand. The sage master's expression turned serious as he nodded. We really have to use that technique. Shima seemed somewhat reluctant, but eventually nodded as well. Sage Art, Frog Call! The two toads on Jiraiya's shoulders suddenly opened their mouths and emitted a strange melody. This was a unique genjutsu from Mount Maiboku, the demonic illusion, toad confrontation chant, which would trap the opponent in an auditory illusion. The only problem is, this genjutsu required some time to take effect. In a battle, there might not be enough time to accomplish this. Shinra Tensei? Nagato frowned and raised his hand towards Jiraiya. Sage Art, Earth Release, Earth-style Wall! Jiraiya hoped he could release a sturdy defensive wall in time. Under the empowerment of Sage Chakra, this Earth Release technique, already renowned for its defense, became even more terrifying. 2 rows of walls instantly appeared in front of Jiraiya. However, a repulsive force stronger than when used by Tendo Path Pain suddenly expanded, lifting the ground bit by bit. The walls Jiraiya had just set up were instantly toppled by this repulsive force. Countless fragments hit Jiraiya and the two sages, interrupting their genjutsu and breaking Jiraiya's sage mode. Cough, cough! Jiraiya felt a severe shock in his internal organs. The two sages were also in bad shape, even spitting out blood. We must stop them. Jiraiya clasped his hands together, forcing himself to stand up again. He knew he might not have the strength to fight anymore, but stubbornly wanted to fulfill his promise. I must cover Orochimaru, let him escape. However, Jiraiya's chakra was exhausted. Without the help of the two sages, his chakra was finally depleted. Jiraiya-sensei, you should have no strength left to resist now. Tendo Path Pain could sense that Jiraiya's chakra was exhausted, and his voice became arrogant again. The hardest thing in this world is for one person to understand another's thoughts. You have always believed that the ninja world could establish a place where everyone understands each other. Nagato, that is the correct path. Jiraiya, coughing up blood, stubbornly retorted. But that is the most difficult thing in the world. By comparison, using absolute power to force others to submit and accept peace is the right choice for the ninja world. Ordinary people need to accept their fate. Tendo Path Pain slowly walked up to Jiraiya, raising his hand, a black rod condensed in his hand. Even if you let Orochimaru escape, it won't change anything. The power of the Sage of Six Paths' eyes and body combined is something no one can resist. Goodbye, Jiraiya-sensei. After speaking, Tendo Path Pain raised the black rod in his hand. The black rod suddenly thrust towards Jiraiya's body. Nagato, floating beside Tendo Path Pain, gently closed his eyes as if not wanting to see the moment of his teacher's death. Jiraiya closed his eyes peacefully. In the distance, Orochimaru, who was fleeing, involuntarily stopped. Orochimaru glanced at the sky where Konan was pursuing him, and his body instantly turned into countless small white snakes, causing Konan a headache. However, strangely, these small white snakes immediately dispersed, all looking in the same direction. That was the direction of Jiraiya and Tendo Path Pain. Perhaps they sensed that Jiraiya was approaching the end of his life and wanted to witness the moment of their dear friend's passing. Konan, seeing the group of observing white snakes, frowned lightly. Following their gaze, she looked back and saw Tendo Path Pain raising a black rod, about to pierce Jiraiya's body, but Konan saw something different. No! Konan's broader vision saw a golden light rushing towards Tendo Path Pain. Her face changed abruptly and she flew back, shouting a warning. Pain, be careful! The speed of that light was so fast. Before Konan's voice even came out, the light hit Tendo Path Pain, shattering the strongest Tendo Path puppet. Bang! Tendo Path Pain's body rolled to the ground, motionless. The intruder moved swiftly, raising his hand to grab Nagato's throat. This sudden arrival reversed the battle situation in an instant. Shinra Tensei! Nagato's emaciated body erupted with a burst of powerful energy, generating a repulsive force around him, hastily trying to repel the intruder. However, the person who flew out was Nagato himself. The intruder's strength was formidable, directly reflecting the repulsive force. Nagato's body was thrown by the counteracting force, landing in a muddy puddle, looking extremely pathetic. Nagato ignored his own misery, shakily raising his head to see the intruder clearly, his Rinnegan showing a hint of shock. Akihara! Kagura! Nagato looked at the intruder in disbelief. Jiraiya looked at the intruder's back in disbelief. Everyone present was shocked to see the sudden appearance of Akihara Kagura, except for the group of small white snakes hissing angrily. "Nagato, you are right." Akihara Kagura raised his hand, looking down at Nagato in the mud. "Since the combination of the sage's body and eyes is invincible, why can't we gather the two powers of the sage of 6 paths into one person?" Nagato's pupils instantly widened. "You want to take my Rinnegan?" A flash of anger crossed Nagato's face. "Akihara Kagura wants to steal his Rinnegan." "Akihara Kagura intends to betray the Akatsuki to steal his Rinnegan at the most critical moment of this plan. Isn't that quite normal?" Akihara Kagura raised his eyebrows, glancing at the snakes also wandering in this direction from afar. "Lord Orochimaru wants your Rinnegan too. Many people in this world desire the Rinnegan. Adding me to that list isn't too much." "Kagura, you—" Even Jiraiya was shocked by Akihara Kagura's thoughts. "Today I must thank Jiraiya-sensei." Akihara Kagura slightly tilted his head, looking at his teacher with a light chuckle. "If it weren't for you and Lord Orochimaru helping me probe Nagato's information, I wouldn't have had enough confidence to take Nagato's Rinnegan. It turns out to be somewhat fortunate." Akihara Kagura raised a finger, rubbing his temple. "I've been contemplating how to kill Brother Nagato. Initially, I planned to find an opportunity to lead the root members to besiege the Akatsuki. Unexpectedly, Jiraiya-sensei came to the Akatsuki." "Kagura!" Jiraiya, seeing Akihara Kagura's scheming look, trembled and asked, "So you used me to find Nagato, used me to gather information on him, and now you want to seize his Rinnegan here?" He had become a tool for his student to test Nagato. A teacher realizing this fact could never calm down. Jiraiya's body stiffened as he stood up. He looked at his student as if recognizing Akihara Kagura for the first time. "Little Jiraiya," Sage Fukasaku, understanding Jiraiya's feelings, couldn't help but softly try to comfort him, hoping he wouldn't be too upset. "Though, at least this solves the trouble of Nagato and the Rinnegan for the ninja world." "Yes, the result is good." Akihara Kagura nodded, his gaze still on Nagato. "Moreover, since the day I met Brother Nagato, I have been thinking about when I could obtain his Rinnegan. That's why I kept secretly interacting with him." Nagato's heart tightened sharply. Akihara Kagura looked at Nagato, calmly continuing. "Holding great power in Konoha." Akihara Kagura looked at Nagato, calmly continuing. "Holding great power in Konoha and likely to become the next Hokage. If not for your Rinnegan, why would I have any dealings with a small organization like Akatsuki? In fact, it's not easy." Akihara Kagura shook his head, speaking of his troubles. "To keep others from discovering my intention to seize Nagato's Rinnegan, I've painstakingly created this opportunity. Everyone's attention has been drawn to the duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke." "Cough, cough." Nagato coughed lightly, looking at Akihara Kagura, and said in a deep voice, "The duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke is your scheme." "Ah, something like that." Akihara Kagura didn't deny it. This was the core of his scheme, taking advantage of the duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke to attract the attention of Black Zetsu and Uchiha Obaido, and then seizing Nagato's Rinnegan here, making it an irreversible fact. However, a pair of Rinnegan is precious. But for someone who has endured for 10 years, the value of a pair of Rinnegan is far from enough. I need more to feel I'm not at a loss." Akihara Kagura nodded, his eyes showing confidence as he looked at the seemingly determined Nagato. "As long as I have the Rinnegan, I can take over Brother Nagato's plan. Simply using tailed beasts to create war weapons to prevent wars is somewhat wasteful." "Wasteful?" Nagato frowned, not understanding Akihara Kagura's meaning. "Why not be a bit bolder?" Akihara Kagura pondered while trying to explain his thoughts to Nagato and Jiraiya. "If Brother Nagato gave me a Rinnegan and then let me gather the weapons of the tailed beasts, with the power of wood release and the tailed beasts, I could easily destroy the entire ninja world." Akihara Kagura still hasn't forgotten his ambition. Jiraiya and Nagato's hearts clenched. How could this extremely insane guy still not forget the idea of exterminating all life in the ninja world? Even worse, how could he have actually started to implement it? "Don't you think this is more interesting?" Akihara Kagura looked at Nagato and continued softly. "Since killing is supposedly for peace, why not simply kill everyone?" "What?" Nagato felt as if he hadn't heard clearly. Jiraiya's ears seemed to be hallucinating. Hearing Akihara Kagura's words, his mind vaguely returned to 10 years ago. 10 years ago, in the land of rain. That boy named Akihara Kagura claimed it would be better to kill everyone in the ninja world, that only by killing everyone could wars be stopped. Now that boy had grown up into what he was now. At that time, he just thought Akihara Kagura was extreme and believed that he had given up those extreme ideas. However, that boy seemed to have never given up. That boy had buried all his thoughts in his heart, realizing them step by step according to his own plan, always wanting to massacre the entire ninja world. This world is too boring. Akihara Kagura sighed like a bloodthirsty maniac. Lord Danzo taught me how to kill with wood release at root. To satisfy him, I practiced killing diligently and finally became a qualified killing tool. I've killed many people. It still feels somewhat insufficient. Akihara Kagura looked up at the overcast sky, seeming somewhat desolate. I used Lord Orochimaru's threat to openly resurrect the past Hokages. I manipulated them to force the newly appointed Lady Tsunade into starting a war. I thought killing on the battlefield might be interesting. Jiraiya felt a chill run down his spine. The past Hokages of Konoha, had always been under Akihara Kagura's control. Jiraiya had always thought Lady Tsunade was forced into war by the second Hokage, and even believed that Akihara Kagura helped end the war, feeling fortunate that his disciple was powerful enough to single-handedly resolve the conflict without causing any casualties. Wait, no, Konoha has always been implementing the 5-cage summit. Jiraiya couldn't dare to imagine, how many things Akihara Kagura had secretly done, manipulating the past Hokages. Akihara Kagura sighed deeply. I personally ended Konoha's wars with Sand Village and Mist Village, only to find that the wars you all feared were too boring. War itself still couldn't excite people. The power of wood release is too strong. Yet to me it seems so weak. I can easily destroy a village, but I can't annihilate a land. However, the combined power of the 9-tailed beasts is enough. Akihara Kagura looked at Nagato and said softly, to let others in the ninja world live trembling under the threat of weapons of war, they would live in constant fear for their entire lives. Instead of making them live in terror of being destroyed by weapons of war as a deterrent to stop wars, it's better to let me control the weapons of war and give them a swift end to see what it's like to destroy the ninja world. Everyone present didn't know what to say. This child! Shima, the elder toad, shivered involuntarily as she looked at Akihara Kagura, who spoke lightly of destroying the ninja world. Little Jiraiya, is this the child with a slightly extreme personality you and Fukasaku talked about? Dear, this seems more than just a bit extreme. Fukasaku, the elder toad who had lived for hundreds of years and seen many people, looked at Akihara Kagura, having never seen anyone like him. Is it Danzo's fault again? Jiraiya could only shake his head and let out a heavy sigh. Even after 10 years, your thinking is still so extreme, Kagura. Jiraiya had always disapproved of Nagato's plan. Although Nagato's plan was somewhat extreme compared to Akihara Kagura's approach, it seemed relatively mild. Enough! That's all for now. Akihara Kagura flexed his fingers and slowly formed a hand seal. Nagato, hand over the Rinnegan. It wasn't yours to begin with. You were only keeping it for me. Boom! The ground suddenly split open. A massive vine shot directly towards Nagato. Shinra Tensei! Nagato raised his hand and released a wave of repulsive force. The vine was instantly shattered into countless pieces by the impact of the repulsive force. How boring! Akihara Kagura raised his fingers, and vines sprouted from the ground around Nagato once again. Nagato, given how difficult it is for you to even move, how can you resist the power of wood release? Don't underestimate me. Conan's figure swiftly flew over, and the paper wings behind her suddenly shot out numerous paper shurikens, darting towards Akihara Kagura like blades. Nagato, run! Conan blocked Akihara Kagura while loudly urging Nagato to escape using his gravitational abilities. I'll hold him off. Fire release, fire dragon flame bullet. Akihara Kagura opened his mouth and spewed a massive flame towards Conan. The scale of this flame was even more terrifying than when Jiraiya used Sage Mode. The flames clashed with the paper shurikens instantly, burning them to ashes and nearly engulfing Conan's body. Conan had no choice but to fly aside quickly, avoiding the flames, and dive towards Akihara Kagura, with countless sheets of paper falling from her body towards Kagura's area. Many of these sheets of paper bore black incantations, indicating they were explosive tags that Conan had prepared in advance to engulf Akihara Kagura. Hell Path, summoning technique! Not only did Nagato not flee, but he also summoned a gigantic king of hell which opened its massive mouth and extended a long tongue, sucking in all the fallen pain puppets, immediately beginning to chew. Hurry! Hurry! Sweat dripped down Nagato's face as he watched the king of hell's mouth intently, hoping it would chew faster. This was the power of the hell path. As long as the pain puppets were intact, no matter how damaged they were, they could be resurrected by the king of hell and quickly returned to battle. Nagato was acutely aware of his own limitations. Only by using the 6 paths of pain in conjunction could he have a chance against Akihara Kagura. His immobile body would be nothing more than a sitting duck against such a terrifying enemy. Meanwhile, Conan continued to shower Akihara Kagura with explosive tags. Akihara Kagura looked up at the falling tags and raised his hand, slowly forming a hand seal. Chidori Stream! Lightning surged from Akihara Kagura's body. Compared to Sasuke's Chidori Stream, Akihara Kagura's covered an area of over 100 meters. Lightning flashed around him, instantly neutralizing the explosive tags, turning them into useless scraps of paper. There's no hope! Jiraiya watched the figure standing quietly amidst the lightning. His gaze shifted to Conan, still scattering explosive tags from the sky, and then to Nagato, desperately waiting for the King of Hell to revive the 6 paths of pain. Kagura's talent is too overwhelming. Jiraiya sighed, his heart filled with mixed emotions. Maybe it's also his deep cunning. I've never seen him use lightning release, but this level of technique is even more terrifying than the rakeage of the Cloud Village. Let's restore our chakra. Fukasaku sat down, gently reminding little Jiraiya someone wants to destroy the ninja world. This isn't the time to be in a daze. You're right. Shima also sat down quickly to recover from her injuries. I know. Jiraiya sat down, reaching into his pocket for a soldier pill. He looked at it nostalgically. If Tsunade were here, at least my injuries would heal quickly. By the way, where's Orochimaru? Jiraiya couldn't help but glance towards the direction Orochimaru had escaped, regretfully patting his thigh. I should have made him stay a bit longer to deliver the news of Kagura trying to seize the Rinnegan. Don't be so reckless, Jiraiya. A voice suddenly appeared beside Jiraiya. Orochimaru, that guy. He still hasn't left this place. Orochimaru's body emerged from the mouth of a small white snake. Standing beside Jiraiya, Orochimaru looked at Akihara Kagura and Conan fighting and sneered. Jiraiya, your students really are more troublesome one after another. Jiraiya was momentarily speechless. Although he had taken in many talented students, they had indeed become increasingly troublesome and dangerous, especially the most gifted one, Akihara Kagura. At this moment, he looked just like a super-villain in the ninja world. Sister Conan! Akihara Kagura remained polite, with lightning constantly destroying the falling explosive tags around him. He raised his head to look at Conan and extended his finger. Everything is within my plan. A Chidori sharp spear, hundreds of meters long, suddenly extended from Kagura's fingertip, shooting towards the paper wings on Conan's back. Since the first time I saw you, I've been thinking about taking Brother Nagato's Rinnegan. For this day, I have waited 10 years. No matter how you and Brother Nagato resist, it will be in vain. The Chidori sharp spear pierced through the paper wings. Conan's body became unstable and almost fell from the sky. At this critical moment, part of her body had to turn into paper again to fill the holes in the paper wings, barely maintaining her balance. Conan's paper wings flapped, carrying her body high into the sky to avoid the lightning strikes from Chidori Stream. Determination flashed across her face. Do you think everything is under your control? Conan extended her palm, chakra surging within her. Her gaze became resolute. Since we were forced to come here 10 years ago, I've been thinking about how to eliminate those who would harm Nagato and Pain. Clattering, countless paper pieces suddenly flew up from several nearby hills. These pieces of paper instantly transformed into explosive tags, surging madly towards Akihara Kagura as if driven by a wind. This was Conan's disguise using her dance of the Shikigami technique. She had hidden a large number of explosive tags near the Akatsuki base, intending to eliminate any enemy attacking the base one day directly from the outskirts. Unfortunately, Nagato was still here. Conan couldn't make up her mind to go all out. In fact, there was another place nearby with even more explosive tags. That was the lake beside the Akatsuki base. Every drop of water in that lake was disguised as an explosive tag by Conan. Even the Sharingan couldn't see through it. Unfortunately, Conan couldn't lure Akihara Kagura there, because Akihara Kagura's target was not her. Now, Conan could only use the explosive tags from several nearby hills, constantly flying towards Akihara Kagura. She had to use these explosive tags to temporarily stop him and buy time for Nagato to revive the 6 paths of pain. The number of these explosive tags! Even Jiraiya was a bit astonished, recalling the Konoha village's military preparations during the Ninja World Wars. It's enough to sustain 10 Ninja World Wars. Meaningless. Orochimaru watched the falling explosive tags like snowflakes with a somewhat disdainful expression. His gaze remained fixed on Akihara Kagura. For Akihara Kagura, there are too many ways to deal with such means. Sister Conan, it's raining today. Akihara Kagura looked up at the explosive tags falling like snowflakes mixed with raindrops in the sky. A ball of lightning appeared in his palm and shot straight into the dark clouds above. The next moment, thunder roared within the clouds. lightning began to flash densely in the clouds, seemingly unable to contain its power, and started to spread downward. Boom! Boom! The lightning in the sky instantly linked downward. Countless explosive tags were directly obliterated by the lightning simultaneously. Lightning release is the most suitable technique to deal with explosive tags. Even Conan had to suddenly fly aside to avoid the mighty force of this lightning. However, the lightning seemed to be guided, constantly spreading towards her escape direction. Boom! A bright light appeared in the gloomy sky. An enormous lightning dragon, surrounded by electric light, rushed towards Conan. Summoning technique. Nagato on the ground suddenly performed the summoning technique. In the sky, Conan, who was being chased by the lightning dragon, instantly turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. Her figure was directly summoned to Nagato's side. How is this possible? Jiraiya was stunned. Can people be summoned? Orochimaru squinted his eyes. It seems the abilities of the Rinnegan are quite peculiar. Akihara Kagura smiled faintly, his gaze fixed on Conan, noticing the hidden lip piercing under her lip. That lip piercing, it was a chakra signal receiver. Because of that chakra receiver, Conan could be directly summoned by Nagato like one of Pain's 6 Paths puppets. Thank you, Nagato, Conan gasped with lingering fear. The wings of paper on the back of this light blue-haired woman slowly transformed back into folded paper, forming her legs again. One of her legs was bleeding, as if it had suffered a serious injury. It's fine. Nagato shook his head and looked up at the lightning dragon still soaring in the sky, taking a deep breath. The 6 Paths of Pain will be revived soon. The King of Hell, who had been chewing behind Nagato, stopped and opened its huge mouth, allowing the 6 Paths of Pain to walk out one by one. So it's a revival. Jiraiya touched his chin and nodded, then turned to Orochimaru beside him. Hey, Orochimaru, don't forget that the information on the Hell Path can revive other puppets. Orochimaru glanced at Jiraiya and sneered. We can leave any time now. They probably have no interest in chasing us. Jiraiya hesitated for a moment, but had no intention of leaving. The 3 people fighting here were all his students, and this battle would determine the fate of the ninja world. Jiraiya dared not leave rashly. Just as Jiraiya and Orochimaru were chatting, the lightning dragon in the sky suddenly descended, charging directly towards Nagato, Conan, and the newly revived 6 Paths of Pain. A burst of light suddenly emanated from the Preta Path Pain. This slightly plump puppet in the 6 Paths of Pain agilely leaped up, extending his hands towards the lightning dragon, which gradually dissipated into chakra and was absorbed by him. Phew! Nagato took a deep breath. The revival of the 6 Paths of Pain put Nagato at ease, and he regained the confidence to compete with Akihara Kagura. I'll leave the rest to them. Nagato's voice gradually relaxed as he directed the 6 Paths of Pain to charge towards Akihara Kagura, initiating an attack at this moment. In the next second, Nagato's expression changed abruptly. Akihara Kagura rushed directly towards the 6 Paths of Pain. The Asura Path Pain was the first to confront him, a jagged blade extending from his back, thrusting towards Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura transformed into a beam of golden light, dodging the blade, and suddenly rushed towards the Asura Path, landing a punch on its face, causing countless parts to explode from the Asura Path Pain. First strike. Asura Path damaged. The Tendo Path Pain wielded a black rod, aiming to pierce Akihara Kagura's body, knowing that Shinra Tensei was useless against him and would only cause self-harm. Do you think my taijutsu is still the same as 10 years ago? Akihara Kagura opened his hand, grabbing the black rod from the Tendo Path Pain, and with a flip of his wrist, he nailed the rod straight into the Tendo Path Pain. Shinra Tensei! The Tendo Path Pain instinctively used Shinra Tensei, causing his body to rapidly retreat with the aid of repulsive force, barely avoiding Akihara Kagura's attack. This retreat exposed the Preta Path behind him. The Preta Path leaped forward, attempting to grasp Akihara Kagura's body to absorb his chakra. Bang! Half a black rod flew towards the Preta Path. The plump puppet was pinned to the ground by half of the black rod. Second strike. Preta Path damaged. Not good. Nagato suddenly realized Akihara Kagura's progress. This former was no longer the youth whose taijutsu was on par with his, but rather a terrifyingly powerful monster. The animal path wielded a black rod, suddenly charging towards Akihara Kagura. The human path also launched an attack, his hand slightly extended, waiting for the opportunity to grab Akihara Kagura's body while the animal path distracted him. As long as he could grab Akihara Kagura's body, the human path could extract Akihara Kagura's soul. In the next second, Akihara Kagura dodged the animal path's black rod, grabbed its arm, and used its body to smash the human path. A wooden spike suddenly flew from Akihara Kagura's palm, penetrating the bodies of the animal path and human path. Wood release, cutting technique! Akihara Kagura raised his fingers. With the stimulation of chakra, the wooden spikes within the animal path and human path rapidly grew, leaving them motionless. Animal path, human path, deceased. Only the Tendo path and the Hell path remained. The Tendo path had to charge towards Akihara Kagura again. Taking advantage of the Tendo path's cover, the Hell path immediately activated the King of Hell's mouth, extending a long tongue, attempting to retrieve and revive the four fallen paths. However, the time bought by the Tendo path was too short. Rasengan! Akihara Kagura raised his palm, pressing a Rasengan directly onto Tendo Path Pain. Tendo Path Pain's body instantly collapsed to the ground. This is too troublesome. Akihara Kagura clenched his hand. Dust release, detachment of the primitive world technique. A beam of white light suddenly pierced through the Hell Path and the King of Hell behind it. A round hole appeared in the Hell Path's chest, and its body fell to the ground. The tall King of Hell's mouth was also instantly penetrated with a large hole, and its body slowly sank into the ground. The 6 paths of pain, all destroyed. The 6 paths of pain launched a direct assault on Akihara Kagura, and within less than 10 seconds, Akihara Kagura had eliminated all of them. Nagato's mind hadn't even had time to devise a countermeasure before the 6 paths of pain were all defeated by Akihara Kagura. The speed was simply too overwhelming. Jiraiya and Orochimaru were both stunned. Fukasaku and Shima widened their eyes. Having just fought the 6 paths of pain directly, they knew exactly how powerful the 6 paths of pain were, as they were the first to confront them. Orochimaru and Jiraiya had exhausted almost all their techniques without any hope of defeating the 6 paths of pain, only hoping to defeat Nagato himself with a unique strategy. However, these tactics were also crushed by Nagato's absolute power. Yet, Akihara Kagura took less than 10 seconds. What made them most uneasy was that Akihara Kagura hadn't even used his most powerful techniques, solving everything with just taijutsu and a couple of minor ninjutsu. Little Jiraiya, Fukasaku took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "Your student seems to have no weaknesses. I remember he can also use Sage Mode." When Jiraiya took Akihara Kagura as a student, it shocked all of Mount Myaboku that the student, under the guidance of the Great Toad Sage, could directly use Sage Mode. Yes, Jiraiya nodded with a hint of bitterness. At any other time, Jiraiya would have been proud of this student. However, now he was troubled over how to stop him. There was no doubt that once Akihara Kagura obtained Nagato's Rinnegan, the entire ninja world would face a terrifying catastrophe. "Nagato, hand over the Rinnegan." Akihara Kagura walked step by step towards Nagato and Konan, speaking gently. "I can't bring myself to forcibly dig out your eyes. As long as you willingly give me the Rinnegan, both you and Konan can survive. Hearing you say such things is truly ironic." Konan stared coldly at Akihara Kagura, raising her hand to activate her secret technique again. "A butcher who wants to destroy the ninja world, yet claims not to be cruel." "Konan!" Nagato interrupted Konan's words and stopped her movements, shaking his head slowly. "Take Jiraiya-sensei and the others away, leave the rest to me." "Nagato!" Konan looked at Nagato in shock. "Don't worry, I may not lose." Nagato shook his head, slowly clenching his hand, his eyes becoming increasingly grim. "I just want to avoid the next battle causing harm to you." "Are you going to use that technique?" Konan frowned but did not try to stop him. "The power of Chibaku Tensei is not enough." Nagato formed seals with his hands, his eyes fixed on the approaching Akihara Kagura. "Leave quickly, the upcoming battle is beyond your ability to participate in." In the next moment, Nagato's palm slammed onto the ground. This emaciated red-haired man looked at Akihara Kagura before him and let out a low growl from his throat. "Summoning technique, Jido statue." Boom! The entire ground shook. The base of the Akatsuki organization seemed to collapse suddenly. A grotesque giant appeared behind Nagato. "Jido statue. This is the name of the monster. The monster is ugly, with an appearance and skin that look like withered wood. It has a row of eyes on its head, and it doesn't seem to have much combat power. However, the chakra erupting from this monster is terrifying. Now the Jido statue's body contains the chakra of 7-tailed beasts. This chakra can fully serve as its driving force and is Nagato's last trump card. In the past, Nagato used the Jido statue to eliminate the subordinates of Danzo and Hanzo the Salamander during the crisis of the first Akatsuki organization. After many years, Nagato once again wielded the Jido statue to confront the current leader of Root. "Go!" Nagato opened his palm toward Akihara Kagura. "Roar!" The Jido statue suddenly opened its ugly mouth, emitting a hoarse and unpleasant roar that made everyone's ears uncomfortable. In the next moment, the monster reached out its hand to strike at Akihara Kagura. Wood release, wood human technique! Akihara Kagura quickly clasped his hands together, and a tall wooden figure rose from the ground, raising its hand to block the Jido statue's attack. Roar! The Jido statue seemed to sense the wooden figure's resistance, roaring in anger, pressing down with even more force and striking with its other arm. The towering wooden figure firmly grabbed its arm. Never before! Jiraiya watched this scene in shock, recalling the appearance of the Jido statue he had seen deep in the Akatsuki base. I see someone suppress the wood human technique. Orochimaru frowned slightly, seemingly deep in thought. On top of the wooden figure's head, Akihara Kagura looked up at the ferocious monster, raising his hand, and two huge vines suddenly grew from the ground, forcibly grabbing the Jido statue's arms. Roar! Roar! The Jido statue struggled violently. One vine was immediately torn off by its strength, and the other followed suit. However, more vines continued to grow, gathering into wooden dragons that tightly bound the Jido statue in place. It can't absorb its chakra. Akihara Kagura frowned slightly. Perhaps because the Jido statue itself is the incarnation of the god tree's shell, the usually unstoppable wood release couldn't absorb the chakra within the Jido statue. Roar! Pillars protruding from the Jido statue's back suddenly began to glow, releasing huge bolts of lightning that instantly shattered the wooden dragons binding its arms. In the next moment, the Jido statue lunged at the wooden figure again. The towering wooden figure and the massive Jido statue collided. The 200-meter-tall monsters immediately began to battle fiercely on the battlefield. The Jido statue's enormous strength, fueled by the chakra of seven-tailed beasts, allowed it to continue fighting. The wooden figure, driven by Akihara Kagura's chakra, faced the Jido statue, the embodiment of the ninja world's origin, with fearless resolve. The wooden figure swung its fist, striking the Jido statue's head. Roar! The Jido statue's body tilted and fell to the ground, kicking up a large cloud of dirt. It angrily got back up and slapped the wooden figure's chest, causing it to stagger back. Fortunately, Nagato watched the battle, feeling a sense of relief. Fortunately, the Akatsuki organization captured seven-tailed beasts and sealed their chakra into the Jido statue, giving it the ability to act. Otherwise, the Jido statue would have to draw on his life force and chakra to fight. Nagato no longer has much life force left to support the Jido statue in battle. I remember Kagura has an even stronger technique. Jiraiya tightly watched the battle between the wooden figure and the Jido statue, his expression somewhat uneasy. He hasn't yet used the technique that can decide the outcome in one blow. Perhaps. Orochimaru looked at the slightly altered appearance of the Jido statue and the eyes on its head that were now open, vaguely guessing. Because that Jido statue is the weapon of the Akatsuki's war. Orochimaru recalled his conflict with Akihara Kagura and murmured, "That guy will only win with absolute advantage. This is his way of doing things. Nagato is no match for him now, so he doesn't want to destroy this weapon yet." Roar! The Jido statue, unable to win, roared again. Nagato also noticed this, his eyes fixed intently on the battle between the two giants. His voice lowered. "Do you still believe victory is within your grasp? Don't think the Jido statue of the outer path only has this much power." The next second, the Jido statue let out a series of roars. A black rod imbued with yin-yang release suddenly extended from its body. This rod rapidly branched out and pierced straight into the wood human's chest. The chakra within the wood human was being absorbed by the Jido statue. The divine tree, which once left legends in the ninja world, even in its residual shell form, still possessed suppressive power, capable of even absorbing wood-release chakra. The Jido statue seemed to revel in the chakra it was absorbing, its head becoming more sinister. Its mouth suddenly opened, and chains of chakra directly bound the wood human. These chakra chains, capable of sealing tailed beasts, now easily restrained the wood human. Roar! The Jido statue opened its mouth wide and spat out a mass of purple chakra towards the wood human. This mass of chakra transformed into a chakra dragon that pounced on the wood human. This was a unique technique of the Jido statue, capable of stealing an enemy's chakra. It found the black rod's absorption too slow. The chakra dragon instantly penetrated the wood human's body, carrying a large amount of chakra back to the Jido statue, revitalizing it once again. The Jido statue was originally an empty shell transformed from the source of chakra. In this world, all chakra cannot escape its fundamental extraction. Likewise, the Jido statue had its own instinct to continually absorb its lost chakra, returning to its peak state. It sought more chakra. It aimed to become the 10 tails again, to transform back into the divine tree. constantly extracting other people's chakra. Akihara Kagura shook his head and sighed softly. I never thought there'd come a day when someone would extract my chakra. Chakra is very precious. Akihara Kagura clasped his hands together, watching the Jido statue with a hint of pleasure and madness, as if it were a living being. I hate it when others extract my chakra. Sage mode, activate. Natural energy surged wildly into Akihara Kagura's body. Sage art would release true several thousand hands. In an instant, Akihara Kagura's body entered sage mode, and the wood human on the ground suddenly rose. A statue of a Buddha, even taller than the wood human, appeared beneath it. The statue soared to over 1,000 meters tall. Thousands of hands rapidly grew from the back of the statue. The Jido statue was somewhat stunned to see its chakra-absorbing black rod break. It looked up at the suddenly towering true several thousand hand statue, its eyes widening. If it were in its complete form, it would naturally not fear the true several thousand hands, its size easily matching and surpassing the statue, with vastly superior power. However, at this moment, it only had the chakra of 7-tailed beasts, far from being able to contend with the true several thousand hands, not even in size. Escape! Nagato's Rinnegan revealed a trace of fear. Conan's paper wings unfolded again, sheets of paper enveloping Nagato's legs, taking him along in their flight. Trying to escape now is a bit too late, isn't it? Akihara Kagura glanced at the fleeing Conan and Nagato, controlling the Buddha statue to extend a hand. This hand descended like the sky falling, slapping down on Conan and Nagato, knocking them to the ground with a light strike. Nagato rolled a few times on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Ignoring his injuries, he looked towards Conan. As Conan hit the ground, she also spat out blood but disregarded her wounds, her paper wings quickly reforming as she rushed to Nagato, full of concern, supporting him. Nagato, are you all right? Go quickly! Nagato gritted his teeth, trying to push Conan away. The next moment, Nagato seemed to think of something. No, there's something more important. A crazed look appeared on Nagato's face as he suddenly conjured a black rod, his Rinnegan fixed on it. I must destroy the Rinnegan. Nagato gripped the black rod tightly, his expression growing more frantic. If Akihara Kagura gets these eyes, he will use them to continue collecting tailed beasts, controlling resurrected war weapons. Yes. These Rinnegan are the root of darkness in the ninja world. In this critical moment, Nagato suddenly understood everything. We originally wanted to use these eyes and war weapons to bring peace to the ninja world, but if Akihara Kagura uses our plan, it will bring only destruction and disaster. Conan fell silent. Nagato was right. Originally, they intended to use the Rinnegan and the war weapon to bring peace to the ninja world. However, if Akihara Kagura obtains the Rinnegan, the ninja world will have no future. Roar! 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 Suddenly, the Jido statue let out a violent roar. This sound immediately drew everyone's attention. All present turned to look at the Jido statue. The monster that had been rampaging moments ago was now firmly suppressed by the Buddha statue. Its limbs were forcibly torn off by the wooden hands of the Buddha statue. After its limbs were torn off, yellow pus-like fluid flowed from its wounds, streaming down like a small creek, making the sight even more horrifying. Nagato has lost. Jiraiya took a deep breath. This was not unexpected. Orochimaru nodded and continued, Are we about to witness the birth of someone who possesses both the eyes and the body of a sage? No, Jiraiya shook his head, a sudden determination appearing on his face. We must stop him. We cannot let Kagura obtain the Rinnegan. I'm leaving. Ignoring Jiraiya, Orochimaru decided to leave first. Though unsure of what the future held, Orochimaru believed it was wise to escape the danger while he could. He was not eager to return to the root laboratory. Then do me one more favor. Jiraiya recalled something and added, Tell Tsunade that the previous Hokages of the village are under Kagura's control. They have been manipulated by him, and she must be careful. Orochimaru was silent for a moment, then suddenly asked, Jiraiya, do you think telling Tsunade this will do anything but increase her fear? If I had resurrected the previous Hokages with Edo Tensei, we might have had a chance, but now Akihara Kagura has resurrected and controlled them first. Akihara Kagura and the previous Hokages. Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya and softly stated a fact. Jiraiya, do you think anyone in the ninja world can stop him now? A creeping fear began to rise in Jiraiya's heart. No, suppressing his fear, Jiraiya forced a smile. How could that be? The great Toad Sage once told me of a prophecy that a child of destiny would bring transformation to the ninja world. I once thought the child of destiny was Nagato because he always wanted to bring change to the ninja world. But when I asked the great Toad Sage how to guide Nagato to bring the right change, Jiraiya's voice grew more assured as he spoke, as if he believed there was still hope for the future. The great toad sage told me that as long as I traveled the world and wrote books for inspiration, I was doing the right thing. When I returned to the village for inspiration, I met Naruto. When Nagato almost killed me, I suspected that Naruto might be the true child of destiny. There is still hope for the ninja world. Jiraiya waved his fist, declaring loudly, "No matter what, I believe Naruto can resolve the crisis in the ninja world." Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya, feeling as though his old friend had let the prophecy turn his life upside down. His calm gaze revealed a harsh truth. "Jiraiya, Uzumaki Naruto is just a Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Even if Naruto can harness the power of the Nine Tails is merely a plaything for Kagura's wood release." "You are mistaken. Something is wrong." Jiraiya rubbed his forehead, thinking frantically. He always believed in the great toad sage's prophecy and wanted to figure out what to do. "Fine, if you insist on believing the prophecy." Orochimaru sighed at his friend's determination. His gaze then fell on Nagato and Konan, and he proposed another possibility. "Hey, Jiraiya, is it possible that Nagato really is the child of destiny? As long as he still has the Rinnegan." Orochimaru thought of another possibility, finding his own idea intriguing. If the 8 tails from the cloud and the 9 tails from Konoha are given to him, and he resurrects that war weapon, maybe he could stop Kagura. Orochimaru's speculation is quite reasonable. Even Jiraiya was shocked by Orochimaru's guess, because, in a certain sense, Nagato indeed fits the identity of the child of prophecy more than Uzumaki Naruto, as he is indeed bringing about changes to the Naruto world. But what about that child Naruto? When I encountered Uzumaki Naruto during my research and took him as a student, was it all just to sacrifice him, to strip the tailed beast from his body and allow Nagato to gather all the tailed beasts to revive the weapon of war? Is this the truth? After Jiraiya had this thought, a greater fear enveloped him. After taking Uzumaki Naruto as a student, due to Naruto's identity and personality, Jiraiya had always treated the child like his own son, pouring a lot of effort into him. Now it seems, was all this to teach Uzumaki Naruto how to sacrifice himself? "First, let's save Nagato." Fukasaku understood Jiraiya's feelings and could only sigh. "At the very least, we must stop Kagura from obtaining the Rinnegan." "Yes." Shima agreed with Fukasaku, nodding. "No matter what we intend to do, stopping Kagura from obtaining the Rinnegan is a must. This is what they must do. Regardless of who the child of prophecy is, regardless of what the future truth holds, stopping Akihara Kagura from obtaining the Rinnegan now, preventing the union of the sage's eye and the sage's body, is certainly the right thing to do. Yes, we must stop Kagura first." Jiraiya agreed with the two sages' reminder. Orochimaru's expression was subtle. Where did Jiraiya and the two toad sages get their confidence from? Everyone barely survived when they all attacked 6 paths of pain together. Akihara Kagura took down 6 paths of pain alone in 10 seconds. How do they plan to stop Akihara Kagura? How will they fight? With what? "Orochimaru!" Jiraiya looked at Orochimaru. "I must go." Orochimaru interrupted Jiraiya. "Orochimaru, this is truly the last time." Jiraiya called out to the departing Orochimaru and said proactively, "Help me save Nagato, just like old times. I will fight desperately to cover your and Nagato's escape." "What you said?" Orochimaru took a deep breath and heavily nodded. "This is the last time. For the sake of you almost dying here, I will help you one last time." After speaking, Orochimaru suddenly smiled. "If it really comes to that, I can take the Rinnegan away first for you." Hey! Jiraiya looked displeased, grumbling, "At this point you're still trying to take advantage." "Idiot!" Orochimaru shook his head and ignored Jiraiya. On the battlefield, the statue of True Several Thousand Hands had already degraded into a forest. The Jido statue of the outer path was still roaring ferociously, but its limbs had been torn off, leaving a bare body lying on the ground, posing no threat to Akihara Kagura. Nagato raised a black rod, about to stab it into his own eyes, when a lightning bolt struck his arm, knocking the black rod from his hand. "Brother Nagato!" Akihara Kagura floated gently to his side, advising warmly, "Why so extreme? I only want your eyes." "Shinra Tensei!" Nagato's chakra erupted. As usual, the repulsive force struck Akihara Kagura, only to rebound back at Nagato's body, sending him flying. Konan quickly unfolded sheets of paper to block Akihara Kagura's sight. She knew what Nagato intended to do, but she would always support his decisions. If Nagato insisted on destroying those eyes, Konan believed his choice was right, so she would follow his plan and stop Akihara Kagura before Nagato destroyed his eyes. "Wind release! Spiraling wind!" Akihara Kagura raised his hand, unleashing a gust that blew Konan away. The next moment, Akihara Kagura turned into a golden light, swiftly chasing after Nagato, his fingers raised to pluck Nagato's eyes. A long tongue suddenly grabbed Akihara Kagura, pulling him back just in time to save Nagato. It was Shima. The Toad Sage quickly retracted her tongue after saving Nagato, but didn't notice the flying thunder god mark that had appeared on it upon contact with Akihara Kagura. Dismiss the summoning! Orochimaru understood Akihara Kagura better than anyone else. He ordered Jiraiya. His Orochimaru understood Akihara Kagura better than anyone else. He ordered Jiraiya, his face contorted with anger, to immediately dissolve Shima's summoning. Flying Thunder God! Jiraiya suddenly realized something and urgently turned to Shima. Shima, quickly dissolve the summoning! Orochimaru acted even faster, swiftly kicking Shima away, fearing that she might inadvertently lead Akihara Kagura to them. What the heck? Shima took the initiative to dissolve the summoning, disappearing in a puff of smoke. However, after Shima left, Jiraiya suddenly remembered something and cautiously said, "By the way, there's one thing I should mention. Kagura might have left a flying thunder god mark on me." When he accepted Akihara Kagura as his student, their relationship was very good, so it was likely that the mark was left on him as well. Orochimaru's eyes twitched, glaring at Jiraiya in frustration. Jiraiya had the flying thunder god mark on him, making it possible for Kagura to get to him in an instant. How could he possibly help in this situation? "You stay here and die!" Orochimaru angrily cursed at Jiraiya. All right. Jiraiya could only smile awkwardly and nod. However, Fukasaku, watching Akihara Kagura rush toward Nagato from afar, hurriedly shouted, "Little Jiraiya, if you don't save him now, it will be too late." Sage art, water-severing wave. As Fukasaku spoke, he spewed a high-pressure stream of water at Akihara Kagura, slashing towards him like a water blade. Akihara Kagura glanced at the approaching water wave. Still in sage mode, he raised his hand. Sage art, water release, water-severing wave. A more powerful high-pressure water stream cut across. The two high-pressure water waves clashed in an X shape. Fukasaku's water wave was clearly not strong enough and was instantly cut apart. Earth release, earth flow wall. Jiraiya formed a seal and raised a wall. Boom! The wall was split in an instant. Jiraiya watched in horror as the high-pressure water stream fell nearby, cutting a deep trench into the ground. Orochimaru took a deep breath, sensing the terror of fighting Akihara Kagura. Now do you realize how dangerous it is to fight your student? That guy's casually used water release can kill all of us. But we must save Nagato. Jiraiya clasped his hands together and rushed towards Akihara Kagura, his white hair instantly growing long. Wild Lion's main technique. The suddenly extended white hair twisted around Akihara Kagura like countless ropes. However, Jiraiya, knowing his technique could only restrain for a second, shouted loudly, "Nagato, run! Jiraiya-sensei!" Nagato looked at Jiraiya, who was saving him, in astonishment. Just moments before, they were fighting, and he almost killed this teacher. But now, in an instant, this teacher was trying to save him. Head towards the lake. Konan immediately pulled Nagato, whispering, "I set traps by the lake to stop his pursuit, maybe even kill him. Don't destroy the Rinnegan." Orochimaru swiftly approached Nagato and Konan, coldly reminding them, "Your eyes are now the hope to save the ninja world." Nagato frowned, still not quite understanding. Now, his Rinnegan seemed to be the root cause of the world's destruction. How did it suddenly become the hope of saving the ninja world? Just run quickly. Orochimaru glanced at Nagato and Konan, having no time to explain further, and continued, "Jiraiya won't be able to hold off Kagura for long. He will use his life to cover your escape. Don't waste that fool's sacrifice." On the other side of the battlefield, Jiraiya and Akihara Kagura walked towards their master-student confrontation again. Akihara Kagura raised his hand, touching Jiraiya's long hair, and a bolt of lightning instantly spread from the hair to Jiraiya. Jiraiya's body trembled violently, falling to the ground with a shudder, even emitting a puff of smoke from his mouth. The tall, white-haired man climbed back up with a helpless wry smile, perhaps lamenting his fate. "It's funny when you think about it. I was almost killed by one student, and now I'm about to be killed by another. There's no need to say such things, is there?" Akihara Kagura frowned, seemingly not quite understanding. "Jiraiya-sensei, if I remember correctly, I just saved you." Jiraiya's momentum faltered instantly. He initially had reasons to object, but he slowly shook his head and sighed. "Kagura, you want to take Nagato's Rinnegan and use its power to destroy the ninja world. This is something I cannot stand by and watch. Kagura, you are my most outstanding student." Jiraiya looked at Akihara Kagura and spoke softly. "In all my years traveling the ninja," Jiraiya looked at Akihara Kagura and spoke softly. "In all my years traveling the ninja world, I have never seen anyone with talent as great as yours." This was a fact. The ninja world was vast and full of wonders. Jiraiya had traveled many places and seen many different types of ninjas, yet he still believed that Akihara Kagura before him was the most talented ninja, even having realized his potential. Wood release, lava release, dust release. Mastery of these three Kekkei Genkai alone surpassed everyone in the ninja world. Additionally, he had mastered all 5 nature transformations and even space-time techniques, Sage Mode and Forbidden Jutsu. Even, this student had diligently trained his taijutsu. Thinking about this, Jiraiya felt that perhaps no one as powerful as Akihara Kagura would ever appear again in the future. No one in the ninja world could be his match. This was the most frightening part, a terrifying genius with no weaknesses. If not for Nagato's Rinnegan and the war weapon created by the gathering of the tailed beasts, no one in the ninja world could stop Akihara Kagura from destroying it. Your talent shouldn't be used for killing. Jiraiya looked at Akihara Kagura and spoke softly. Danzo has influenced you too much. You should realize by now that he's not a good person. A ninja's life. TL, Danzo still catching strays. Jiraiya-sensei, Akihara Kagura impatiently dug in his ear. You're not someone good at preaching, so don't start now. Lord Danzo indeed has some flaws, but he also possesses commendable qualities worth learning from. Akihara Kagura looked at Jiraiya and continued slowly. I've always remembered Lord Danzo's teachings. Once you find a goal, never waver in your will. No matter the preaching or obstruction from others, you must persist in doing what you believe is right. Now, what I'm doing is right. The source of chakra is wrong. The existence of ninjas is wrong, and the ninja village system is wrong. That's why there are so many wars in the ninja world. Even temporary peace cannot resolve conflicts between people, to prevent future suffering from wars. I've been thinking all along. In the end, I reached a conclusion. The first answer is destruction. Akihara Kagura slowly closed his eyes and then suddenly opened them. Destroy everyone in this ninja world, make all those who know war and conflict disappear. A world of deathly silence is meaningless. Jiraiya shook his head. He absolutely did not believe that what Akihara Kagura was doing was right, nor could anyone else be right in doing so. I know. Akihara Kagura raised an eyebrow and posed a question for Jiraiya to ponder. I have a question. How did humans come into existence? And how did ninjas appear in this world? Jiraiya could not answer the first question, but he knew the answer to the second one very well. 1,000 years ago, the Sage of the Six Paths created a village from which ninjas were born. In that era, ninjas could understand each other through chakra, and there were no conflicts among them. Yes, ninjas were created by the Sage of the Six Paths. Seeing that his teacher finally got to the point, Akihara Kagura smiled. Jiraiya-sensei, I am your student. I've heard the stories you've told countless times, so I've thought of a second answer. Creation. Since ninjas can be created by the Sage of the Six Paths, why can't we kill everyone and create new ninjas? The newly created ninjas would be like newborn babies, as innocent as the ninjas created by the Sage of the Six Paths 1,000 years ago. When Akihara Kagura said this, he seemed to be fascinated by the future story of his own creation. I will destroy this old world. The ninjas of this era are ignorant, willing to fight for a little benefit, which is why Nagato was born. However, he believed that the power of the 9-tailed beasts gathered together could destroy the ninja world, but the power of destruction can also be used for creation. I discovered the truth about the tailed beasts and the Jido statue before any of you. When I mastered wood release, I knew part of the truth of this ninja world. I also knew why this world was full of wars and how to create a world where ninjas understand each other without wars. That is to recreate a world that gives birth to ninjas, like the Sage of the Six Paths did 1,000 years ago. In that new world, there would be no wars, no sorrow, no despair. The ninjas of the new world would understand each other like the village you talked about. At this point, Akihara Kagura even looked a bit sad. Jiraiya-sensei, I've always followed your teachings. Why are you opposing me? Destroy the ninja world, destroy the ninjas. Create a new world, create new ninjas. At this moment, Akihara Kagura declared that everything he did was in accordance with Jiraiya's teachings, learning from the ancient Sage of the Six Paths. Jiraiya had always used the Sage of the Six Paths and the origin of ninjutsu as examples to educate his students about peace in the ninja world. However, upon hearing Kagura's words, he felt a suffocating fear, realizing that his student might truly be following his teachings. The good news was that Kagura listened to his teacher's teachings. The bad news was that Kagura might have taken them too far. Rain and cold sweat trickled down Jiraiya's face. His body trembled, unable to move, as he struggled to find a rebuttal. Kagura, my hope has always been that the ninjas of this era could achieve mutual understanding like in the ancient times. Jiraiya-sensei. Akihara Kagura gazed at Jiraiya, seemingly puzzled. I am your student, yet you are unwilling to understand me. Why then should we expect the ninjas of the ninja world to understand each other? Isn't that contradictory? Jiraiya found himself at a loss for words. For the ninjas of this era, mutual understanding is impossible. They have long been accustomed to fighting for interests, waging wars over small commissions, killing each other for benefits, and praising those who excel in slaughter as excellent ninjas. Kagura extended his palm, as if solidifying his resolve. What right does this ninja world have to achieve mutual understanding? It would be better to bury its history and recreate the ninjas like the Sage of the Six Paths did. Maybe you're right. Jiraiya took a deep breath, realizing he couldn't refute Kagura on this issue. But as a ninja of this era, I can't just stand by and watch you destroy it. Jiraiya-sensei. Kagura looked at Jiraiya, frowning deeply as if understanding him. You, who always advocate for a peaceful future for the ninja world, are unwilling to sacrifice when peace demands it from you. Hey! Jiraiya hurriedly tried to respond. It doesn't matter anymore. Kagura waved his hand and raised his palm. Jiraiya-sensei, humans are selfish. You, as the best ninja of this era, still cannot escape selfish thoughts, just like a microcosm of this era. It is precisely because every ninja harbors selfish thoughts that mutual understanding will never be possible, leading to endless wars and slaughter. Peace will always remain like the distant moon. Everyone prays for peace in the ninja world. That's because the peace everyone wants is one that benefits them. Each of Kagura's words struck Jiraiya to his core, leaving him speechless, unable to utter a single word in opposition. Goodbye, Jiraiya-sensei. Kagura clasped his hands together and sighed deeply. Let us begin the prelude to the end of this era of ninjas right here. Sage art, wood dragon technique. The ground suddenly churned. A thick vine transformed into a colossal wooden dragon. In sage mode, the wooden dragon appeared lifelike, roaring towards Jiraiya with its mouth slightly open. Jiraiya's hair flew wildly as he turned and fled, forming hand seals rapidly and trying to spew flames at the wooden dragon. Fire release! Great flame bullet! A massive fireball hit the wooden dragon. However, to the wooden dragon, it was merely a flare. Standing atop the wooden dragon's head, Akihara Kagura calmly watched Jiraiya fleeing. Standing atop the wooden dragon's head, Akihara Kagura calmly watched Jiraiya fleeing once again, moving neither too fast nor too slow, seemingly pushing Jiraiya towards a dead end. On the other side of the battlefield, by the lake near the Akatsuki base, Nagato and Konan's group had just escaped to this location. Little Jiraiya is about to sacrifice himself. Fukasaku glanced at the distant battlefield disparity. He intended to sacrifice himself here all along. Orochimaru, looking at Nagato being carried by paper wings, spoke coldly. I have saved him many times, but if we continue at this pace, even if Jiraiya dies in battle, we won't escape Kagura's pursuit. His sensory abilities are too strong. I have set up traps. Konan furrowed her brows and continued in a deep voice. As long as Akihara Kagura steps into the traps I prepared by the lake, the billions of explosive tags will be enough to kill him. A grand scheme. Orochimaru shook his head, doubting Konan's plan could succeed. But Kagura possesses the Flying Thunder God technique, a space-time jutsu that allows him to escape any trap. Such is reality. No matter what, as long as the Rinnegan is with Nagato, they cannot escape Akihara Kagura's pursuit. Because Nagato is paralyzed from the waist down, he can only rely on the assistance of Orochimaru and Konan. However, this will significantly delay their escape. Do you have any ideas? Nagato asked Orochimaru. Of course. Orochimaru looked at Nagato's Rinnegan and with a slight smile proposed his idea. What matters most to Akihara Kagura is that Rinnegan. As long as he doesn't get it, it will be fine. I want to destroy my eyes. Nagato hadn't given up on his idea and continued. Without these eyes, Akihara Kagura can't obtain a complete weapon of war. That's foolish. Orochimaru shook his head and coldly said, even if you destroy the Rinnegan, it won't change Kagura's intentions. That guy has already been exposed. He might not give up his plan. No one in the ninja world is his match. Then what should we do? Nagato's gaze fell on Orochimaru. Give the Rinnegan to me. Orochimaru had just spoken when Konan interrupted him directly. Absolutely not. Konan didn't trust Orochimaru at all. If Orochimaru got the Rinnegan, she didn't believe he would save the ninja world. Then Nagato's gaze turned to Fukasaku, and he asked in a deep voice, what if the Rinnegan is entrusted to Fukasaku? I can take the Rinnegan. Fukasaku frowned and asked, but if you get killed by Kagura, who will wield the Rinnegan? Nagato fell silent. This Rinnegan represents the future of the ninja world. It also signifies the potential disaster for the ninja world. However, Nagato has been secluded in the Akatsuki base for years, and the people he knows are mostly rogue ninjas. The only legitimate ninja he is familiar with is Akihara Kagura, the super-villain intent on destroying the world. Are you sure you can handle it? Orochimaru looked at Fukasaku and suddenly laughed. Kagura is Jiraiya's student and must have signed a contract with Mount Myaboku. Do you think he can't find Mount Myaboku? Fukasaku's face changed. This centuries-old toad sage realized a problem. If the Rinnegan is handed over to him for safekeeping, it would undoubtedly bring disaster to Mount Myaboku. Akihara Kagura holds the contract with Mount Myaboku and is powerful enough to summon the great toad sage. If he took the Rinnegan, and Kagura threatened him with the great toad sage's life, what could he do then? Wait! Fukasaku suddenly remembered something, and his eyes brightened. I can take the Rinnegan and consult the great toad sage back at Mount Myaboku. The great toad sage can use prophecy to determine whether the Rinnegan poses a threat to Mount Myaboku and who can wield it in the future. Orochimaru smiled lightly and looked at Fukasaku. If the Rinnegan endangers Mount Myaboku, will you hand it over to Akihara Kagura? Absolutely not, Fukasaku immediately retorted, even slandering Ryuchai Cave. Youngster, you think too lowly of Mount Myaboku. Do you think we're the same as Ryuchai Cave? Mount Myaboku isn't that noble either, is it? Orochimaru, being a snake, naturally had no good feelings toward Mount Myaboku. Nagato hesitated, glancing back and forth between Fukasaku and Orochimaru. Arguing like this won't get us anywhere. Orochimaru looked at Konan and with a slight smile said, but I do have a forbidden technique that might be able to eliminate Akihara Kagura. What is it? The mutually multiplying explosive tags technique. Orochimaru, smiling, revealed the name of the forbidden technique and explained softly. As long as a single explosive tag is attached to Akihara Kagura, even if he uses his space technique, the explosive tag will continuously follow him, causing a series of unending explosions. You just mentioned hiding billions of explosive tags at the bottom of the lake. Once they are empowered by the mutually multiplying explosive tag technique, the explosions will grow exponentially. The power of billions of explosive tags exploding simultaneously might be enough to kill Akihara Kagura. However, this requires a strategy. Because the explosive tag must be attached to him. What strategy? Konan frowned. Hide the Rinnegan he wants under this lake. I can stay behind to cover the retreat. Orochimaru, gazing sinisterly at the lake by the Akatsuki base, said, You all scatter and escape from here. If Akihara Kagura chases after you, at least someone will survive and can come back to retrieve the Rinnegan. If Akihara Kagura sees through our strategy, he will have to face the bombardment of billions of explosive tags instantly. It might destroy both him and the Rinnegan, eradicating the threat from the ninja world forever. Everyone present fell silent. Why can't we deceive him? Konan frowned and proposed an idea. Make him believe that Nagato's Rinnegan is at the bottom of the lake. Even if this place is destroyed and we can't kill Akihara Kagura, he will think the Rinnegan is destroyed. We would at least have a chance to secretly revive our war machine and stop his plan to destroy the ninja world. Orochimaru gave Konan a gloomy look. What is with this woman? I just want to find an opportunity to take the Rinnegan, yet this woman is so adamant about keeping it. What's wrong with using the Rinnegan as a trap? If there really are billions of explosive tags under this lake, I could first take the Rinnegan, use the explosion to heavily injure Akihara Kagura, and then use living corpse reincarnation to take over his body and implant the Rinnegan into my new body. I agree with this idea. Fukasaku supported Konan's plan, turning his gaze to Orochimaru. Orochimaru, only you can use the mutually multiplying explosive tag technique. You just said you would stay behind to cover our retreat. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with anger. At that moment, Orochimaru suddenly remembered the distant past. Back then, I was still a member of the Akatsuki. The other members abandoned the base and retreated, leaving me alone to face Akihara Kagura. I'm no longer a member of the Akatsuki. Why does my fate seem unchanged? However, a cold glint appeared in Orochimaru's eyes. If there are really endless explosive tags under this lake, at least I can use this opportunity to seriously injure Akihara Kagura and seize his body with living corpse reincarnation. From day one. From the day the wood release experiment on Akihara Kagura succeeded, from seeing how abundant his chakra was, from witnessing his growing strength, I have never given up this idea. To be honest, to plot against Akihara Kagura once, I really have no qualms. Who made Akihara Kagura keep using me, deceiving me to save Jiraiya, all to get information about the 6 paths of pain and seize the Rinnegan. Now, the billions of explosive tags here. It's time for that guy to pay up, of course. If by accident Akihara Kagura is killed, then I'll have to use the Edo Tensei to revive him, controlling him as my puppet. The strongest ninja in the ninja world, Akihara Kagura, controlled by my Edo Tensei and using this puppet to seize the Rinnegan. That kind of story doesn't seem too bad. Orochimaru lightly tapped his arm with his fingers, casually nodding, agreeing to Conan and Nagato's plan. A strange thought suddenly crossed his mind. If I die here to stop Akihara Kageura, the story might end with Jiraiya and me staying behind, covering Nagato, the hope of the ninja world, as he escapes. Why does this feel so familiar? Orochimaru frowned, suddenly recalling the words often said kindly by the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, while stroking his beard. Where the leaves dance, the fire burns. The fire's light will illuminate the village and cause new leaves to sprout. Someday we will also have to sacrifice ourselves. Orochimaru quickly shook his head, dismissing the absurd thought. In the sky, a wooden dragon flew towards the lake. The massive wooden dragon arrived at the lake in despair. As Conan and Fukasaku fled with Nagato and Orochimaru set up an exploding tag trap, a shadow appeared above Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked up at the sky. The wooden dragon slowly lowered its head, revealing Akihara Kageura standing on top. Where is Jiraiya? Orochimaru looked up at Akihara Kageura, smiled, and said, Kageura-kun, have you finally killed your teacher too? Something like that. Akihara Kageura seemed indifferent to Jiraiya's fate and casually said, however, it might not be good, right? On the distant battlefield, Jiraiya's body was still drifting along the river. In the battle between the master and the apprentice, Jiraiya had no power to fight back. He was knocked into the river by the wooden dragon controlled by Akihara Kageura, and his fate was uncertain. However, Jiraiya's body was drifting rapidly down the river. A figure wearing a gas mask quietly emerged from the river. It was Hanzo of the Salamander, the leader of Rain Village. He seemed to have been hiding nearby, secretly observing the battle. Hanzo of the Salamander pulled Jiraiya's body to a safe place, carefully bandaging his wounds. Cough, cough, cough! Jiraiya spat out a mouthful of blood. Rain Village's medical ninja techniques are inadequate. After bandaging him, Hanzo of the Salamander spoke in a muffled voice. I heard that the new Hokage of Konoha is Tsunade. I will immediately send someone to take you back to Konoha. She should be able to heal your injuries. Thank you. Jiraiya opened his eyes. Hearing the somewhat familiar voice and seeing the person in front of him, he inexplicably felt a sense of relief. Lord Hanzo of the Salamander. This is, after all, the territory of the Land of Rain. Hanzo of the Salamander helped him sit up and said softly, I just sensed chakra fluctuations from the Akatsuki base. I thought Nagato was in trouble and wanted to come and see what was happening here, only to see you almost get killed. Phew! Jiraiya showed a hint of shame and sighed. I didn't expect that obedient child to harbor such dark thoughts. This matter could not remain a secret, because the ninja world was about to face a catastrophe. Jiraiya was very clear about the weight Hanzo of the Salamander carried. As the leader of Rain Village, he would inevitably face the impending disaster in the ninja world. That! Hanzo of the Salamander looked up, seemingly recalling the past. In the past, he seemed to have come to the Land of Rain with you. He was the one with the wood release. Yes, Jiraiya quickly nodded. I've heard his name. Hanzo of the Salamander also nodded and continued. Many people in the ninja world now know him and the reputation of Root. He is much stronger than Danzo. Indeed, Jiraiya could only agree with a bitter smile. It was true. Akihara Kageura was far stronger than Danzo. His ability to cause trouble was beyond Danzo's reach. What exactly is going on? Hanzo of the Salamander seemed completely unaware and asked, Where is Nagato? Why haven't I seen Nagato? I just saw Nagato's Jido statue over there. The statue that almost killed me before had its limbs directly torn off. Yes, Nagato. Jiraiya immediately remembered another extremely important disciple. He looked at Hanzo of the Salamander and earnestly pleaded, Lord Hanzo, please take me to find Nagato quickly. We must not let Kageura find him first. I understand. Hanzo of the Salamander nodded and directly agreed. I had initially considered entrusting Rain Village to Nagato, so naturally I won't stand by and do nothing about his predicament. But what exactly is going on? Hanzo of the Salamander looked at Jiraiya and asked in a deep voice, Why would the wood-release prodigy of Konoha attack his own teacher? If he were fighting Nagato, I could understand because Nagato's capture of tailed beasts brings more trouble than starting a war with the three major nations. Lord Hanzo, you know Nagato is capturing tailed beasts. Jiraiya looked at Hanzo of the Salamander with some surprise and instinctively asked. Does Lord Hanzo not realize that this would bring disaster to the Land of Rain? I know. Hanzo of the Salamander lowered his head and continued in a deep voice. For the Land of Rain to survive, we need to use some unimaginable means. When I fought against Konoha, Rock and Sand Village to stop the slaughter in the Land of Rain, didn't you think the same? But for the sake of the civilians of the Land of Rain, I had no other choice. Regarding Nagato's intentions, Perhaps I can also guess a little." Hanzo of the Salamander sighed and shook his head, saying, "But for the land of rain, what could be worse than this country always being a battlefield?" Jirya fell silent. "Konoha kid!" Hanzo of the Salamander patted Jirya on the shoulder. With his age and status, he could treat Jirya this way. He continued softly, "Although I still don't know what happened, it seems that your wood-release prodigy from Konoha is about to cause more troublesome consequences than Nagato's extreme ideas." Huff! Jirya rubbed his chest and sighed. "Nagato just wants to use the tailed beasts to create war weapons to maintain peace in the ninja world. However, Kagura wants to use these war weapons to destroy the entire ninja world." A look of shock appeared in Hanzo of the Salamander's eyes. "We must find Nagato now." Jirya struggled to stand up and spoke about what they needed to do. "Only Nagato can save the ninja world. Let's go first." "Your injuries? It's nothing serious." Jirya shook his head, not caring about his injuries. "All right." Hanzo of the Salamander agreed and then asked, "By the way, it seems the chakra of the other rogue Sannin is still present. I heard that the Sannin kid had already died long ago. How did he come back to life? When I was secretly rescuing you, I sensed he seemed to be fighting with your wood-release prodigy." "Orochimaru?" A look of astonishment flashed across Jirya's face upon hearing Hanzo of the Salamander's words. Because in his impression, Orochimaru was not the type to stay behind to cover the retreat. Why would he stay behind for Nagato? "Right now, Orochimaru is with us." Jirya stroked his chin, pondering the survival tactics of his old friend. "Kagura may not be able to kill him. But is that guy staying behind alone for some ulterior motive? Forget it. This doesn't matter. Finding Nagato is the most important thing now. Forget it. Orochimaru is somewhat important too." Jirya glanced at Hanzo of the Salamander beside him and seemed a bit embarrassed. "Lord Hanzo, can you sense Orochimaru's situation now?" "No." Hanzo of the Salamander shook his head and continued in a solemn voice, "The wood-release prodigy from Konoha has strong sensory abilities. When I rescued you, I didn't dare to use chakra." "Forget it." Jirya felt somewhat helpless. After all, he had to consider the bigger picture and could only set aside his worries about Orochimaru for now. "Let's find Nagato first, then we can come back and see what's going on with Orochimaru." "Which direction would Nagato and Conan escape to?" Jirya raised his head to look at the overcast sky. "I'll send people to search." Hanzo of the Salamander remained unconcerned. As the leader of Rain Village for many years, he was very familiar with the terrain and locations in the Land of Rain. He led Jirya to the nearest Rain Village outpost to order all the Rain Village ninja to immediately deploy and help search for Nagato's whereabouts. Meanwhile, on the surface of the lake at the Akatsuki's base, Ikehara Kagura pressed the head of the wooden dragon lower and lower, but he still looked down at Orochimaru. "Lord Orochimaru, are you blocking me here to cover their escape because you want to betray our alliance?" "Kagura-kun!" Orochimaru looked at Ikehara Kagura, a smile on his lips. "All along, hasn't it been you, Kagura-kun, who has been constantly betraying our alliance? You tricked me into coming here. I have no idea about your plan to destroy the ninja world. I want to ask, in your plan to destroy the ninja world, am I also on the list of those you intend to kill?" Ikehara Kagura brushed his hair aside, thought for less than a second, and gave an answer. "Lord Orochimaru, you are the one who raised me. I have always respected you as I respect Lord Danzo." "Kagura-kun!" Orochimaru interrupted Ikehara Kagura, reminding him. "You have always claimed to respect Danzo in front of others. Have you lied so much that you've forgotten I saw with my own eyes how you turned Danzo into a sacrifice for the Edo Tensei?" "Well, there have been many things recently." Ikehara Kagura rubbed his brow and proactively promised. "Rest assured, at least I won't." Ikehara Kagura rubbed his brow and proactively promised. "Rest assured, at least I won't let you end up like Lord Danzo." A shadow passed through Orochimaru's eyes. This damn kid. Didn't Danzo's fate already end in the worst possible way? "The Rinnegan is hidden at the bottom of the lake." Orochimaru pointed to the lake below, speaking coldly. "Before Nagato and Conan escaped, they took out the Rinnegan and hid it at the bottom of the lake." "What lake?" Ikehara Kagura looked down at the lake's surface, as if lying through his teeth. "Isn't it all paper and explosive tags down there? Where's the lake?" A cold look appeared on Orochimaru's face. "The trap Conan set on this lake was seen through by this kid. You really saw through it." The cold look on Orochimaru's face vanished, replaced by a smile. "They used the Rinnegan as bait, trying to lure you into the trap here, and then destroy me and the Rinnegan together." Ikehara Kagura manipulated the wooden dragon to descend again, almost touching the lake's surface. A hint of amusement appeared in his eyes. "If it's so dangerous, let's just destroy the Rinnegan here. Anyway, I already have another way to obtain the Rinnegan." "What way?" Orochimaru couldn't help but look up. "Is there another way to obtain the Rinnegan in this ninja world? The Rinnegan is the ultimate evolution of the Sharingan." Akihara Kagura looked at Orochimaru, carelessly revealing this secret. Now I've arranged for Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi to duel elsewhere. Their battle is not just to attract others' attention. The most important goal is to get a pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan from the victor, which can evolve into the Rinnegan. Interesting, Akihara Kagura sneered, his voice filled with disdainful laughter. Did Nagato think that if I couldn't get the Rinnegan, I wouldn't have other alternatives? Finished. A major problem has arisen. This was Orochimaru's first thought. Akihara Kagura had not been entirely certain about Nagato's Rinnegan. He had considered the possibility that the Rinnegan might be destroyed even before attempting to seize it. This guy even had a backup Rinnegan. As Orochimaru listened to Akihara Kagura discussing the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the Rinnegan, he understood the new term, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan! Orochimaru squinted his eyes, recalling the bloodline he had once coveted. So the final evolution of the Uchiha clan's bloodline is to become the Rinnegan. The duel between the genius brothers Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke had not only attracted attention, but was also part of Akihara Kagura's plan to cultivate the Rinnegan. No wonder Akihara Kagura was grooming Uchiha Sasuke. Because Uchiha Sasuke, that little guy, wasn't good at independent thinking and would mostly follow orders. He was the vessel for Akihara Kagura's Rinnegan cultivation. Akihara Kagura always seemed to achieve multiple objectives with one move, making it impossible to understand his intentions until he reached his goal. However, even now it's already very troublesome. While Orochimaru was still pondering, a voice called out from the shore, loudly shouting at Akihara Kagura, "Young man, Sasuke is about to meet Uchiha Itachi." It was White Zetsu Oi. White Zetsu Oi delivered this important news. The sibling rivalry within the Uchiha clan was a deeply involved conspiracy. Even Akihara Kagura had made numerous arrangements for this duel, and the group of root ninjas assisting Uchiha Sasuke's revenge was not merely there to watch. It seems I don't have time to linger here. Akihara Kagura glanced at Orochimaru, leisurely controlling the wooden dragon to rise into the sky, and said, "If the Rinnegan is truly hidden in the explosive tag trap, Lord Orochimaru, then please help me detonate it to avoid others fighting me for this weapon of war." Orochimaru looked at the unimpressed Akihara Kagura and forced a smile. "Kagura-kun, are you really not considering?" To be blunt, this might be his last chance to take Akihara Kagura's body, using the billions of explosive tags left by Konan, his only chance to defeat Akihara Kagura. If next time Akihara Kagura obtained the Rinnegan, combining the Sage's eyes, and if next time Akihara Kagura obtained the Rinnegan, combining the Sage's eyes and body, would he become the Sage of Six Paths? No consideration. Akihara Kagura raised his hand, ready to leave. "Kagura-kun!" Orochimaru frowned, looking up at the flying wooden dragon. "Almost forgot. This time you betrayed our alliance again." Akihara Kagura suddenly stopped, quickly forming a seal with his hands, and a black summoning barrier rune flashed from his hand, landing directly on the lake's surface. "Wait!" Orochimaru could only watch as the summoning rune landed. He recognized it as the necessary summoning rune for mutually multiplying explosive tags. The next moment, the black summoning rune rapidly spread across the lake's surface. In an instant, the black rune covered the entire lake, revealing its true nature, stacks of thick explosive tags. Strangely, as the black summoning rune expanded, some small black summoning runes hidden here rapidly decayed and disappeared. Apparently, the previous person who tried to set up the summoning formation here didn't have strong enough chakra and could only arrange it bit by bit. There are other mutually multiplying explosive tags summoning formations set up here. Akihara Kagura glanced at Orochimaru and leisurely continued. "Lord Orochimaru, have you forgotten I am the assistant to Konoha's Hokage? I mastered the forbidden technique of mutually multiplying explosive tags long ago and even made some slight improvements." Improvement? Orochimaru squinted his eyes, suddenly feeling uneasy. The mutually multiplying explosive tag originally involved an exponential summoning of explosive tags. Akihara Kagura held a shuriken in his hand. He raised it and threw it down, with an explosive tag attached to the end. But with some improvements, it can now use a single explosive tag as a trigger to instantly summon and detonate all the explosive tags. What? Orochimaru's heart trembled. There were billions of explosive tags in this area, and if Akihara Kagura detonated them instantly, the explosion would be enough to shake the entire land of rain. Without much thought, Orochimaru's body transformed into a snake, his instincts screaming in warning, and a massive creature suddenly appeared. This gigantic creature had 8 snake heads and 8 tails, roaring at Akihara Kagura's wooden dragon. Boom! Akihara Kagura snapped his fingers. Boom! The entire lake exploded suddenly. All the explosive tags on the lake's surface were detonated in an instant. Akihara Kagura swiftly maneuvered the wooden dragon away, feeling the shockwave of billions of explosive tags being ignited behind him. A massive mushroom cloud rose behind him, radiating a heat as intense as the sun. The ground trembled violently, causing the entire land of rain to feel the quake, and many places even witnessed the rising mushroom cloud. By a small river, Konan and Nagato felt the tremors beneath their feet. They both turned their heads towards the direction of the Akatsuki base and saw the ascending mushroom cloud. Konan couldn't hide the shock in her eyes. Did Orochimaru succeed? A drop of cold sweat trickled down Konan's cheek. Perhaps. Nagato's face darkened. They were still unaware of the situation there. However, finding a safe place was the most urgent matter now. Let's find Sasori first. Nagato decided to look for Sasori of the Red Sand. He took Konan's ring to use the Rinnegan's power to locate Sasori and the others. Sasori was undoubtedly the most trustworthy member within the Akatsuki. When Akihara Kagura first almost brought the Akatsuki to the brink of destruction, it was Sasori who voluntarily took him and Konan away, on a rock in the land of rain. Sasori and Kakuzu were still watching Deidara and Hidden argue. However, when the massive explosion and tremor hit, the two finally stopped and looked in surprise at the rising mushroom cloud. This is art! Deidara spread his arms wide, gazing fervently at the mushroom cloud. This is the greatest art in the ninja world. One day I will create such art too. Sasori shook his head helplessly. Isn't that the direction of our base? Hidden curiously asked as he looked back at the location of the explosion. This question startled everyone present, making each person ponder why such a massive explosion occurred. Besides the Akatsuki members, no one else in the Land of Rain could create such a large-scale explosion, right? Is Pain contacting us? Kakuzu quickly glanced at the ring on his hand. Let's answer it. Sasori also looked at his ring. This was the Akatsuki's communication method. No matter the distance, they could use this was the Akatsuki's communication method. No matter the distance, they could use the rings to perform the technique and establish a group communication channel through the Rinnegan. However, the signal from the rings soon ceased. Nagato, who was initially trying to locate Sasori and the others, encountered a rain ninja searching for them, who informed them that Jiraiya and Hanzo, the salamander, were looking for them. Nagato had to abandon contacting the Akatsuki members for now, only notifying Sasori and Kakuzu to head to Rain Village instead of returning to the base, where they would meet. Rain Village. This small village was filled with industrial style. Jiraiya stood atop a tower in Rain Village, looking worriedly at the distant mushroom cloud from the explosion, his heart mixed with feelings. Orochimaru, that guy! An explosion of that scale is enough to destroy Rain Village. Hanzo the salamander stood beside Jiraiya, also staring at the mushroom cloud, advising in a deep voice, "The chance of that Sannin kid surviving is slim. You might not even find his body." Jiraiya fell silent. The Akatsuki base, or rather it should now be called the former Akatsuki base. The power of billions of explosive tags had completely obliterated the entire Akatsuki base, leaving only a crater the size of a city. Fortunately, these were merely explosive tags. The quantitative change did not lead to a more terrifying qualitative change. A massive snake lay in the crater, its body still writhing, now entirely charred with fractures everywhere. When it appeared, it had 8 heads and tails. Now, it had only half a tail and 1 head left. At the moment of the explosion, its body instantly curled up, wrapping one of its heads, barely leaving 1 head intact. That head bit down on the charred part of its body. The intense pain made it let out a low growl, but it stubbornly continued to bite. These wounds were insignificant. As long as it was still alive, its body could recover and heal. Perhaps due to the severe depletion of chakra within its body, the 8-headed serpent finally had no choice but to give up. It slowly opened its mouth, and a human figure crawled out from it, collapsing weakly to the ground. It was Orochimaru. This guy had survived again. Even in such a dire state, he still lived. Akihara Kagura. Orochimaru's fingers were too weak to move. If he hadn't used the 8-headed serpent technique at the last moment before the explosion, transforming into the body of the 8-headed serpent, he might already be dead and buried by now. That guy! Orochimaru tried to grit his teeth, but didn't even have the strength to do so. He could only sit and recover his energy. I still need to send a message to that idiot Jiraiya. His troublesome disciple has a spare Rinnegan. Have him quickly send word to Konoha. Tell Konoha's people to kill Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi directly. No, that won't work. Orochimaru recalled Akihara Kagura's speed, realizing he was being too optimistic. There probably isn't enough time. Indeed, there probably wasn't enough time. For now, it would be good enough if they could find Nagato first. However, while they were busy searching for Nagato, Akihara Kagura might have already taken away the victor among the Uchiha brothers, Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke, Land of Fire, a former Uchiha stronghold. This stronghold had long been abandoned. The outside appeared desolate and dilapidated, while the inside was somewhat clean despite being filled with ruins. It barely served as a place to rest for a while. This place was where Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi had agreed to settle their vendetta. Uchiha Sasuke sat on a stone chair inside the stronghold, while other root ninjas stood scattered around. Some stood on the broken walls, others behind the door beams. In theory, this should have been a duel between brothers. However, everyone present had the right to seek revenge against Uchiha Itachi because they once shared the same surname and possessed the same Kekkei Genkai. Karin has sent a message. An Uchiha walked in from the front, speaking softly. Uchiha Itachi and Kisame Hashigaki have arrived just outside the stronghold. Shall we go out and kill him? Let's go kill him. Or should we wait for him to come to us? Everyone present became somewhat excited. However, as this group of Uchiha grew more fervent, they started arguing noisily, reminiscent of old clan meetings, which gave Uchiha Sasuke a headache. Quiet down! Uchiha Sasuke hastily stopped them, the young man trying to imitate his father as he spoke to calm the clan members. We agreed to fight on this old clan ground, so let's wait for him to come here. We'll kill him here and complete the Uchiha's revenge. Outside the stronghold, Karin stood with a team. When Uchiha Itachi and Kisame Hashigaki arrived, Karin reached out to stop them and spoke softly. That shark face stays, only Uchiha Itachi can enter. Itachi! Kisame Hashigaki shouldered his samehada and pointed it towards Karin from afar. They don't seem very friendly. I'll go in alone. Uchiha Itachi shook his head, preventing a possible clash between Kisame Hashigaki and Karin, and walked past Karin on his own. After passing by Karin, Uchiha Itachi suddenly remembered something and said to Kisame Hashigaki, Kisame, you should go back. Itachi! Kisame Hashigaki frowned but then relaxed and chuckled. If Itachi dies here, someone has to collect the body, right? No need. Uchiha Itachi shook his head and walked into the stronghold. Click-clack, click-clack, click-clack. The sound of wooden clogs walking on the stone pavement was rhythmic. Uchiha Itachi walked along the stone path amid the ruins, his gaze unwavering, seemingly ignoring the root ninjas standing in the corners of the ruins as he steadily approached the door of the inner warehouse. These root ninjas noticed Uchiha Itachi's disregard for them, and the murderous intent in their eyes burst forth with anger. One of the root ninjas even slowly drew his ninja blade. Don't be hasty! A root squad leader coldly stopped his subordinate from attacking Uchiha Itachi and continued, his life should have ended today anyway. Such intense killing intent! As Uchiha Itachi walked slowly, he secretly formed a hand seal inside his sleeve, his eyes slightly lowered. There are 41 people outside. This number is double the number of people that were in the root when he was there. Uchiha Itachi began to ponder. These people must have been arranged by Akihara Kagura, fearing that he might escape after killing Sasuke. However, all these worries were unnecessary, because he had never intended to leave here alive. Uchiha Itachi stood at the door of the warehouse, pushed it open, and stepped into the somewhat dim house. Inside are 43 people. Uchiha Itachi immediately noticed that there was also a group of root ninjas standing inside the house, and even the corners of his eyes could see people standing on the beams of the roof. The number of root members, is it almost the same as the number of Anbu members? It seems this time Akihara Kagura really doesn't want him to leave here alive. However, these people are not important. Uchiha Itachi's gaze lifted and saw Uchiha Sasuke sitting on the stone chair in the middle. He looked at his once timid and cowardly younger brother. Uchiha Sasuke rested his chin on his hand, surrounded by a group of root ninjas, looking like the leader of these root ninjas, his face full of arrogance and indifference. Finally, you've come! A cold smile appeared on Uchiha Sasuke's lips as he looked at his brother. The murderer of their parents, with disdain in his eyes. Itachi, I thought after I killed your clone last time, you wouldn't dare to come see me. The last time they fought was during the Kazekage retrieval mission. During their last encounter, Uchiha Sasuke had almost effortlessly killed Uchiha Itachi's clone, even though that clone only had 30% of Itachi's power. Sasuke! Uchiha Itachi shook his head, his lips pressed together. Can your Sharingan only see the past? You are still afraid that you might not be a match for the Mangekyo Sharingan, which is why you brought these useless people. What did you say? A masked root ninja roared in anger. Calm down. Uchiha Sasuke soothed the group of root ninjas who wanted to explode in rage, his eyes unchanged, as if he didn't feel that Uchiha Itachi was insulting him. This is not fear. Uchiha Sasuke stared at Uchiha Itachi, and the killing intent in his eyes began to brew. Although I want to kill you, every clan member here also has the right to watch you die in front of them. Their relatives, just like our parents, were slaughtered by you on the night of the massacre. Clan members. Uchiha Itachi frowned. Take off your masks. Uchiha Sasuke slowly straightened up and said coldly, let this traitor know that the Uchiha clan will not be exterminated. A root ninja removed his mask. Other root ninjas followed and removed their masks. Everyone present revealed their scarlet Sharingan. Each person's face was filled with hatred, and the killing intent in their eyes was like tangible knives fixed on Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi! You probably don't remember many of these people, do you? Uchiha Sasuke gripped his ninja blade, drawing it out with a flip of his hand, staring at the sharp edge of his blade as if contemplating when it could drink Uchiha Itachi's blood. That's understandable. To hide, all Uchiha except me had to change their names and live in hiding. Everyone has almost forgotten their own names. Uchiha Itachi's pupils trembled violently, and his fingers began to shake involuntarily. How is this possible? Uchiha Itachi's vision had deteriorated somewhat, and he could barely recognize some of the people, discerning their youthful features. The most important evidence was that these people could freely switch between the clan's Sharingan and their normal eyes, which meant they undoubtedly possessed Uchiha blood. These were all members of the Uchiha clan. This kind of thing. How is this possible? On the night of the clan's massacre, how could so many people have survived? Uchiha Sasuke swung his sword and continued coldly. Since that day, I had only one goal for the rest of my life, which was to kill you at all costs to avenge. Fortunately, there are still many Uchihas alive in this world. There are still many people with the same goal as me. I am no longer alone. Uchiha Sasuke raised his sword towards Uchiha Itachi and said coldly, now tell us the truth about that night of the massacre, why you killed the others, why you killed father and mother. Uchiha Sasuke had always wanted to know this, because he could not believe that his brother would do such a thing. There were some discussions in the village about the Uchiha massacre, mentioned by Shimura Danzo and the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzeni, during the Chunin exam, suggesting there was more to the story, but these words soon disappeared. Only Uchiha Sasuke remembered them. The other Uchihas didn't care about these things. They only cared that Uchiha Itachi killed their relative. Uchiha Sasuke never asked them, is that so? Uchiha Itachi closed his eyes. Now Uchiha Itachi's mind was focused on one question. The fact that some clan members survived the massacre night was beneficial to his brother, giving Uchiha Sasuke a sense of belonging and relieving Itachi of worries about Sasuke's future. But is there a conspiracy behind this? If nothing went wrong on the night of the massacre, when he and Tobai Uchiha conspired, all the clan members should have been eliminated by him. Those who hid should have been killed by him using the tailed beast bomb with the 3 tails, unless someone saved them before he used the tailed beast bomb. In an instant, Uchiha Itachi deduced the truth and subconsciously identified the suspect. Only Akihara Kagura had the motive to do this. That guy deliberately saved some people who had grudges against him to seek revenge. This was entirely plausible. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzeni, should have been involved. Otherwise, these people couldn't have hidden in Konoha, but the third Hokage was already dead. Shimura Danzo should. Shimura Danzo wasn't that kind of person. If Shimura Danzo wanted to save some Uchihas, there was no need to persuade him to massacre the whole clan. He could have directly said to spare some people. Forget it. Thinking about it is pointless. The most important thing now is to ensure the plan goes smoothly. As long as he achieves his goal today, awakening his brother's Mangekyo Sharingan and transplanting his own to achieve eternal vision, he could reach the height Uchiha Madara once stood at, able to resolve any conspiracy. No matter what happens, the original plan is most important. Besides, Sasuke has improved significantly. He might no longer be a match for him, but he must know the Uchiha clan's most crucial power. Since Sasuke is asking now, he might as well take this opportunity to tell him about the Mangekyo Sharingan's flaws. Want to know? When Uchiha Itachi opened his eyes again, his Sharingan was revealed, and the shock in his eyes quietly disappeared, replaced by the usual coldness and arrogance. Very simple. Just for power. Uchiha Itachi touched his eye sockets and said coldly, this is a secret of the Uchiha clan, related to the Mangekyo Sharingan's flaw. When one of our clan members awakens the Mangekyo Sharingan, they fall into its curse. Every use of the Mangekyo Sharingan consumes ocular power, leading to a decline in vision. Uchiha Itachi looked at Uchiha Sasuke, whose figure was vaguely blurry, and continued in an icy tone, "To restore the Mangekyo Sharingan's power, one must transplant another's Mangekyo Sharingan. Of course, this method still has flaws. But in the Uchiha clan there was another who discovered the secret of the Mangekyo Sharingan, truly finding a way to break its curse." "Who?" Uchiha Sasuke furrowed his brow. "Uchiha Madara." Uchiha Itachi mentioned the name of Uchiha Madara. On the other side, in the corner of the warehouse, a black and white figure was hiding here. Besides these Uchiha, there was another visitor, the Akatsuki's intelligence operative, Zetsu. Of course, this intelligence operative was somewhat unqualified, because even though the Akatsuki base had been destroyed, this operative was still here watching the brotherly duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke. However, this time Zetsu was somewhat glad they had come. There are still other Uchiha who survived. White Zetsu looked at the group of Uchiha inside the warehouse, incredulous. "We never discovered them." "Akihara Kagura." White Zetsu suddenly realized the severity of the problem and quickly asked Black Zetsu beside it, "These people are all under Akihara Kagura's command. He actually hid so much from us." Minor issues. Black Zetsu no longer cared about these trivial matters. Now the Eye of the Moon plan is proceeding smoothly. There was no need to argue with Akihara Kagura over this, because Akihara Kagura held the most crucial piece of the Eye of the Moon plan, Uchiha Madara's body. However, Black Zetsu was still a bit uneasy and spoke in a raspy voice. "We must have Kagura revive Madara soon. We can't let him hold all the control." Just at this moment, White Zetsuoi appeared beside them and gently reminded, Hey, the boy wants to revive Madara with the Edo Tensei, but he needs a sacrifice." Now, White Zetsu and Black Zetsu were both shocked. At this time, that guy wants to bring up reviving Uchiha Madara. "Right." White Zetsuoi cautiously spoke to White Zetsu and Black Zetsu. "The boy told me that to give Madara powerful combat abilities, the main body must be used as the sacrifice for the revival." "What?" The main body of White Zetsu immediately wanted to object. Black Zetsu silently took control of White Zetsu's body and spoke in a raspy voice. "Where is Kagura?" This so-called main body of White Zetsu was completely insignificant. As long as Uchiha Madara could be revived with the Edo Tensei, as long as their Eye of the Moon plan continued on its predetermined path, they could have as many White Zetsu as they needed. Nearby, White Zetsuoi hurriedly led the way. Clearly, everyone was quite anxious about this matter. In the forest outside the ruins, Akihara Kagura stood under the shade of a tree, with Uchiha Madara's body placed beside him. Black Zetsu, controlling White Zetsu's main body, emerged from the ground. Upon seeing the corpse next to Akihara Kagura, it immediately relaxed. "Kagura, why choose to revive Madara at this time? It's about time." Akihara Kagura leaned casually against the tree trunk, glancing down at the corpse on Akihara Kagura leaned casually against the tree trunk, glancing down at the corpse on the ground. "Today's battle is a grand event for the Uchiha clan. It's no harm to have Lord Madara participate a little." This guy, is he just watching the commotion without caring? Letting Uchiha Madara see the younger generation of the clan killing each other? Madara wouldn't care about that. Black Zetsu shook his head, because it knew Uchiha Madara very well. As a ninja born in the Warring States period, Uchiha Madara had experienced countless wars and pain, making his character more resilient and ruthless than anyone else. The current Uchiha Madara was determined to realize the Eye of the Moon plan, to bring the ninja world into an eternal dream of peace, and would never be disturbed by such trivial matters. "Let's just watch for now." Akihara Kagura clasped his hands together to form a hand seal, then lightly slapped the ground, causing a black spell to appear on the surface. In the next moment, Uchiha Madara's body slowly turned into flying ash and paper scraps. Black Zetsu's body gradually detached from White Zetsu, and the flying ash and paper scraps instantly attached to White Zetsu's body. A man clad in crimson armor slowly emerged from the ash and paper scraps, appearing before them. Madara in his prime. Black Zetsu immediately relaxed. It had willingly handed Uchiha Madara's body to Akihara Kagura, hoping that Akihara Kagura could revive Uchiha Madara at his peak. Now, everything had gone as planned. All the subsequent plans would proceed smoothly. As long as Uchiha Madara could be revived at his peak, he would undoubtedly be the strongest person in the ninja world, with no one able to oppose him. Black Zetsu had already devised the next plan, letting Uchiha Madara control Nagato, using the Rinnegan to fully resurrect him through the outer path. samsara of heavenly life technique, then having Uchiha Madara re-implant those Rinnegan to directly attack Kumagakure and Konoha, instantly completing the Eye of the Moon plan. Is this Uchiha Madara? Akihara Kagura lightly tapped his arm with his fingers. System prompt: you have a new superior, Uchiha Madara, receiving a newcomer welcome package and unlocking new traits. Ninja World's Usura. The pupil power of the Mangekyo Sharingan within the host has been enhanced. The pupil power of the Rinnegan within the host has been elevated, originating from the legendary power of the strongest Uchiha. System prompt: detecting enhancement in Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil power, the Mangekyo Sharingan trait has advanced to Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the highest evolution of the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, possessing eternal pupil power, the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan will never suffer from curses, vision loss, or blindness, and its power is greatly enhanced, enabling the fourth and final form of the ultimate Dojutsu, Susanoo. System prompt: detecting enhancement in Rinnegan's pupil power, the Rinnegan temporary trait has advanced to Rinnegan. System prompt: detecting Usura Chakra within the host, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan trait advanced, detecting host already possesses Rinnegan trait, pupil power enhanced to 6 Tamo Rinnegan. 6 Tamo Rinnegan, possessing power surpassing the legendary Sage of Six Paths Eyes. It grants control over yin and yang, the ability to reverse life and death, and inherent godlike power. Inbuilt Rinnegan techniques not yet activated. Akihara Kagura hadn't expected that after Uchiha Madara's resurrection, he would become his superior directly, perhaps because Uchiha Obaido was his superior. Uchiha Obaido? He seemed to be Uchiha Madara's pawn. None of that mattered. Now that Uchiha Madara had been resurrected, his Rinnegan and Mangekyo Sharingan had advanced to their fullest forms. The only thing left was to find a time to activate the Rinnegan. As expected of a ninja from the Warring States period, truly powerful. Akihara Kagura had gained immense benefits, and the enormous advantages brought by Akihara Kagura had gained immense benefits, and the enormous advantages brought by Uchiha Madara's resurrection made him deeply respect Uchiha Madara. Just as Akihara Kagura was praising Uchiha Madara, Madara's eyes suddenly opened, revealing a pair of blood-red eyes. This man, renowned since the Warring States period, looked at his own body upon awakening, his brows furrowing instinctively. This is the Edo Tensei technique. Uchiha Madara's face darkened slightly, seemingly displeased with his resurrection method. Did the plan go wrong? Did something happen to that brat Nagato? Akihara Kagura nodded, directly explaining. Nagato was persuaded by his Jiraiya-sensei to betray the Eye of the Moon plan and join Konoha. Uchiha Madara's frown deepened. Black Zetsu looked at Akihara Kagura in shock. No way, it was still here. Why was Akihara Kagura throwing dirt on Nagato here? Although Black Zetsu knew that Akihara Kagura was indeed very interested in the Rinnegan, why mention this now? And what was going on? Nothing like this had happened in between, right? Nagato is still diligently preparing to attack the Cloud Village at the Akatsuki base, so why is he being accused of betraying the Eye of the Moon plan by Akihara Kagura? Black Zetsu quickly stopped Akihara Kagura from spouting nonsense and explained. Nagato should still be at the Akatsuki base. He is about to prepare for the attack on the Cloud Village to capture the 8 Tails. Once he has collected the 8 Tails, he will cooperate with Kagura to capture the 9 Tails. The plan encountered a slight change. Akihara Kagura interrupted Black Zetsu and explained proactively. Before I came here, while you and Obaido were not at the Akatsuki base, I tried to steal Nagato's Rinnegan to see if I could control the Jido statue with it. However, I ended up destroying the Akatsuki base and failed to obtain the Rinnegan. Akihara Kagura knew this matter couldn't be hidden, so he bluntly revealed the truth. Originally, I planned to have Jiraiya-sensei and Lord Orochimaru help me attack Nagato, but when they learned I intended to steal the Rinnegan, they directly protected Nagato and helped him escape. Now, Nagato is afraid that I will use the Rinnegan and the Jido statue to destroy the ninja world, so he has definitely betrayed the Eye of the Moon plan and probably defected to the Konoha. What? Black Zetsu's small eyes widened. Is Akihara Kagura joking? Why mention such shocking things at this moment? Does he know what he's talking about? Why try to steal Nagato's Rinnegan? Why use the Jido statue to destroy the ninja world? Akihara Kagura is definitely joking, right? Why so surprised? Akihara Kagura glanced at Black Zetsu in confusion, not understanding why Black Zetsu was shocked by this. If I hadn't failed to obtain Nagato's Rinnegan, why would I come here to watch the duel between Itachi and Sasuke? What do you mean? Black Zetsu was a bit confused about Akihara Kagura's meaning. Akihara Kagura looked at Black Zetsu and continued to ask, "Didn't you tell me that there might be an eternal Mangekyou Sharingan and a Rinnegan born between Itachi and Sasuke? So I came here to keep an eye on it to prevent the second Rinnegan from disappearing." After speaking, Akihara Kagura added, "By the way, the Konoha probably already knows about my collusion with the Akatsuki, and they will likely consider me a rogue ninja and hunt me down. Our original plan to secretly capture Naruto, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, using my identity might also face issues." Black Zetsu's small eyes started to show fear. An overwhelming amount of information bombarded Black Zetsu's brain, making it momentarily unresponsive. It had never faced such a massive shock. If it had a heart, Akihara Kagura's words would have made it explode. Black Zetsu even felt its brain was now overloaded with information. What has Akihara Kagura done? Why, when the Eye of the Moon plan was proceeding smoothly and about to succeed, did he try to steal Nagato's Rinnegan? Black Zetsu always thought its job was hard enough, never having a day off for 1,000 years, and finally saw hope of success recently. But at the final moment of success, Akihara Kagura acted recklessly, giving it a heavy blow, and now everything was back to square one. Nagato had escaped. The Konoha still had 4 former Hokage in command. Nagato and the Rinnegan were missing, and the Nine Tails still needed to be captured by force. If the Rinnegan was destroyed by those people, would Black Zetsu cry for decades? Should it be grateful the Uchiha clan wasn't extinct? Uchiha Madara frowned. Because Uchiha Madara had not been resurrected, he didn't know the situation in the ninja world. He just looked at Akihara Kagura in front of him and asked his first question. "Who are you?" This was Uchiha Madara's biggest doubt about Akihara Kagura. Why did this person, who tried to steal Nagato's Rinnegan and disrupt the Eye of the Why did this person, who tried to steal Nagato's Rinnegan and disrupt the Eye of the Moon plan, seem like a part of the plan? Speaking of which, was this person part of the Eye of the Moon plan? Why did he seem to mess things up more than he achieved? Wait a moment. Black Zetsu's body felt weak. This creature, created by Yin-Yang Release, had been active in the ninja world for thousands of years without feeling fatigue, but now it finally understood what fatigue felt like. If a plan never succeeded, Black Zetsu might not care and could keep fighting, but when the plan was about to succeed and it suddenly failed, Black Zetsu truly felt weary. Akihara Kagura warmly invited Black Zetsu and Uchiha Madara to get back to business. "Let's go watch this duel first. Without Nagato's Rinnegan, we can't let the other Rinnegan be lost. I might need a rest." Black Zetsu's body slumped. "Cheer up, Black Zetsu, you are my will." Uchiha Madara coldly rebuked Black Zetsu, his gaze fixed on Akihara Kagura as he asked again, "Who is this person? I am an advisor to the Hokage of Konoha." The first sentence from Akihara Kagura rendered Uchiha Madara silent. A Konoha ninja? Uchiha Madara felt something was off. He frowned in thought and raised a crucial question. "An advisor to the Hokage of Konoha, how did you end up mingling with Black Zetsu?" "Probably because I'm a spy." Akihara Kagura raised his eyebrows, leaning nonchalantly against a tree. "An advisor to the Hokage acting as a spy." Uchiha Madara's frown deepened, struggling to understand Akihara Kagura's reasoning. "An advisor to the Hokage should be in line to become the next Hokage, right? This guy. What does he take the advisor to the Hokage for?" Although the advisors to the Hokage from the first, Tabarama, to the second, Shimura Danzo, were never good people, each one worse than the last, but this generation's advisor conspiring with the enemy as a spy isn't Konoha's decline a bit too rapid. I can no longer become the next Hokage. Akihara Kagura shook his head indifferently and continued. "Jiraiya-sensei will surely expose my collusion with the Akatsuki to steal the Rinnegan. Konoha will soon list me as an S-class rogue ninja, maybe even higher. Forget it, consider it as atonement. I once forced the previous advisor to defect, so it's not surprising that I, the current advisor, become a rogue ninja." Uchiha Madara felt his mind was overwhelmed. "Isn't it? Indeed, the advisors to the Hokage of Konoha have always been no good. How could this generation's advisor be so power-hungry, even to the extent of colluding with Konoha's enemies and forcing the previous advisor to defect? Has the era changed too quickly? How many years have passed since Hashirama and I founded Konoha, and it has already fallen to this state? I wonder what Tabarama, the first advisor, would think if he knew what kind of person the current advisor is." "Wait!" Black Zetsu finally came to its senses, remembering what it should ask. "Kagura, why are you trying to steal the Rinnegan now?" Akihara Kagura spoke very honestly. "Because if Nagato completes the collection of all the tailed beasts, I might not be able to defeat him. Just in case, I must steal Nagato's Rinnegan before he completes the collection. I need those eyes." Black Zetsu felt that Akihara Kagura made sense. What sense is there? Everyone is working towards the Eye of the Moon plan, so why are you ruining the plan at this critical juncture? The most troublesome thing, Nagato, who has the Rinnegan, betrayed the Eye of the Moon plan and defected to Konoha. Right, one more thing. Akihara Kagura looked at Black Zetsu and proactively asked, Nagato controlled the Jido statue to attack me, and its limbs were torn off. Will this hinder the collection of tailed beasts? Black Zetsu fell silent. This mastermind, who hadn't sighed in a millennium, finally felt a hint of relief. Compared to other issues, this is a minor one. The Jido statue cannot be killed. Let's go watch the duel between Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke first. Black Zetsu decided to prevent problems with its backup plan. Having a spare Rinnegan was indeed very important. If Nagato really destroys the Rinnegan, I can abandon Uchiha Madara and use the victor between Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi as a pawn.